Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome back to the ANG cast. This is episode 2, baby. If you have not noticed by now, you must be blind. You are not seeing any video. You are just seeing a picture of the ANG cast logo this time. For, recording purposes and technicalities and all that, we're going to try recording just audio from now on. And I think that kind of sets us up in a good spot for if we ever want to start doing releasing our podcasts to actual podcast outlets like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, things like that. But we're going to try just audio only here for a while. But I'm joined by a very special guest for episode 2 of the ANG cast, the podcast where we talk about video games and everything else in between. I'm joined today by Alex from Swirly Games. You know him and love him from Border Boys and all the other stuff he's been involved with my channel. How is it going today, Alex?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm excited to look back on
Yeah.
the wonderful year that was.
It's been a fucking terrible year, I will say that for sure. But we have been lucky to have been blessed with some good podcasts, movies, TV shows, music, and games, of course.
So
to open
a lot
up,
of good distractions from
honestly, that's been my thing. That's kind of been my ideology for the last 5 years or so. Is games have always been a distraction for me, but now especially with all the shit that's going on in the world, it's nice to have this stuff as a distraction. Needed. Yeah, it's almost needed for sure.
It's nice, but now it's like I actually need this game.
I actually need this, yeah. So we figured we would run down our lists. Normally we do our lists like this before Border Boys, but this was just too daunting of a task to throw before an episode of Border Boys. I think eventually, too, we're not really ready to make any kind of an official announcement about it yet, but I think eventually we're going to start trying to put our list stuff into the podcast somehow. Have a subtitle of the podcast, like the ANG cast : something clever list title,
Yeah. :
colon. Yeah, so Alex
Top
just
10
watched.
colons.
So if you haven't already, do a little housekeeping here at the top of the show. If you haven't already, we just uploaded our first episode of Game Dev Tycoon Let's Play since July, I think was our last one.
Oh my god, has it really been that long?
It had really been almost 6 months or so. So yeah, so I think Christa's the one that pointed that out. She was like, my god, she's like, you guys have not recorded this in 6 months. I was like, okay. But anyway, Alex watched that, and Game Dev and Sunset and Stardew are Alex's favorite thing that we do on Adjective Gaming, so it means a lot that he told me he enjoyed both of our recent episodes of those programs.
Oh, yeah. Classic as always.
Hell yeah. So check those out if you haven't already. Of course, there's new 100 Baby Challenge stuff to check out. There's live stream archives. You know the drill. Go over to the YouTube channel, Adjective Gaming, and of course follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for all the latest updates. So some housekeeping at the top here. As I said, we're going to be doing some lists today. And there are a few things that slipped through the cracks. Now, I didn't make a list. So this is going to be all off the top of the dome here. But there are a couple games that I'm going to be playing here in the next couple weeks that obviously they're not going to make my list because I haven't played them yet. The first one is a game called A Short Hike, which I don't know if you've heard of this one or not. Ben recommended it to me. It's an indie game on Steam that only costs $7.99, I think, normally. So it's a really short experience. He says it only takes about an hour and a half to get through it all. But he said it's very well worth it. It's on sale right now for $1 off. I'm not sure if that still applies by the time this podcast gets released, but it's $6 and something cents right now on Steam. So I figured I'd pick that up. It seems like a really relaxing, laid back. I kind of get I guess not technically, but Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing vibes. It kind of just seems like you just wander around and discover what there is to discover, and it's all in this kind of one contained environment. So yeah, shout out to Buddy Ben from Sunset and Stardew for recommending that game to me. And then another game, if you guys are familiar with the Epic Games Store, it's the storefront that opened up this year as a competitor to Steam. They have been doing a lot of really good deals lately. So right now, I don't know how much PC gaming you do yourself, Alex, or any of you out there, but they're offering a $10 coupon off of $15 purchase or more.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
They have a ton of games that are $15 or $20, so you can get a game for $5 or $10. So
yeah,
the second game that I'm going to be playing in the next couple weeks that I've been excited to play, I got it for $5 because the coupon is called Dangerous Driving. Have you heard of this one?
I don't think so.
So do you remember a game called Burnout 3 Takedown?
Oh my god, yeah.
It is the people that worked on that game, and they made another one of those basically
that's cool.
For modern systems. It hasn't been received super well. I believe Jeff from Giant Bomb, which shout out to Giant Bomb, my favorite gaming site on the web. he was like talking about it, and he says if you want more classic Burnout, then just play it. And I couldn't pass it up for $5, so that'll be something I play and talk about here eventually. And then final bit of housekeeping for me is the movie Uncut Gems just released this week, and I will be going to see that on Saturday. If y'all aren't familiar with what that is, it's the new drama movie from Adam Sandler. And
okay. I didn't know he had another movie coming out.
Oh, you need to watch the trailer for this. So he plays like a sports broker / gambler, and it's like it looks like a really seedy, like dirty movie. It's got Kevin Garnett in it. It's got Lakeith Stanfield from Atlanta and Sorry to Bother You, and a bunch of other good stuff. But yeah, that movie looks fantastic. I'm going to see that on Saturday. So like I said, that obviously will not make my cut for movies. But anyway, now that my babbling for the program is done, we're going to let Alex take an opportunity here to give a little spiel about his top TV shows of the year. As you know, and if you haven't already, go back and listen to the first episode of the ANG cast. We thought it turned out pretty great. It was me and Aaron.
It was great, yeah.
Yeah, Aaron and I, it was a lot of Aaron talking about stuff, but I felt like I talked a lot too. But it was like his top things of 2019. So I did my TV shows on that list because I didn't know that I'd have an outlet, later to do it. But anyway, Alex, take it away. What were your top TV shows of 2019?
Okay, well, I'll start off with some just like they're always the shows that are always going to be there. Like I watched Walking Dead, of course, and I actually started watching Fear the Walking Dead because I had watched the first season like as it aired, and then like the second season was being recorded on DVR, but then like our DVR got wiped out, and like it took me literal years to finally get around to like when they put it all on Hulu, and I had Hulu again to start getting caught up. And now I'm actually like halfway through the most recent season, so I'm almost done with that. I watched a very subpar that we don't have to get into season of Game of Thrones, but technically that was watched.
That was
my eyeballs watched that show. That was on
remember.
TV.
Do you remember when I did that with Aaron? Did I put that in my top 5 or top 10 or whatever, or did I not even bother with it? I don't even remember.
I know you guys talked about it. I don't know like where at on the list it might have been.
Yeah,
but I remember because I think Aaron said the same, that he was also not happy with it, right?
Yeah, he was definitely not happy with it. Also, he was basically like. He's been a Game of Thrones apologist for a long time, and even he was like, "Yeah, I just can't with the show anymore." Like,
yeah,
it's good that it came to an end because if there was going to be another season after this, I don't even know that I could look forward to it anymore.
Yeah, like part of me thinks that if they could have split it up, like spread it out to another season, that it might have helped it out, but it could have just also been like 6 more episodes of bullshit that we'd have to sit through. So I don't know.
Yeah,
it's still, I mean. We did our top TV shows of all time. Like it's still my number 2, but like, oh my god, that ending. But yeah, that was something that was watched this year.
Yeah.
Tiff and I watched all of Veronica Mars to get ready for the new season that started up. That show is fantastic. I know you had talked about wanting to get around to it.
Yeah, I started Friday Night Lights this year and didn't even make it halfway through the first season. It literally has nothing to, at this point in my life, if I don't finish a show, 9 times out of 10, it has nothing to do with the quality of the show. It's just me. Being
100% know what you mean.
It's just me being a fucking garbage person that can't finish anything.
There's just not enough time for anything anymore. Like there's so much. Was like, oh, this show's great. Like you'd love it. I'm like, oh, it's 8 seasons. Damn. Yeah. Well, that's literally never gonna happen.
Give me 8 episodes and that's it. That's all I want.
Yeah. Right. Let's see. We watched Veronica Mars. The new season was pretty good. Which, if anybody out there has watched it and was like a fan of before, Tiff was furious at the end. Because of a certain thing they do, but I won't spoil that in case you get around to it. Let's see. I also watched a new show. Have you heard of Blown Away? It was on Netflix.
I have not heard of that.
It's like one of those competition shows where like the group, you have a challenge and someone gets eliminated at the end, but it's glass blowing.
Huh.
It was like a Netflix original that was like up on the homepage one day, and I was like, that looks interesting. And there was a night where like. It happens a lot. Like Tiff will go to bed early, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna be up for another 3.5 hours. What am I gonna watch? And I just like watched that whole season. I think like in one night, and it's really cool. Just because, like, anytime somebody does something that I just have literally no fucking clue how to do, like even like ice skating, like I'm so bad that like the sport of hockey just blows my mind. I'm like, I can't even like not fall over. How are they? Like more athletic than I am.
Or even the fucking referees that are skating super fast the entire time. It's insane how in shape they have to be.
Oh my god. But yeah, like so that one was just like I think it was like 8 people or something. They're like, it's kind of the same with like Chopped and stuff like that, where it's like, here's a crazy prompt and you have like 3 hours to do it, and like it gets down to the intense parts where they like it'll be like a 6-hour build, and like with an hour and a half left, like one of them will just like their whole piece will just fall off because like that can happen if you get it too hot or not hot enough,
Yeah.
or like spin it too. Like I learned so much about glass blowing just watching that, and it's still got those intense like, oh shit, you just spent 4 hours and it's broken. Like, what are you going to piece together now? But it's a very cool show.
That sounds really fascinating. I think the only thing that we watched this year that would fall under the umbrella of reality TV it was almost like The Voice but for rap music, and now I literally don't remember what the fucking name of the show is. Like Rhythm and Flow or something maybe.
Interesting.
But it has Chance the Rapper's one of the judges on it. Cardi B's one of the judges on it. I think fuck, I can't remember who else is on it. You go ahead and keep talking. I'm gonna look this up so I can.
Yeah.
But we didn't love it enough to keep watching it. It was kind of like, I don't know. There was something really obnoxious about the whole entire thing that really like pushed me off pretty hard. But
I can see that. I mean, like the rap community in general, I feel like is a huge problem with like all of them think they're the fucking greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Like they all think they're the fucking just the coolest shit on the planet, and it's like, all right, well,
it was a lot of that. It was a lot of that too. It was like contestants saying, "Well, I'm gonna obviously be the winner," you know, and that was just the entire thing.
I'm trying to think of a new thing. Because I had a lot of like older stuff on here that I'd watched this year. Oh, speaking of this is actually a perfect day to talk about it because I'm pretty sure the new season of it launched today. But Tiff and I watched the first season of You in February, I think it was.
I've heard of this. Yeah, I have not seen it, but I've heard of it.
Oh, it is incredible. I mean, the whole premise of it is like you're following this guy named Joe, and he's like stalking this girl essentially, and it just builds and builds and builds from there to where like it's a really good show where it comes to like every episode's like a cliffhanger of like, oh shit, like, well, we have to watch the next one now, and it's just really really good at that. And like we were watching the finale of season 1, and with like literally 3 minutes left, I was like, this is going to be like a one season and that's it, right? Like this is it. They could not possibly do anything else. And the last 10 seconds of the episode, it's like, oh shit, well there's a whole season. Like it really did like completely flipped on it, where I was like, I don't even want a second season, to, oh, that makes sense, I need to see the second season. So that now that that's out, we need to watch that one for sure.
That has Penn Badgley from Gossip Girl in it.
Yep. Which I always wanted to say Glee, but that's Mindhunter. That dude was in Glee.
Yeah, Jonathan
Graff or something.
Groff.
Graff. Look at this Groff. Look at this Groff.
Look at this Groff.
So stupid.
But no, Mindhunter's a fucking amazing show, though.
That's another one that Tiff has watched, but I have not yet. But I've seen random episodes, and it looks really cool.
That's a fascinating show. I'm mad that I didn't talk. Well, I guess I didn't finish the new season, but I'm mad that I didn't even like mention that in my list whenever I was talking about stuff with Aaron in the first episode.
Yeah.
I did confirm, however, on the Netflix app on my phone that show is called Rhythm and Flow, for anybody that's interested.
Okay.
We literally watched the first episode and haven't watched anything since then. I don't know if we'll go back to it, but it was entertaining at least. It was fine.
Yeah. We also watched Chernobyl, which I know we've talked about before.
That's a fucking great show.
That's an incredible, like, equal parts fascinating, equal parts just absolutely terrifying.
Just rip your fucking heart out while you're watching it in real time.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like I've like suggested that to some people, and they've been like, "Oh yeah, it looks really cool," but like I just can't watch that. And I'm like, "That's fair."
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
That's 100% fair. Like I know what happens. I know what ends bad. Like I'll just take your word.
Especially since like this isn't really much of a spoiler, but like the last 10 minutes of the final episode, they basically just like show everything that happened in real life. Like they compare, the actors that played the characters, they show the real events, they like list off some like statistics and facts about the actual Chernobyl events, and it's just like, well, you ripped my heart out, you spit on it, and then you stomped on it in front of my eyes, so that's cool.
Yeah, so that's fun.
But no, that show's fantastic though. If you can stomach it, and if you're interested in that particular era of history, which I definitely am, and I learned a lot about it, definitely watch that.
Yeah, it was incredible. The two shows that Tiff and I are currently watching right now, because I think I've talked about this before, but the way Tiff and I watch shows like together is we'll like alternate seasons of like a show that we pick.
Yeah.
Like it started with I picked Walking Dead, she picked Shameless. So we'd watch season 1 of The Walking Dead, season 1 of Shameless, season 2 of The Walking Dead, season 2, like alternate back and forth.
Yeah.
And what we're watching right now, my choice was Dexter, which is an incredible show. We've finished the 3rd season of that, and literally everyone who I've ever talked to that has watched all of Dexter says that season 4 is just like one of the best seasons of television history, and especially like the best season of Dexter. So we're like one away from getting to that.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Which
I haven't seen the show, but I've heard that about the later season.
oh my god, he's like it's kind of like with you, like you kind of makes you root for like an insane person who's like definitely not good, but like you're wanting him to succeed.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the focus of the show. But like Dexter's just so smart, but he's also like kind of a shitbag, but kind of a good person at the same time. Like he's just like a fascinating character, and just watching him try to like get away with all this stuff is just it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's a great show. And then Tiff's show that we're watching right now is Homeland.
I haven't seen that one. I've heard good things about it though.
Yeah, I had never heard of it even before Tiff had suggested. We're watching season 4 of that right now, and it's got Claire Danes and oh fuck, I never remember his name. Inigo Montoya, that actor,
that
is
guy.
in it. Like, yeah, fuck, what is his name? I can't remember. But anyways, it's like a prisoner of war from Iraq comes home, and Claire Danes is like a CIA agent who was given intel that like an American soldier had been turned, and like we need to like be careful. And she thinks it's this POW that came home, but he comes home because he's been like lost for like 8 years, and he's like this POW like war hero, and he's like on this like press tour. So like no one believes her that she thinks it's him. And like every episode while watching it with Tiff, I was like, I don't think it's him. Like I don't think he's bad. And then I'm like, oh shit, he's definitely 100% a terrorist.
Yeah.
And then 10 minutes later, I'm like, no, he can't be bad. Like why would he do that? Like it really does. Like it sounds like it'd be something that's very obvious, but they like throw you all over the place. And then once they get beyond like that mystery being solved, like it's just a really cool like sort of like 24 type like national security like drama type show. Like it's really good. I like it a lot.
Is that actor's name Mandy Patinkin?
Yes, Mandy Patinkin. I was gonna say, I was like, he has like a normally like female's name. I couldn't think of what it was. Mandy. Yes.
Mandy.
Yeah.
By the way, have you seen? I don't think you've seen it. The Nicolas Cage movie called Mandy that was one of my top movies of last year. Oh my god, fuck me up. That movie. That movie's wild.
That's amazing.
I refuse to even. I think I talked about it a little bit at some point last year. I refuse to like tell anybody what that movie's about because you just need to experience it.
You just have to watch it.
It's the only good Nicolas Cage thing I've seen in years, and it's because it's so insanely batshit crazy, and they just let him go crazy with it.
Oh yeah.
It's like,
isn't he playing himself in a movie coming up or something?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's coming out next year. I don't know
most Nicolas Cage thing ever.
But Mandy's not a movie that would make my list for this year because it came out last year, obviously. But I highly recommend everybody who. If you like horror and if you like fucking batshit crazy movies, you need to watch Mandy.
Oh shit! I'll have to check. Is that on Netflix?
I don't think so. I bought it on iTunes digitally the day that it came out last year. I think it might be on like Amazon Prime or something.
Oh, okay. I always forget that like Amazon has like a bunch of stuff. Like Tiff like buys some shows off of there. I always forget that there's technically like a queue of stuff to like sort through to find stuff on.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see. The one other show that we like fully watched was, and there's a couple like honorable things I've seen like a little bit here and there of, but Tiff and I watched all of The Punisher on Netflix. And that show is really cool because I'm like John Bernthal, who plays the Punisher, and Shane from The Walking Dead. I think I've talked about him before. I had to have.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite actors just because he's such a badass.
Yeah.
Like he's the perfect guy for a role like that. And just the first season of that, there ended up being 3 seasons. I think they progressively got worse, honestly. But season 1 is amazing. Season 2 is also really, really good. Actually, 2 might be a little bit better than 1. 1 and 2 are like top tier. And then 3, they kind of like I wasn't as big of a fan, just because they like add in some extra characters and like they might like someone's storyline resolved in season 2, so like their new thing they gave them for season 3 just wasn't as cool type of thing.
Yeah.
But it's still, I mean, it's John Bernthal somehow not dying over and over and over again and murdering a million people in his bath, and he's just a badass.
That's
awesome.
One of the shows that's like it's on the bottom of my like list of stuff to watch, but it's on there and I know I'm gonna watch it at some point. I just don't know when.
Yeah. If anything, there's like certain episodes that like the action is just so incredible. Like there's one that doesn't spoil anything, but he gets like in this bar fight at one point where it's just like literally 25 and he just torches everybody. It's amazing. And then as far as random stuff, while Tiff and I were working on cat toys at one point earlier in the year, We watched the first season of Oz. Have you ever seen any of that?
That's the one on HBO, right? The prison one.
Yeah, the prison show, and that show is
I've never seen any
fucking
of it.
insane.
I've heard that it's crazy. Yeah.
Oh my god, it is. Like, I used to work at Bob Evans, and one of the guys there was obsessed with the show, and he would talk to me all the time about it. And I'm just like, so it's just like prison rape? Is this pretty much what you're talking about? Like, that's the whole show? Like, no, there's more than that. But like, it just gets into like the whole drama of everything, and like, the characters are really well written. Like, it's actually really, really good.
Yeah.
But it's just an insane show. We watched season 1 of that. Tiff was watching Dawson's Creek for a while, so I watched a bunch of that, which is hysterical. I fucking saw the episode where James Vanderbeek makes the face
from the meme.
Yeah, and I died so fucking hard. And I ended up recording it, so I just had that on that like 8-second clip on my phone forever, and I'll just randomly watch it all the time.
That show was corny as hell, but that's the show that got me into like the One Tree Hills and the OCs and the Gossip Girl, and that's what started it all for me back when I was like in middle school.
Yeah, and like watching that, I was like, man, if I would have been like 12, 13 watching this, like I would have had the biggest crush on Katie Holmes, because she really just is that like adorable, like sweet, like girl next door. I was like, oh, that would have been all. I would have been all over that growing up. I watched a lot of Parks and Rec, which I haven't finished it yet, but I'm on the last season, so I binged through a lot of that. Which, I mean, that show's incredible.
Fuck yeah.
I think we've watched 2 seasons of New Girl so far. That show's.
I think I've only seen 1 season of that.
Oh my god, it's just so funny. Like, I think it's one of those shows where, like, the main character is my least favorite, which I feel like that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Like, Jess is probably my least favorite, but like Nick and Schmidt and Winston and oh my god, it's
they're hilarious.
Schmidt is my favorite, I think. He's just so eccentric. He's amazing. And then 2 of Tiff's shows that she watches that I've like been playing games while she's watching them. There's this true crime show called Evil Lives Here. It's on Amazon.
I've heard. Is that the one? Or wait, okay, never mind. It must be a different one than what I'm thinking of then.
I think it airs on like Investigation Discovery, but she buys the episodes on Amazon at least.
Okay.
But it's like it's an hour long, and they talk to one person who was like related to someone who did something like super fucked up.
Oh, okay.
So like it might be like they'll talk to like the wife of like a serial killer, and they'll like go through like how they met, like the signs of things that happened before like they actually did their like horrible deed. And it's just like the buildup of like how that monster like came to be and what it was like living with one of those people.
Yeah.
And it's equally amazing and frustrating sometimes, because especially the ones where it's like they talk to the wife, where it's like, oh yeah, like he was so sweet, and like the 3rd day I met him, he like punched me in the face, and I just couldn't believe that he would ever do this. Like some of them are so obvious, like you need to get out of there. Which I know that's a whole other thing of like feeling trapped and all that.
Yeah,
but like just watching it like as like just a regular TV show, you're like, get out of there! What are you doing? And like it's really interesting though.
The show that I was thinking of is a show that Randy was telling me to watch on Netflix called The Devil Next Door.
Oh, okay.
So the premise of the show is it's a guy in Cleveland, and they take him to trial in Israel because they think that he's Ivan the Terrible, who was that prison guard at a Nazi death camp.
Oh man, I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, so he like lives in Cleveland, or he lived in Cleveland or something, but I don't know how recent that documentary is, or if that guy's even still alive. But Randy was telling me I need to watch that, so I don't know why I thought that was Evil Lives Here, Devil Next Door, kind of the same. I don't know, but.
Well, Tiff and I always get it mixed up because I always want to call it Evil Within.
Like the game, yeah.
So I'll be like, Evil lives within here where we are right now. Evil, like we'll just like keep stretching it out over and over again.
Evil Within 2 is one of the best games ever made. That was in my top 10 last year.
I wanted to play through that because I played through like the first like 3 hours of the first one, and I was
it's just not. Man,
this is intense.
It's really hard and it's really scary. The first one, the second one,
my god,
they put it in easy difficulty setting, which is what I played the second one on, and it was still challenging. But you need to play the second one because it's just like an experience. It's more of like an experience than a game.
That's awesome. And the very, very last thing is Tiff loves watching My 600-Pound Life.
Oh yeah.
Which is a very interesting show because you'll have the people that are just like train wrecks that think they're smarter than like, the weight loss professionals. It's like you're literally 500 pounds.
Yeah.
So I think they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And then you have like actually really cool stories like people like overcoming it and stuff like that. And Dr. Now, the doctor on it, he's like this real tiny like 70-year-old man. I think he's from Iran, and he's just got like he's just like the smallest little man, but he gets like fucking attitude with these people. He's like, you need to get your shit together, okay? Like pretty much like he doesn't swear on it, but he'll like put these people on their fucking asses.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because like people try like I said, people try to think that they know more about this stuff than him, and like he's really good at like seeing through their bullshit. Where he'll be like, science says if you eat 1,200 calories for 2 months at your size, you will lose 50 pounds in 2 months, and people will come back and they gained like 6 pounds.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't understand. I did everything you said. And he's like, no, you literally didn't, because I know, like, this is how it works. And he just like calls them out on their bullshit. And I don't know. It's really interesting and like positive when people like make through it. Cause I mean, weights wasn't always something I've struggled with, but like now in my adult years, like it's very much a struggle.
Oh, for sure.
Like seeing people like, if like, well, they're 600 pounds, if they can make it, like I can do it right now. Like that whole type of thing. So that show's pretty interesting too.
Yeah.
But that is all the shows I had here.
All right. Awesome. So that is Alex's. Yeah, it wasn't quite like a top 10 or wasn't ordered or anything, but that was Alex's top shows that he watched in 2019. So now, without further ado, let's get into our actual top lists of 2019, the structured part of this podcast. This is going to be the meat and the bones of this thing. There's no telling how long we're going to have to go on for these, because I have some honorable mentions that are longer than my top 10 lists. So,
right.
So we're going to start out with our top 10 podcasts of the year. Some of these are ongoing podcasts, at least for me. I can't speak for Alex, but some of these are ongoing that have been going on forever. Some of them are ones that just started this year. So it's kind of a nice little variation of content here. Did you have any honorable mentions for your podcast, or just a top 10 or top 5?
I didn't actually, because doing this list, I listened to exactly 10 podcasts.
Holy shit, nice.
I was like, look at that.
Yeah, that works out. So you can never add any more. You can only listen to those 10 forever.
Honestly, like, I think the new job will probably add some more to it, but like before, like I barely had time for even these ones.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
All right. So are we gonna do it the way so if you don't mind, what we'll do is I'll list off all my honorable mentions for podcasts, and then we can kind of do the format that we do for our like Border Boys list. Like I'll do my 10, you'll do your 10 for the list and stuff.
Yeah, that works.
All right. So my honorable mentions for podcasts for 2019. First up, we have the Tripod from the Try Guys. They started a podcast this year. Christa is much more, shout out to Christa, by the way, my wife, from the 100 Baby Challenge and other stuff on the channel. But the Try Guys are something that she got me into. I mostly got into it just because how much I love Eugene and Keith. I can really do without Ned and Zach for the most part, I think.
100%, especially Zach.
Yeah,
I am not.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is. I think he tries too hard.
Yeah, I think so too. It used to be flip-flop for me. Ned used to be my least favorite. Now I agree with you 100%. Zach is my least favorite, and he's so obnoxious, and I can't stand it. But anyway, that's that. We could make a whole podcast about that. But,
I know, right?
The Tripod is really like funny and interesting. It's just them like shooting the shit. It's not nearly as structured as their videos are. Like their videos are usually really specific, especially ever since they left BuzzFeed. But the Tripod's just them shooting the shit about stuff, taking like reader emails and stuff. So that's my first one. Second one is the Giant Bombcast Aftermath, which is the program that follows the Giant Bombcast. As I've mentioned 100 times on this channel, Giant Bomb is my favorite gaming outlet, and they have a program called the Giant Bombcast. Well, the Aftermath is the one that they record immediately after the Bombcast, and it's just Jeff and Ben shooting the shit. Listening to they have a number that you can call in, and then people leave them voicemails. So they listen to voicemails that people leave them. They read questions in Discord and stuff. So of course you knew Giant Bomb stuff was going to be on my list. And then Till Death Do Us Blart is my third one.
I've never listened to any of those, but I really want to.
You really need to. So I will keep this as short as possible. It's from the McElroy brothers, from my brother and me. The Adventure Zone. If you don't know who the McElroy brothers are, you need to wise up and learn who the fuck they are, because they're amazing people.
Oh man!
But Till Death
I'll be talking about them.
Yeah, me too. So Till Death Do Us Blart is a podcast that they do with these two guys that host another podcast about movies. And it's these two, I think they're Australian guys, and they hosted a podcast where they watch the movie Grown Ups 2 like every day for like a set amount of time. And so the premise for this is they get together every year around Thanksgiving, and they record a podcast after they've all watched Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. Not the first one, the second one.
The second one makes it 30 times funnier for some reason.
I think this year was their 5th year that they've done it. So there's exactly 5 episodes of this podcast to listen to. Very listenable, but you have to go back and listen to the one from 5 years ago first, then work your way forward, because They're already so fucking tired of this movie that it is hilarious. Like, they literally said at the end of this year's episode, they were like, we don't know what we're going to do for year 6 because we've
Yeah.
kind of exhausted our options already. But anyway, that's hilarious as always. And my next one is Shift F1, which is a Formula One racing podcast that Drew Scanlon hosts with Danny O'Dwyer. Drew Scanlon is the blinking white guy meme from, he used to work at Giant Bomb, but that's where that blinking white guy meme came from, was Drew Scanlon. And then Danny O'Dwyer, it never used to work at Giant Bomb, but he's been strongly affiliated with Giant Bomb for years. He actually, shout out to No Clip, which is his game documentary channel that he has on YouTube and Patreon. And Ben likes that a lot too. But yeah, check out No Clip if you want some good video game documentaries. My next podcast is Inside the Crew, which is the Columbus Crew Soccer Club podcast. They play it on the radio.
About that one.
Yeah, they play it on the radio and then they release it later in podcast form. But there's nothing going on with that podcast right now because we're out of season. But I'm very excited for the next season of Columbus Crew Soccer and MLS. And yeah, that podcast is really great. I have 2 left. I have the Official Watchmen podcast, which is much like Chernobyl had the companion podcast with Craig Mazin. This is the same thing. He sat down with Damon Lindelof, who made Lost and The Leftovers, a bunch of other good stuff. He sat down and they did 3 episodes to cover the 9 episodes of the Watchmen TV show. If you want to hear my thoughts about Watchmen, listen to the first episode of the podcast, because I think I ranted about that for a while with Aaron. And then my last honorable mention is a podcast I literally started listening to like 3 weeks ago. It's the Official Los Angeles Lakers podcast.
Oh, nice.
I don't know the 2 guys very well that host it. It's just 2 guys that shoot the shit about Lakers stuff. They take fan mail and questions. They talk about upcoming games and stuff. So those are my honorable mentions for podcasts for 2019. And you said you did not have an honorable mentions list for this?
Well, I just thought of one because it's funny because I don't consistently listen to it. Just because the episodes are so long and they put so much of it out. And then at the end of the year, they literally do their own top set of episodes.
Yeah.
But if I had an honorable mention, it would be Comedy Bang Bang.
Yeah.
Which they do around New Year's. So they should be posting them actually pretty soon. They'll do they've gotten to top 14. It's weird now. They were 10s and then it got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
But I think it's top 15 or something around there. The fans vote on their favorite episodes of the year, and they just play the best clips from those. So it's basically their best of things. And sometimes I'll scroll through, and if the guests are people I know, I'll listen to it. But other than that, it's mostly just they really long 4 parts that are 2.5 hours long that I listen to once a year. But Comedy Bang Bang's super funny. I just don't have the time for how often they post, and I think there's a lot of duds mixed in there probably of people I don't know or people I won't find as funny, so I just wait for the best ofs. But that'd be my one honorable mention.
All right, well, let's get into our top 10 podcasts of 2019. Since I just rambled on for 10 minutes about my honorable mentions, I will let you have the first go at this here. So what is your number 10 podcast of the year?
My number 10, I have a couple here from the same podcast network that Tiff and I really like a lot. We've actually got to meet the people through they host a convention and stuff like that. We met them at PAX. But my number 10 is a podcast called You're a Wizard, Harry, where it's a Harry Potter book club podcast.
Oh, nice.
That we listen to. Yeah, I think they're on book 6 maybe now. They've been doing, they do Kickstarters for every season, which I don't understand why that's necessary, but either way. And they'll do, each episode will have, they do the, the House Cup, where they'll do, the Quizzitch Cup is what they call it. That's right.
Quizzitch.
Yeah, where they'll it's 3 hosts. There's Michael, Sarah, and Bajaya, who they'll come up with a question and they'll do rapid fire, buzz in almost to answer, and you get points for it. So they'll do trivia rounds of books or movie of whatever season they're in, and they'll do a normal book club of telling through what happens, and they'll come with a segment about it. Where a lot of the times they'll read stuff on Pottermore and talk about it, or this say whatever chapter that introduced a new character, they'll talk about that character in some detail or whatever. But it's just really cool, and it's just really funny because Tiff and I have been we haven't done it in a while, but we've been reading through the Harry Potter books together now that they have those illustrated
Oh yeah, well,
editions
I
coming
have
out.
two of those now. I have the third and fourth books are my two favorites of all time,
Hmm.
and so I have those two. I haven't gotten. They've only made four of them illustrated, so I
Yeah, I
just
would
have
say we
bought
don't have the
those.
fourth one yet.
Yeah,
Yeah, because we were going through reading those like actually out loud to each other because I was like, I haven't read the Harry Potter books in so long.
yeah,
So that was a fun thing we used to do, but we haven't done it in a while. But we're
yeah.
like we're partway through the third book, I think, right now. So I've been listening to this like as we like read a chapter, I'll listen to the podcast. So it's been kind of nice to like double down, like kind of with like an episode of um like a TV show, like those type of like your
Yeah,
Watchmen and Chernobyl and stuff like that.
yeah. No, that's really
I
cool.
actually just thought of another podcast. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I listen to a Walking Dead podcast too, which I
Oh,
really
okay.
like that one a lot. So I don't know where it would be in my top 10, but I'll just say that yeah, there's a Walking Dead one that I listen to that I think's really
Yeah.
good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool that you guys read the book to each other. That's like I think more adults should be open to doing stuff that like especially couples should be open to doing
Yeah.
activities like that with each other. I think that really
It's
helps
super
people.
fun.
Well, it's fun and it like it's like a not like a marriage counseling thing. It's not like couples counseling thing, but it's like a like almost like how do you know what I call it? Like it's therapeutic in a way. It's like cathartic.
Yeah.
It's like good to just
Like it's not just us staring at a screen.
yeah.
Like we'll stop when like get a part in a book and talk about it and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
that sounds super beneficial. Chris and I
Hmm.
need to start doing more stuff like that. Like it's a like a communication tool. It sounds like too.
Yeah, it's really fun.
That's cool. All
Hmm.
right. So I mentioned the McElroy family of podcasts. One of those is
Hell
my
yeah.
number 10. It is Sawbones, which is
Mm.
the medical show that Justin McElroy does with his wife, Sydney McElroy. I do not listen to every single episode of this podcast, admittedly. Usually I like, because I have so many other ones I listen to, usually I
Right.
will just like pick the interesting ones. But honestly, they've been killing it in the later part of 2019. So that's why I at least wanted to put it in my list at the number 10 spot. But
Nice.
it's just kind of like they're a married couple, and he's just like, he used to work at Polygon, so he was a video games guy. So he's just like he's like a pretty typical like nerdy guy, and she's a
Hmm.
doctor, and she's very intelligent. I mean, they're both really intelligent, but she's
Oh yeah.
especially like very intelligent about medical
Yeah.
stuff. And so it's
Yeah.
interesting to like have like a non-medical person and a medical person on a podcast together, and they just so happen to be married too. So
Right.
and they have a Sawbones book out now, which Krista and I bought earlier in the year,
Oh,
and
that's right. I wanted to get that.
it's really cool because it's like it's not like it's a lot of pictures and a lot of like hand drawn illustrations and stuff.
Hmm.
So it's if you like the McElroys, I obviously recommend all their podcasts, but this one in particular, if you're into medical stuff, we work in the medical field, so it's it's nice to have something that's not work related that we can read or watch that's medical related. But
Right. Yeah.
all right, well, what is your number 9?
My number 9 is one of the multiple D&D podcasts I listen to. I haven't listened to. This is definitely one that I don't like listening to weekly, just because
Mhm.
it's a very detailed D&D podcast where like it gets into like the nitty gritty of what actually playing can be like.
Mhm.
Where like you might go 5, 6, 7 hours without like actually like fighting anything or something, and they get super into like the role playing part of it. But my number 9 is called Critical Hit.
I've
It's
heard of this,
actually
yeah.
yeah, I think it's the longest running like actual play
Hmm,
podcast because they've got over 500 episodes now,
that's
and it
crazy.
started like when fourth edition started, which is like
Wow.
fifth ed is
Yeah.
the current one. So it's the DM is this guy named Rodrigo, and he's just his world is it's unbelievable. Like he's actually like recreated basically the entire D&D universe. Like he's
Mhm.
added in his own gods and like all
Yeah.
this crazy stuff, and it's like it's the in the weeds, like in the thick of like the really hardcore like nerdy D&D shit,
Yeah.
and like the details that like there's in no way could I ever come up with on my own or even had the time for it. And like I'll just listen to Rodrigo talk about it, and he's just it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of
Yeah.
like older dudes that are in like their 30s and 40s, so it's not like the Adventure Zone spoiler when we talk about that, where it's like lighthearted and fun, but like it's I don't know. It's just really it's like my nerdy D&D
Yeah.
podcast. Most of the other ones are like funny, like the lighthearted part of it, but like this is like my like hardcore D&D, I guess. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it's really good.
Okay, cool. My number 9, I don't think I've ever really talked about this podcast with you, but obviously I love horror stuff. If you know anything about me, it's one of my favorite things. There aren't too many good horror podcasts out there. A lot of them claim to be true, and they're definitely not. They're like completely made up, and I don't like. I lose interest really quick when something says like this is based on a true story, and it's definitely fucking not.
Yeah.
So,
The dragon showed up. Like, oh, okay. Yeah.
so there was a podcast that our friend Cody at work recommended for me. It was called Let's Not Meet. So that's actually not the
He's talked to me
podcast.
about that one.
So it just got so fucking hokey, and it's like he was just taking stories off of Reddit, and it's like you have to take everything you read on Reddit with a grain of salt, especially true horror stories. So
yeah,
I dropped that show. That would have been on my list had it not been for, I think, in the decline in quality in the storytelling. So I was really happy. A couple months ago, I found a show. So this is my number 9. It's called Radio Rental. Rainn Wilson, who plays Dwight Schrute on The Office, plays a character at the beginning of each one of these. So he doesn't host the podcast technically, but he's kind of like the doorman of the podcast. They call him. So he plays a rental clerk at a VHS store. So obviously this is meant to take place in like the 80s or 90s or whatever. And they do a lot of really cool sound effects, like, oh, you hear the door open, and then it sounds like somebody walking, and he's like, oh, hello, welcome back for another episode. Let's put in the tape for this week's episode. And it's him, like, putting the sound of him putting, like, a VHS tape.
Yeah.
And, like, there was one cool episode where, like, they were in the middle of a story, and all of a sudden you just heard, like, a VHS tape spinning out of control, and he's like, oh, shit. He's like, this VHS tape, he's like, it came undone. He's like, let me fix this. And then they went to an ad break, and then came back, and he fixed it. So they, like, mess around with that stuff. I can't remember what the cool thing is they have like kind of like a host, a guy who reads stories, but then they actually have some of the people come on and read their own stories. And I'm worried that this show is going to get in the territory of Let's Not Meet, where it's going to start people just making shit up to be on a podcast.
Right. They want to have their shit read.
Yeah. So, but the stories that they've read so far, some of them are just stupid, but the ones that are good are very, very creepy and well done. So I definitely recommend that one out to anybody who likes supposedly true horror podcasts.
Right.
All right. What is your number 8?
That's very cool.
Yeah.
My number 8, I will definitely let you talk more about later.
Yeah.
Because it's, as you mentioned, it's one of your favorites. But my number 8 is the Giant Bomb cast.
Fuck yeah.
Where you actually showed me this. I don't remember how long ago that was.
Mm-hmm.
A couple months ago. But
yeah, at least a couple months ago, I'd say at this point.
When did Sekiro come out?
Shit. Well, I mean, that would have been like March.
Dude, it's been longer than I thought.
Let me Google it here.
That was the game they were talking about the most on the first episode.
March 22nd. So that's literally when so it's been almost a year now that I showed you.
So it's been a long time.
Yeah, time flies.
Yeah, but it's just that's all I'll say about it is it's a video game podcast. It's got a great, like you said, a group of guys where they just, what are you guys playing? Oh, I'm playing this. Like, I like this game because, and like they'll just talk about a game for 10, 15 minutes. Or, like, the gaming news part's probably my favorite, where they just like the new stuff that's coming out.
Yep.
But like, as we've talked before, like time is like the most valuable thing in the world to me, and there just isn't enough of it to play or see or like everything. So just listening to them talk about it, it's like I will never play this game, but like I love getting to hear them talk about it because it's like it almost feels like I'm getting to play it
or watching them play it because they do a lot of video content too, and especially the premium stuff. I know you're not a premium member. I will say they do sales on their membership, so it's $50. Yeah. It's $50 a year, which to me, or it's either 50 or 60. But to me, it's like that's the price of one video game for an entire year of Giant Bomb stuff. I would literally like drop everything if it meant that I could keep my subscription to this website because they just mean the absolute world to me. But they do sales like 2 or 3 times a year at this point, where it's $35 for a membership instead of 60.
I was gonna say they've already done I think 2 or 3 of those
I think their membership is actually $50, and then it's $35 on sale. But if you renew at $50, they give you a $15 Giant Bomb store credit, so you can like use it to like buy a shirt or something.
Oh, that's cool.
But when you get it for the sale price, you don't get that code because that's where that $15 is being taken out. But
that makes sense.
So
that's cool.
But yeah, if you ever do decide to renew it like that full price, just know that you would get like a fucking t-shirt out of it. Basically, you just have to pay like the other $5 to top out, $20 for a shirt. Or whatever.
Right.
But I will definitely be talking about them later on in my list.
Yeah.
I
love it though. They're very funny.
I'm
very,
very happy that
that's very good.
Yeah, we got Aaron into it this year. We got you into it this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
nice.
Ben. Yeah,
no, he didn't listen to it.
Yeah, Ben has been with them since 2009 when they started. This year was their 10-year anniversary.
That's insane.
So yeah, Ben has been with them because they used to have they all came from different places, and I could go on and on about the history of this website. But Joystick Podcast and GameSpot and a lot of that early stuff.
Yep.
They all came together from different places, and it's just
Joystick was the origins of a lot of stuff.
Yep.
The McElroys, and because of the McElroy, like the Geekly podcasts.
Yep.
That I was talking about. they started because of being fans of that too.
Oh, I
So
didn't know about the Geekly thing, but yeah, no, that's
hmm
when we were in high school and early college. That's all Ben would talk about was Giant Bomb and Joystick and all that stuff. So
that's
no,
wild.
that's really cool. So
hmm
speaking of Giant Bomb people, this is not technically a Giant Bomb affiliated podcast, but it has a Giant Bomb member in it and his wife, Dan and Bianca Reichert's podcast. Is
Mm.
my number 8 called Panning the Stream. Have I told you about this one?
I don't think so.
Okay, so
At
they
least I don't
start.
remember my name.
I think they started this podcast this year too, so or at least like the beginning of the year or something. But they've put out quite a few episodes now. But it's Dan Reichert from Giant Bomb, previously of Game Informer, and his wife Bianca. They talk about like panning the stream is like a term like whenever people are like talking about like panning for gold or whatever.
Mm.
But their clever play on words is like streaming services like Netflix. So they seek out things that you can watch on streaming services and they just talk about them. So
Oh,
they talk
okay.
about like lately they've been doing My Hero Academia, which is an anime series. It's like on
hmm
Funimation and Crunchyroll. They do like really bad movies on Amazon Prime sometimes. They do, but it's really entertaining. It's another one of those shows. Just listening to people shoot the shit and talking about good and bad movies and shows and stuff. So that is my number 8. What is your number 7?
Nice. My number 7 is a podcast I know I've talked to you a little bit about. It is something called Wizard and the Bruiser,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
it's from the Cave Comedy Radio
Mm-hmm.
Network, I believe is what they're called. They do like Last Podcast on the Left is probably their biggest
I've heard
one.
of that. Yeah.
Roundtable Gentlemen is another one that I used to listen to that I haven't to in a long time. That could probably be a honorable mention. That's just the most buck wild shit. But
Yeah.
this one is just two guys, Holden and Jake,
Mm-hmm.
who it's basically just like did you know slash history behind different like pop culture like topics and stuff. They've done everything from different video games is mostly what it ends up being, or like TV shows or movies or like a certain like they did they've done like the Power Rangers and like Sonic. They've done like SpongeBob. They'll do like the Turtles from back in the day. They'll do like Resident Evil had one, World of
Yeah.
Warcraft, Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
like all sorts of stuff. Just all sorts of cool like nerdy pop culture things. Like the most recent one I listened to was actually you remember the show Xeno, the Warrior Princess
Yeah.
or whatever?
Xenia, Warrior Princess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
their last one was an episode on that I
Oh,
listened
okay.
to,
That's
and it was
cool.
super interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
just what's her name, Lucy Lawless, and all that
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
craziness of that show. So they've done a bunch, and they like a lot of their really cool ones are on their Patreon. I think if you're like $50 a month, like one of the big ones, you just basically like force them to do an episode on a topic.
Mm-hmm.
And I've thought about it because they've still never fucking done like a Robert Kirkman or a Walking Dead one, and I want them to do that so bad.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
like I'm gonna be drunk one night and be like, you know what, $50, do Robert Kirkman. Like I just want it so bad.
For
But
sure.
it's really cool and really interesting. Like I've learned a ton of like random, like did you know type facts about a bunch of stuff. So it's really entertaining. I like it a lot.
All right. My number 7. I am going to be honest and say I really did not like this man for a very long time. I did not like this podcast for a very long time. But
Oh
shout out
shit.
to my friend Randy who got me into this podcast this year. I still don't know how I feel
Oh,
about
I
him,
know what it is.
especially with his political beliefs. I don't necessarily always agree with this man, but I like a lot of the guests that he's had on his show this year. I'm trying to think of a couple of the episodes. Well, anyway, my number 7, is that right? They're on 7? Yeah. My
Yeah.
number 7 is the Joe Rogan Experience.
Mm-hmm.
Another one of those podcasts where it's just hours and hours long. Like, and it's just these really long conversations. But he's had like Bernie Sanders on this year. He's had the Black Keys, bunch of other really good.
Elon Musk was one of them. I remember
Musk.
seeing
The
clips
Black
of that.
Keys one, I
Smoke
think
weed with Elon Musk.
that was amazing.
Yeah.
But the Black Keys episode might honestly be my favorite one from this year. It was like 3.5 hours, and I've loved the Black Keys for a really long time. Ben's an even bigger fan of the Black Keys than I am, but I've loved them for a really long time. And just like getting to learn about them as people, and especially since they're from Akron.
Mm-hmm.
It was just cool. But yeah, Joe Rogan's podcast, it's one of those ones where I don't like a lot of what he has to say sometimes. So I usually only listen to the episodes of his podcast when he brings on guests that I like, because then it's like, oh,
Right.
well, I'm like interested in this person. Like I wouldn't, because I think Randy like watches highlights at least, because he puts them up on his YouTube channel, like the highlights of all of his episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And he watches them all, and I'm like, I'm not at the point yet where I could say I'm a huge fan, but I really do like him now better as a person than I did before. And I like this podcast a lot more than I ever thought I would.
Yeah.
So
His
that's
stand up is like really funny. I used
Yeah.
to love it.
Yeah, and
He's
of
got some
course
wild takes in there, but yeah, I know what
it's
you mean.
yeah, and then Fear Factor. That's where I first learned about
Oh
him,
my
and
god. Yeah.
watching UFC back in the day. So
Yeah.
there's lots to like about Joe Rogan, and I think there's a lot to not like depending on where you are on the spectrum of politics and
Hmm.
other stuff. But
What he
anyway,
happens to be talking about.
for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. So that's my number 7. So we're getting to almost to the halfway point here of the podcast list. So what is your number 6?
Nice. My number 6 recently changed the name of their podcast, and I will literally never call them by their actual name. Their
Yeah,
new name is called Greetings Adventurers, but they were formerly known as the Drunks and Dragons podcast,
nice.
which is the other Geekly Inc. show,
Yeah.
like how Your Wizard was. Which I mentioned before, how they were connected to like the McElroys kind of through
Mm-hmm.
Joystick. Is
Yeah.
Thrifty is like the him and Tim Lanning is his name. Well, it's Michael Demaro is Thrifty Nerd was like his
Mm-hmm.
name back in the day, but he just goes by Michael now. Him and Tim and this other guy Nick, who was on the Game of Thrones podcast, that was their actual first
Mm-hmm.
podcast they did together.
Yeah.
We're all fans of Joystick and like really close with like Justin specifically and Griffin through
Mm-hmm.
there. And Thrifty actually made the very first Mabim Bam website way back in the day.
Oh, cool.
Like I remember them calling, like shouting him out on like the early episodes of Mabim Bam when I got caught up,
Yeah,
and I was like,
that's
"Holy
really
shit, that's
cool.
amazing!" Yeah,
Yeah.
but this is their Dungeons and Dragons podcast that they they just changed the name to it recently because they're like, "Hey, it's wild how having the name Drunks in your name or the word Drunks in your name makes ad people not want to like put their products on your channel. That's crazy."
Yeah.
Because like their very very early episodes were kind of like they would get like really drunk, but now they just
Yeah.
like casually drink while being like goofy and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like the crossroads of like drunks is bad for advertising, and then there's people looking for them to be super drunk, and they're not like that. So it was just like bad all around, which I understand, but they'll
Sure.
forever just be known as like drunks for me. But
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's just a D&D podcast that they've been going on for 300 something episodes now.
Wow.
It's just
Crazy.
can't say a whole lot about it without just like referencing bits from the show
Oh,
that
for
like people
sure.
wouldn't know. But
Yeah.
they're just really really funny, and they're really good like accepting people. Like they absolutely hate like I don't know. They're very liberal in like the good ways of like
Yes.
including everybody and like
Yes.
not discriminating. Like they're just like good messages like that
Yeah.
that I really appreciate. So
No, that's
and
cool.
they had the sponsor that I won those dice from when they did the giveaway
Oh,
and stuff.
yeah.
That's the podcast. Yeah. So they're really cool. But that's my number 6.
Yeah, podcasts a lot. I mean, you could say this for almost all the ones on my list. They really are one of the things that help me get through the day. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't always necessarily pay attention to every word that's spoken in every podcast I listen to. So it'd be hard for me
Right.
to tell you exactly every detail about all of these.
Mm-hmm.
But just know that if any of these I've listened to a lot of podcasts in my life, but if they're on my top 10, they mean more to me than just the average podcast goer. Like these,
Right.
these legitimately get me through like tough times or a tough day at work. And yeah, podcasts have really been a big help in the last couple of years, keeping my mind on track during the day.
Oh yeah.
But that's cool though. So my number 6 is Hollywood Babylon with Kevin Smith and Ralph Garman.
Oh, nice.
So they haven't been doing it lately because Kevin Smith has been out on the road with Jason Mewes for their Jay and Silent Bob reboot roadshow tour, where they're taking the movie around to theaters and showing it. That movie will be coming out on digital next month. So I don't know if are you and Tiff into Jay and Silent Bob and Kevin Smith and stuff or not?
I liked the movie. I'm not like a huge fan. I like him more so I think as a person, like of what I've seen.
Yeah, yeah.
More so than I've like watched all of his stuff. But like
Gotcha.
I love Jay and Silent Bob, and like Clerks was such a great movie, and yeah.
Well,
so I
then
definitely like him.
when that movie comes out, I will have you over so you can watch the reboot with me because it's literally
Oh, yeah.
just Kevin Smith jerking himself off for an hour and a half because it's just so many references to all of his movies and especially to Jay and Silent Bob. He literally brings back like all the cast members from the first movie, which was made like almost 20 years ago at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And it was, I mean, after he had the heart attack, of course, we were all scared we were going to lose him. And so the fact that he was able to like make this movie was just a miracle in and of itself. But yeah. I've always been a huge Kevin Smith fan. I saw Clerks and Jay and Silent Bob when I was a kid, and those movies have always been really important to me and really obviously funny, but just important for other reasons too. But yeah, so that Hollywood Babylon is the podcast that they do. They talk about entertainment news and geek news and stuff like that. They do like
nice.
Ralph Garman does impressions. We finally got to see them live either last year or the year before, but Cleveland, they brought the live show around. They recorded an episode of the podcast like in Cleveland.
Nice.
So that was cool. But yeah, so that's my number 6. We are down to our top 5 now. So what is your number 5 podcast of the year?
We getting into it
Oh
now.
hell yeah.
So my number 5 is probably the newest podcast on here, but it's so damn good. It is yet another Dungeons and Dragons podcast, so it's
Yeah.
my third of 4 in my top 10. So that's basically what I listen to all the time. My number 5 is a show called Dungeons and Daddies.
Oh
John, know if you've
man.
heard of this?
Yeah, you've told
It
me about it.
sounds
Yeah.
every time you say the name, it's like I've told Brandon and Andy about it, and they just go ugh, every time. Like it's not like they're literally on the like art for the podcast. It says not a BDSM podcast, but they did like a Patreon goal eventually where they actually made a BDSM
Oh
podcast, and
man,
it was
that's amazing.
outrageous and hysterical.
That's
But
funny.
it's the whole the whole premise of it is a group of dads from like our world. Like you've got there's like a rock and roll dad, there's like the Boy Scout troop dad, there's the sports dad, there's like the creepy weird stepdad. I think that's it was just the 4 of them.
Yeah.
Where they somehow get accidentally teleported into like the world of D&D, and all of their kids, all of their sons get like stolen, and they have to like go save them. And it's just the most buck wild shit that they go through. Like the DM's phenomenal. He makes a lot of really cool like things that they have to do, and it's one of the funniest things I've ever listened to in my entire life, honestly.
That's
and
awesome.
There's only I think 20 episodes or so or something like that, and they post bi-weekly. So now that I got caught up, it's like, oh, okay, well this isn't one that's gonna like be a bear on me to like keep up with. Like it's just 2 episodes a month, kind of like Taz.
Yeah.
But it's so damn funny, and because it's so small, like it's such a like easy one for me to recommend to people because it's like 20 episodes and you're caught up, and it's so fucking funny. I can't get over it.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so my number 5 pick is, we talked about the McElroy brothers a lot, so this is my favorite McElroy brothers podcast that they make. My number 5 is My Brother, and Me.
Hell yeah.
An advice show for the modern era, as they always say at the beginning. For those of you who don't know, My Brother, and Me is an advice show. It is where they go on Yahoo Answers and they try to answer old questions that have usually already been answered. But they do take in like audience questions, listener questions, stuff like that. Just absolutely hilarious. I know that you and I have both tried to get other people into the show that have no idea who the McElroys are, and by the time they're done listening to a few episodes, they're like, okay, yeah, I want to know more about these people and stuff. So
yeah,
definitely check that out if you haven't already. So what is your number 4?
My number 4 is the final of the 3 Geekly Inc. podcasts on here. I mentioned before how they used to have a Game of Thrones podcast that was called Cast of Thrones, which I guess I could have done a shout out for that because that technically had some episodes aired this year. Where it was just your normal TV watch show. They'd run through what happened and talk about it and things like that. Well, when Game of Thrones ended, they were extremely relieved at that point that it was done because they're like, we fucking can't anymore. Because they like as a whole, they didn't really like season 7 or 8 at all, and like they found it really hard to like podcast on something that they like it. They had some episodes where they did this where it was just like an hour and a half of them just screaming about how shitty it was, which isn't always like if you agree with it, it could be fine. But even that, I'm like, that's just more like negativity and stuff like that. But they ended up making a new podcast called Dear Internet, and I'm trying to think. It's barely older than Dungeons and Daddies as far as when I started listening to it because there's only less than 20, I think, and this is also a bi-monthly one. But being big fans of My Brother, and Me, I was kind of mad when they said what their premise was because it felt going into it like they were just doing Mabim Bam, which I didn't like them like trying to steal it. But they read questions from Reddit, where that's where I was like, oh, they're doing Reddit, but not like Yahoo. But they just read each episode will have 3 just wild scenarios on Reddit, and they just talk about it, and a lot of it ends up being the conversation that spins off of it. Like they've done tons of like, I work in an office and my one coworker does this like super obnoxious thing. Like, am I wrong if I tell them that they're like wrong, blah, 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 like that type of stuff.
Gotcha.
And they'll just talk for like 10 or 15 minutes about like all the horrible things that people in offices have done.
Yeah.
And like us working in an office, I'm like, it's like they work for us. Like,
oh yeah,
they're just directly describing a ton of people that I've seen at work.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, and just the 4 of them in general are just extremely funny people. So just them talking about stuff, and like by the end of it, Tim is just like, I hate this. Like, why do we do this podcast? Because it's always like they'll have those questions of like, my boyfriend does this, like he like fucking kills birds on the dining room table every morning. Like, is it weird if I tell him not to do this? And he's just like, why would you think that's weird? Like, that's so off. Like, he just like loses his mind by the end of it, and it just breaks him every week of like how
that's
horrible
hilarious.
and stupid people are.
Oh yeah, people are the worst.
Yeah, it's every other week, and it's like 45 minutes, so it's really easy to digest too, and it's super fucking funny.
Awesome.
But yeah, Dear Internet, it's a good one.
Dear Internet. Okay.
Hmm.
So we are in the nitty gritty of it here. So
Yeah, we are.
my number four is a podcast that started this year, and it is about my favorite TV show of all time. I don't know if Alex remembers what my favorite
Oh
TV show
shit.
is of all time. I don't know if you out there listening know what it is. But my number four is called Office Ladies. It is the show, the actresses Jenna Fisher and Angela Kinsey, who played Pam and Angela on The Office, started a podcast
Oh
this
my
year
god,
called Office Ladies.
I didn't know
And
that.
the premise of this podcast is they are watching every single episode and then breaking it down from their point of view, from how they remember like filming it.
Oh my god, it's
It's
amazing.
fucking amazing.
I need to listen to
If you
that.
like The Office at all, and then they brought some guests on, like they brought Dwight Schrute on, Rainn Wilson himself on already for it. They brought on Paul Feig, who's a really funny director who directed a bunch of Office episodes
Hmm.
and who directed Bridesmaids and other funny movies like that. But
Yes.
if you like The Office even a little bit, you got to listen to Office Ladies. What is your number three?
Oh man, I'm definitely gonna. I'm like downloading it right now.
Hell yeah.
Like I need to listen to that.
Yeah, they just started it not too long ago. I think they're only like 7 episodes into it or something like that.
Oh, okay, that's so
Let me
good.
see here. Actually, no, further than I thought. They're on episode 9,
Okay.
which was the Office Olympics with Paul Feig. That was the most recent
Oh
episode.
my god, yes, that's so
But
good.
yeah, they're literally going episode by episode, so they're going to have at least 200 episodes of the podcast,
Yeah,
because I think
I was
that's how
gonna say,
many
that's good.
episodes of the show there are.
Yeah, I mean 9 seasons.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like 20 plus. So yeah, they'll get there.
Yep.
My number three is my baseball podcast I listen to from
Mm-hmm.
Barstool Sports, which is 98% of it is like douchebag central in my opinion, as far as like sports reporting
Oh,
and stuff like
Barstool
that.
Sports. Yeah, no, it's literally the bro like hangout for
Yeah,
sports stuff.
exactly. Like the bro sports. Yeah,
Yep.
like they'll post some funny articles that I like looking at, but they're overall kind of terrible. But
Yeah.
Starting Nine is their baseball podcast, and I legitimately
Okay.
love the shit out of that show
Nice.
because it's Jared Carrabis, who's like a Red Sox guy,
Mhm.
Dallas Braden, who is a former pitcher in the big leagues, who actually threw a perfect game in like 2008 or
Oh,
something.
nice. Okay.
He was like a very, very like average to below average pitcher who's
Mhm.
thrown one of the like fucking 19 perfect games ever. It makes no sense. They talk about that all the time. Like, how the fuck did you throw a perfect game? He's like, dude, I don't know, but I did it, type of thing. And then they
Yeah.
have like the stats nerdy guy Jay Hay, who's actually an Indians fan, which is cool. They'll ask him about Indian stuff and all the fucking terrible shit they're doing to the team right now. But they just talk baseball. They'll have like a special guest every episode where they'll like interview actual players. You get to like, they don't ask them like the cookie cutter like what's it like playing on a team, but like they'll like talk about non-baseball stuff with them, which I
Mhm.
think is really interesting because you get to know like the player themselves, not listening to them just say like, oh, I'm trying my hardest out there and like believe in my teammates and like the same shit you hear every time.
Mm-hmm.
But and like their episodes are super long too, like 2.5 hours. So they'll just get in the
Oh, yeah.
weeds of talking baseball, and it's just great. It's my baseball fix.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So my number three, along with horror stuff, I love true crime stuff. I grew up watching Unsolved Mysteries and Cold Case Files with my grandma, and it is carried over into adulthood in a major way. I watch Forensic Files. I watch old reruns of Unsolved Mysteries. The closest thing to a true crime podcast that I found that I absolutely love, and I'm now a Patreon member, and I have been a Patreon member for like the last year or so, is Crime Junkies. That is my number three on my list.
Nice.
If any of you out there like true crime stuff at all, I'm sure that you're probably already listening to this, but if you aren't, then the time is now. You got to jump in because they literally, I think that they put out a call for, because they have a pretty big following now. When I first started following them, they weren't really that well known, but they've really grown in the last year or so. Like I think they've hit number one on the iTunes download charts like a couple times this year at least.
Oh wow.
But I think they put a call out for like, hey, if you guys have any cases you want us to look into on the show, send them to us. I think they said they got like tens of thousands of cases.
Holy hell.
So I mean, they literally
Like,
are
well.
set for life, like for episodes,
Yeah.
But yeah, if you like true crime, Crime Junkies podcast is my favorite one. So what is
Nice.
your number two, sir?
My number two, we are to the McElroys
Hell yeah.
for the final two. My number two is The Adventure Zone, which is also my favorite D&D podcast of all
Hell yeah.
time. And probably even more so than Bim Bam. I think my like most successful podcast I've recommended to people, because I showed it to people at work, like Emily and Hannah and stuff at work.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Hannah ever got around to it, but Emily started listening to it and she actually loved it. And she's the one who showed me Dungeons and Daddies actually.
Yeah.
But speaking of the Adventure Zone, did you know they're making a card game?
Yes, and it sounds incredible.
Oh my god, I freaked the hell out. Like I haven't bought it yet, but I'm definitely gonna buy the the $60 whatever special one it
So I'm
is.
curious, is it one of those things like is it being kickstarted or could I like go on Amazon and search for it?
I think it's.
I'm
I
gonna
know they
search
have
for it right
they
now.
have
Let's
their
see
own
here.
website for it,
So the
and it
graphic
might be.
novels are on here. The Petals to the Metal one is coming out July 14th. They have the cover
Mhm.
art up for that, and you can pre-order that now. I'm not seeing the card game, so I'm sure that it's probably one of those things you have to order from their website.
I think so because I think it's like the TazGame.com. There's like its own website that might be the only place for it.
There we go.
But it's,
It's boardgamegeek.com is the first thing that came up.
there
So,
we go. Yeah, I think that's the company they're selling it through or something like that.
okay.
I don't think it's a Kickstart.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's just like they are making it, but they're just taking pre-orders until
Yeah.
the end of January, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But the card game is going to be one of those like cooperative deck building type games, I think. Excuse me, but that's based off of like season 1 of the Adventure Zone, which didn't come out
Yeah.
in 2019, or else it would be my number one anything ever forever. But in 2019, they finished up Amnesty, and Travis is starting his new game where they're going back to D&D. But it's just like we talked about already, the McElroy brothers and their dad playing. They played D&D, then they played Monster of the Week, I think is what the game was called, and now they're back to D&D. So it's like their role-playing game podcast where just like the production quality is amazing, like the music Griffin's made for it.
Yeah.
They're actually really good like actors in this. Like I feel like they do really well with the role-playing stuff, where like you really get into it, and they're just literally the funniest, like most genuine people in entertainment, I feel like.
Yeah.
So it's just I love the Adventure Zone, so that's my number 2.
Oh, absolutely. McElroy family stuff in general, all their stuff is so good.
Oh my god.
All right, well, I'm not going to ramble on too much about it because everybody knows my thoughts about my favorite video game website out there. My number 2 and my number 1 are kind of lumped together because they're both from Giant Bomb. My number 2 is the Giant Beast Cast. If you didn't know already, they have an East Coast and a West Coast. I need
to listen to that because I still haven't listened to anything.
Yeah, it's a completely different experience. It's just as good in my opinion, but it's like you get like one piece of the puzzle by listening to the Giant Bombcast, and the Beastcast is the other piece of the puzzle. Because when they first started, they only had the West Coast office, and then they split off and they made the New York office. And so the Beastcast, it's in the name. It's like Beast in the East, Beastcast.
Yeah.
So it's my favorite gaming website that I've ever found. I will never stop saying thank you to Ben for introducing me to this website because it's legitimately been my favorite thing like ever. And it's just I love them so much. And yeah, Beastcast is an amazing podcast. They put that out every Friday. So if you're looking for a good place to get into some Giant Bomb stuff, that's a good place to start along with the next podcast, which I'm sure you've guessed by now will be my number 1 after Alex gives his number 1.
Yeah. Is the Beastcast like the format the same? It's just a different crew.
It's pretty much the same. They talk about what games they've been playing lately. They talk about the news, and then they go off on some wild tangents, even wilder than the Bombcast does. And they also have Mike Mahardy. Yeah, Mike Mahardy from GameSpot is a guest on there a lot, and they have a lot more guests and stuff I think than the West Coast has had lately.
Yeah,
but it's just as good. It's a different experience, and it's a different crew, and it also features the only female member of Giant Bomb, Abby Russell. She's on there, and she's fucking amazing. It's literally made Christa love Giant Bomb even more, seeing like female representation in Giant Bomb finally.
Right.
Like not that they were intentionally leaving females out.
Right. It just happened.
It just kind of happened that way. So diversity is always a good thing. So now they have Abby and Jan Ochoa, and I can't remember. I wish I could remember off the top of my head what his nationality is, but it's nice to have some diversity in the crew for sure.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. So what is your number 1? I think I already know what it is, but what is your number 1?
Yeah, my number 1 I think was your number 5.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, they will always be my 1 and 2 as far as favorite podcast ever. I think My Brother and Me, my number 1, their episodes in 2019 specifically, I think have been better than Amnesty and Graduation so far. So like they get the nod this year, but I think overall like Balance is still my favorite anything they've ever done.
Yeah.
But yeah, My Brother and Me, we've already talked about it a ton, but they've been fucking destroying it for like 6 months straight, it feels like. I've always found them funny, but like each episode has a part where I'm like pausing it to like control myself while I'm at work. Like it's just damn funny and like.
I wish I would have said that during mine. I'm happy that you said it because like
Mhm.
that is the point that I want to make, is that there was a while where I was listening to my brother and me just to listen to it because I liked it,
Right.
but it wasn't like every single episode wasn't this laugh out loud like
Oh my god.
oh experience, but literally
Yeah.
it's hard to listen to at work anymore for the reasons that you
Yeah.
said, because it's just they've been so funny for so
Oh,
consistently long now.
I don't know how they do it. Like I just really, it's
It's
incredible. It
and the
really
sad
is.
part is they really don't have to put in any effort into being funny. It's just
No.
it's kind of like Giant Bomb in a way. Like I get the most laughs out of them laughing at themselves, I think.
Oh my
And
god, yeah.
it's
Especially like Travis's laugh
yeah,
specifically. I lose my shit every time he starts laughing at something.
yeah, for sure.
Oh my god.
So
Yeah, I'm
that's
gonna
so
be on
that's
my
your
number one.
so then my number one, of course, is the Giant Bomb cast. I won't
Hmm.
ramble on. We're gonna end the podcast segment there. If you like video games and you like Adjutant Gaming, the whole reason that any of this started was because of Giant Bomb. I have them to thank, and I have Ben to thank forever for getting me into Giant
Hmm.
Bomb. So we
Giant
are
Ben.
Giant Ben cast. We are an hour and 10 minutes into this podcast already, and we still have music, movies, and games to go.
We have a
So
lot.
great pace here. So
Oh yeah, we're crushing it.
let's roll right on with it here. Do you have honorable mentions for movies this year?
Movies. Where am my list at here? Okay. So I actually was going through. When I made my list, it was like I was like, okay, what are the movies I went and saw in theaters this year? And once
Yeah.
again, it was exactly 10.
Hell yeah.
So my actual top 10 are the movies I saw in theaters. But as far as other movies, I was like, oh shit, there's a bunch of stuff we watched on Netflix this year, Tiff. I totally forgot about.
Yeah.
We watched El Camino, the Breaking Bad movie.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty good. I wasn't expecting like a groundbreaking, like just as good as the show. I thought it was a cool, like extra story and like wrapped up what Jesse was doing, like with a nice bow. That I
Mm-hmm.
thought was really good. We watched a couple like rom coms on Netflix. They're actually really good.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen? Oh my god, I didn't write it down because I was thinking about it. Always Be My Maybe.
We haven't seen
I
it
think we've
yet, but
talked about that.
it's on the top of our list of things we need to do.
Very fucking funny. It's
Yeah.
Ali Wong and the dude who plays Asian Jim in The Office. I don't remember what his actual name is, but that's
Yes,
where I
yes.
recognized him
That's
from.
amazing, Asian Jim. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so fucking funny. From like that very specific
The
one
episode
of
where
The Office.
they replaced Jim with an Asian Jim. Like it's a
Oh my
guy who
god,
looks or
Michael.
sounds nothing like him, and he was just like, I'm Jim, and then like he like looks and they like got pictures of Asian Jim with Pam and the family and stuff.
Pam kisses him. He knows his
Oh,
like
God.
voicemail
That is my favorite.
password.
That is my favorite show of all time for a reason.
Yeah, but that movie, those are the two that I probably liked the most of everything we didn't see in theaters.
Yeah, yeah.
Outside of like, there's probably some obscure like 30-year-old movie or 20-year-old movie that I watched for the first time that I couldn't even think of from like 9 months ago. But as far as like new releases, those are probably the two like new things I saw, not in theaters.
Okay, so that's your honorable mentions then for movies.
Yeah.
Okay. I've only got a couple here for my honorable mentions for movies. My music and my games are my longest honorable mentions. So when it comes time for those, I'm going to go through them pretty quick because I got quite a few for those. But for movies, my honorable mentions, my first one is Doctor Sleep. It is the sequel to The Shining that came out in theaters. I believe it was in September or October. I can't remember which one. Or November. I don't fucking remember. But it came out a couple months ago. And it was really good. I had some problems with it. It was a little bit too long. It drug on in parts, and the pacing was really weird. But it captured the spirit of the Shining universe, if that's a thing that is a thing, I guess. But the Shining is always going to be my favorite Stephen King thing. Probably, I've never read the book, but the movie. I've seen a lot of Stephen King movies, and it's definitely my favorite Stephen King movie.
The book's good.
Yeah, okay.
I read most of it for a school paper, actually.
Yeah, we talked about that before, but
yeah,
yeah.
I was like, this book's 700 pages. I can't finish this shit,
Aaron
so I didn't read the whole thing. But
Aaron is the shout out to Aaron, by the way, from the first episode of the podcast and from Final Fridays. He's the biggest Stephen King fan that I know, and he told me that I need to read The Shining. But yeah, Doctor Sleep was a really worthy entry into the Stephen King universe of movies, I think. My second movie on my honorable mentions is called Long Shot. It is the movie with Charlize Theron and Seth Rogen in it.
Oh yeah, that looked really funny.
It's really good. Like it's so much better than it had any right to be. It was just I thought it was just going to be a typical dumb Seth Rogen movie, but it's surprisingly like it's not one of those movies that's got like a lot to say, and it's not like some political or social commentary or anything, but it's got a lot more heart than I expected it to. And it's really funny and really enjoyable. My third honorable mention is a movie called Ready or Not, which basically, if you've ever seen the horror movie called You're Next, it's like You're Next meets Clue. It's
Oh shit.
This woman, like she's, I can't remember if it's like her boyfriend or fiance or husband or something, but she had never met the family until now. I think, yeah, because she just got married to him, I think, and they're like celebrating the wedding with like this big family party. And things go off the rails when she finds out that it's like a tradition, like the newest member of the family to be initiated, like the family hunts that person.
Oh damn.
And so that's the whole premise of the movie. But it's like it's not a murder mystery in the sense of Clue, but it's just like all the characters in one location for the entire movie type thing.
Right.
But it's pretty enjoyable. Not a perfect movie by any means, but it was enjoyable. My next honorable mention is Detective Pikachu. So
Hell yeah.
it is, yeah. The fun part of that movie, granted, I just don't think at this point, like I don't think I'll ever be as much of a Pokemon fan as I used to be when I was a kid, although Sword and Shield really brought me back into it in a way. And then Pokemon Go, of course, is a game that I like to play a lot. But Detective Pikachu, the most fun I had with that movie was just pointing out every Pokemon that I recognize because they put so many, different ones in it.
Oh yeah.
But overall, really fun, enjoyable movie, but it wasn't quite up to snuff for my top 10 this year. My next honorable mention is The Irishman, which is Martin Scorsese's new movie.
Need to watch that.
It's 3.5 hours long, so plan your day accordingly. Yep. But it is literally the 2010 era's Goodfellas. That's how good it is.
Shit.
It's so fucking good. It's unbelievably good, and it's based on a true story too. So, or I guess like it's true if you want to believe the guy that the book that the movie was based off of.
Right.
If you want to believe that guy, it's about Jimmy Hoffa, like what actually happened to Jimmy Hoffa.
I was gonna say I knew it was like an actual person
that
was
the
in
crime,
the movie.
The crime around that part. So the confusing part to me, I haven't read the book, which the book is called "I Heard You Paint Houses," and I need to go back and read that book. But the gist of it is like, it really, the Jimmy Hoffa thing doesn't even really become an issue till like towards the end of the movie. But it's interesting because like the guy flat out says like, "Hey, I'm the one that killed Jimmy Hoffa. Here's how I did it. Here's how he got rid of the body." But like nobody's been able to corroborate it, and so that's why it's not 100% fact. But anyway, I have two more honorable mentions: Spider-Man: Far From Home. I absolutely love Tom Holland as Spider-Man, so I really enjoyed this entry in the series. And then my final honorable mention is Alita: Battle Angel, which to my knowledge is the most anime-ass anime movie that's not an anime movie. Because I think it's based off of like a manga or something, but it feels like it feels like a big budget live action anime movie like brought to life, and it was really enjoyable for me. I think Aaron watched it and he wasn't as crazy about it, and I know it got pretty mixed reviews, but I kind of feel the same way about Alita: Battle Angel that I do as like Ready Player One. Like I know a lot of people didn't really like that movie, but it was like a feast for the eyes, and it was just a fun popcorn movie.
Right.
So that is my honorable mentions for movies. So now we'll get into the actual lists here. What is your number 10 movie for 2019?
So my number 10. So like I said, these were the 10 movies I went and saw in theaters this year.
Yeah.
And I lucked out. I didn't hate any of them. So even though like my first one is technically the worst movie I saw in theaters this year, but I liked all of them. And it's actually kind of funny saying that because my number 10 is Endgame.
Oh man, that's crazy. I mean, I'm going to tell you, I felt weird because I'm going to spoil it. Endgame's in my list, and I felt bad about where I put it in my list, but I didn't quite put it that low. Honestly,
it's the worst movie I saw this year.
I support you not even putting this movie on your list. I feel like a lot of people at this point put Marvel and Star Wars on their list by default.
Right, yeah.
And I feel like, to me at this point, Marvel and Star Wars have to earn their place on my list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like how I said, like I didn't think about the Netflix movies. I think I liked Endgame more than El Camino. Yeah. I liked it more than Always Be My Maybe and some of the other like rom-coms we had watched. And of all I watched this is crazy. I did watch John Wick for the first time this year.
Oh, fucking great movie.
I think I like that more than Endgame. But like it's still like I was still trying to think of like all the movies I had watched, period. And like I still think it's number 10. But I'm very neutral on Marvel. I think I've mentioned this before, like as far as like the 3 tiers of like my fandom, like at the top, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones.
Absolutely.
The middle is Star Wars, and the bottom for me is Marvel, honestly. I think nothing against any of the movies in particular, but like I never got into like comic books or superheroes much, which is crazy because my dad loves them. Like he's got so many, like if you're any comic book fans, Stream Dad has boxes and boxes of like comics from the 70s that are
Oh,
basically
fuck.
Dutch.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess I gotta make a
Yeah.
trip over to Stream Dad's house then, because this sounds like
Yeah.
my exact shit I need to see.
They're wild. Like he's got like X-Men, like Turtles, like he has like full sets of some of them. They're wild.
It's crazy you mentioned that tiers thing, because I think that I'm almost 100% with you on that at this point.
Really?
I really do. Like, Game of Thrones for me might get downgraded to middle. At the height of my love for Game of Thrones, it would have been top tier, but I think I really would put Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings above. I love Star Wars, but I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan. And I feel the same way about Marvel. Like, the height of me being a Marvel fan was probably like Captain America Civil War.
Yeah.
And then I just got to be overkill for me, just like Star Wars and stuff. I feel like there's just enough Harry Potter
too
movies,
much.
and there's just enough Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movies to where you can enjoy it without like having to watch 20 movies a year, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. That was my big thing, because like along with the tiers were like the top tier. And I could throw Walking Dead in there, even though it's kind of forgotten with the masses. Where it's like the top tiers, like the second that thing comes out for any of those franchises, like I'm in it. I want to see it. I'll buy a bunch of stuff like involving that. Like I am in it.
Yeah.
Star Wars, I'll see all of it, but I like don't really have any like urgency. The only reason I wanted to see it like the new one 2 days after it came out was mostly for spoilers, because the internet sucks. Like it's a spoiler thing. But like Endgame, I didn't care about. Like I didn't look for spoilers, but like I saw that I think a couple weeks, maybe a month or so after. Just like I'll see the Avengers movies is kind of where I'm at with Marvel.
Yeah.
To where I was like, I missed like the last 9 of these movies. Like I'm not gonna go back and watch all these. Like it's just too much. And they're great and they're fine, but like it's just not my like favorite cup of tea.
Yeah, it's oversaturation, I think, at this point. I think if they were putting a couple of those out a year, I'd be fine with it. And Star Wars is a little bit better about it now that we're not so much in like the Last Jedi Solo territory. But still, like when you think about it, we got Rise of Skywalker and The Mandalorian this year, which like that's just enough Star Wars for me. I know some people are like,
one movie and a show.
One movie and one show, that's fine. But all the Marvel shit is just overkill for me at this point. But no, it's awesome to hear that. I'm happy that you were comfortable putting it that low on your list. I know most people would fucking kill us right now for saying the shit we're saying about Marvel, but
when people hear like by next ones, they're gonna be like, "How the fuck was that? You like that better?" Like it's stupid. Like my number 9 is hilarious compared to what Avengers Endgame was.
That's the one thing I always try to say on Addiction Gaming more than anything is, and I think a lot of people lose the track of this. They probably don't care as much about us because we're a small channel, a small podcast, but. On Giant Bomb, I see it a lot, especially like, how the fuck does this your game of the year when this game came out and this game came out and this game came out? It's like you forget that these lists are 100% subjective. And
exactly. Yeah.
It's our opinions. So like, I don't give a shit how many millions of people love Star Wars and Marvel. There's other better movies that came out this year.
Right.
At least in my opinion. So anyway, speaking of Star Wars, not to shit on them because I really do love Star Wars and I love Marvel stuff, but I'm starting to get tired of it. But that is the reason I think why Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, is number 10 on my list.
That's so funny. Our 10s are like a lot of people's ones. Probably.
Yeah, I'm sure there's people listening to this right now just screaming at me.
Like losing their minds,
But to me, okay, so I'm not going to go into it because we could literally, at some point, I think I do want to have a Star Wars podcast. Like not like a whole thing, but just like an episode where we talk about it.
That'd be cool.
Because I have some pretty complicated feelings on Star Wars, especially with The Last Jedi, because it literally took me a year or more to come around on that. Because when did that movie come out? Was that last year or 2017?
The Last Jedi?
Yeah, let me look it up here. And see.
I think it was 17. So I think it's been every other year. I'm pretty sure.
Years. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, December 15th, 2017. So it's just been over a year now, or 2 years now. I never was in the camp of hating Last Jedi, but I would have ranked it lower in my list. For whatever reason, going back in this last month and rewatching all 8 episodes leading up to Rise of Skywalker, I have done a complete 180 on Last Jedi to where I love it so much now that it's in my top 5.
I thought it was great.
It's fucking great. Like, I literally don't know. I think it's like I've grown so distant from Star Wars at this point. I think it's almost helped me contextualize Last Jedi a little bit better. Like, it was a nice breath of fresh air to a franchise that needed it. Yeah. And I don't give a fuck who's listening to this and who says that. Last Jedi is a great movie, and go fuck yourself if your time spent on the internet is bashing this movie and hating Rian Johnson. Like, find another fucking hobby. So that's Rise of Skywalker is I'm not going to rant about Last Jedi. I literally could I could film 2 hours of me just like fucking getting pissed about Last Jedi. But Rise of Skywalker was more of a fun movie to me than a good movie. It wasn't bad by any means,
Right.
but there was a lot of fan service. Aaron put it the best. I'm not going to give any spoilers because I would never do that, but
Mhm.
he put it the best when he says about 45 minutes in this movie, it's like somebody accidentally pushed fast forward, and
Yeah.
it felt like they just were pushing really hard for certain things to happen. They were like trying to
Right.
fit a
Knowing that
lot.
like this is the last movie, like we
Yes.
got to cram everything into
So
this shit.
it also felt to me like J.J. Abrams was trying to wipe away the Ryan Johnson era of Star
Yeah.
Wars there for a little bit of this movie, but
Yeah.
I
They were
digress.
fighting themselves.
It was a
Yeah.
good enough movie to make my top 10. I didn't watch as many movies as I would have liked to this year, but Rise of Skywalker is my number 10. It still made my top 10 because I'm always going to love Star Wars, but it's not going to get higher than number 10 on my list for me this year. So what is your number 9?
One thing I'll say about The Last Jedi
Yeah, sure.
before moving on
Yeah.
is my buddy Grayson is probably the biggest Star Wars fan I know.
Mm-hmm.
Last Jedi is literally his favorite one,
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
which is why I was like, "You're the only one in existence." I think.
Yeah,
But I
for
respect
sure.
the shit out of that
Oh,
because I
yeah.
loved it too. It was different. So,
Mm-hmm.
but so my number 9, a hard turn from the Avengers Endgame, is a movie that Tiff actually got for Christmas because we went and saw this together. Have you ever heard of 5 Feet Apart?
I haven't, I don't think.
It is a movie about
Let me look this up here.
oh shit, cystic fibrosis.
So it looks
that-
like it has Cole Sprouse or Dylan Sprouse.
Cole
one of the
Sprouse.
Sprouse?
Yep.
Okay.
Cole Sprouse is in it. I think I need to look this. Is it cystic fibrosis now that you're looking at it?
Yes, it says a pair of teenagers with cystic fibrosis meet in a hospital and fall in love though their disease means they must avoid close physical contact.
Right.
Okay.
Because basically, I didn't know a whole lot about cystic fibrosis before the movie, but yeah, it's like you're very contagious. You're very vulnerable to a lot of different sicknesses. Like your immune system is just basically non-existent.
Yeah.
So there are 2 teenagers. It's him and the girl who are in this hospital together, and he's like she's had it for a while, and she's like very dedicated to her treatments. Like you have to be on top of it all the time, and like best case scenario when you do this, like a lot of people like might see 35, 40 years old. Like it's not great when this stuff happens, but like she's very dedicated to her treatments and like trying her hardest, and she actually has like a YouTube channel in the movie where she makes vlogs like talking about her experiences and stuff. And then Cole Sprouse's character is like I think he's like newly diagnosed or something like that, and he's like, what the fuck's the point, like why should I take this, like it doesn't matter, and like, it's like that's that whole of like her making him come around, and it's just like it's a beautiful movie. Cole Sprouse isn't the best actor in it. That's probably our biggest gripe of it, but like it's a very good, powerful, like it's a great movie. And like the girl in the movie, she kills her parts. Like she's fantastic in it. When Tiff and I saw in theaters, like at the end of it, I was just like, whoa, that was like an emotional roller coaster. I was like turned over to Tiff to say something, and like just the light of the movie theater just glistening with tears. Like she'll tell you, she's like I was half a second away from like audibly like ugly sobbing in the middle of the movie theater because of like this movie, which like it's a really good, powerful movie, which is hysterical that a movie like a super sad movie like that I thought was better than Endgame.
Yeah, that's
I did.
You know, you're allowed to like what you want to like. Never lose sight of that. That's almost like if Adrian Gaming had a mission statement or a motto, you're allowed to like whatever you want to like.
Hell yeah.
Honestly, I think that's what it is. But honestly, I think I only know who the Sprouse brothers are from Big Daddy and Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. I haven't seen Riverdale, and I haven't seen any of their newer
Tiff
stuff.
also loves that.
I need to watch Riverdale. I've been told by no less than 100 people that I would love Riverdale, so I need to check it out.
So Tiff will talk to you about that. And if you do get into it, she bought Riverdale Clue actually.
Oh fuck yeah! All right. Well, I'm gonna add that to my 2020 resolutions list then to watch Riverdale. All right. So my number 9. Speaking of, your movie was like a really heavy movie, so now we move to the opposite end of the spectrum. It's kind of a lighthearted movie. I refer to this movie as the Superbad of 2019. My number 9 is Booksmart. It's basically Superbad, but with 2 female characters. And Superbad had some serious parts to it, but I think this movie has even more. It tackles like LGBT issues. It tackles like obviously like the typical high school romantic comedy stuff of like growing up and this is our senior year. Like, are we still going to be friends this time next year? And it falls into those stereotypes, but it also does so much more with them because of the LGBT stuff, and it has a lot of really important stuff to say. But just as much it's just as funny as Superbad, if you ask me. It's got a lot of heart, a lot of comedy in it. Would highly recommend Booksmart to anybody who likes. I wouldn't even call it a dumb comedy, even though there is some really just dumb, funny stuff in it. But I would put it under that umbrella of like just stupid, fun comedy movies, and that just happens to have a lot of heart and a lot to say.
Yeah, Superbad's one of the best of all time. So
honestly,
comparing it to that, it's worth watching.
It's the female Superbad. That's the way I'm always going to look at it. So, all right, what is your next one?
So my number 8 is one of four movies that we saw in theaters together this year.
Yeah, hell yeah.
My number 8 is Zombieland 2.
Hell yeah, that was a really enjoyable movie.
Very good, very fun, like you were saying, like not better than the first one, but I don't think I expected it to be all these years later.
The sequel problem is it's at least the way it's what else could you the audience reaction to that movie is so baffling to me, and I'd be lying if I said it was the first time it happened this year with a movie.
Right.
But what the fuck else did you want from a Zombieland 2?
Exactly.
We got the whole cast back. Like they could have easily, because like I don't know if you remember, Amazon was making a Zombieland TV show at one point, and it didn't even have the original cast in it. They put out a pilot episode of that show. I don't even know if it's out there anymore. I need to find that.
I was gonna say
there's one part of that pilot that it's fucking sucked. I'm gonna be the first to say that pilot fucking sucked because it had nothing to do. It was set in the same world, Zombieland. Yeah. The only part of that pilot that made me laugh was there was like these two guys having like this serious conversation in an office, and there was like this, how offices have like those huge open windows sometimes, like the panes of windows. There's just like a guy running away from a zombie in the background of this entire conversation, like just running and screaming, and it's so faint and so distant, like the audience knows what's going on, but the two guys talking are so oblivious to it. But then so that's what I'm saying is like we got a sequel to a really unique movie. Like the zombie genre has been oversaturated for a very long time. And I'm not going to say that Zombieland reinvented the wheel, but it did a lot of fun things that movies weren't doing at the time when it came out, like 2008, 2009, whenever it came out.
Yeah, that's one of the funniest movies, like the first time watching it, I think ever.
Yeah,
like it didn't have as much staying power for me as far as being funny, but like the first time I watched that movie, it was so damn good.
It delivered as much as a Zombieland sequel could in 2019. All these years later, it could. I think it did the best it could with what they were given.
Right. I walked out of the theater happy and satisfied at that movie because I think it's all about the expectations going into it. Of like, I'm not ready for like the most groundbreaking story I've ever seen in my life. I'm not ready for like even necessarily like the best acting I've ever seen, or like it to not be cheesy. Like it's Zombieland. Yeah. It's Zombieland 2. Whatever you picture that, I feel like Zombieland 2 did a pretty good job of that, and it was a fun movie. So
it was basically everything I could have ever wanted in a Zombieland sequel. I'm actually mad I forgot to put that somewhere in my honorable mentions, but it would be an honorable mention movie for me for sure.
Right.
All right, my number 8 is Jordan Peele's second movie, Us. I did not like this movie as much as Get Out, but it had a lot of really important social commentary, as Jordan Peele stuff does. And Get Out to me is always going to be a superior movie, but Us was very, very enjoyable. It sort of fell apart.
The trailer creeped me the fuck out.
It's a
very don't get me, but that one did.
Yeah, so Get Out in a way was also very different, but I feel like Us was even more different from what the trailer portrayed it to be. It goes off the fucking rails in the best possible way. It kind of falls apart towards the end for me. It lost me a little bit near the end, which is why I didn't rank it higher. I've only seen it twice. I watched it once in theaters and once at home. And I need to revisit it in 2020 and see if I still feel the same way about it. But I love Jordan Peele. I love what he did with the Twilight Zone reboot. Get Out is now one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I'm very curious to see what he works on next after this. But yeah, Us is my number 8.
Oh, yeah. My number 7 was a movie, I think, outside of the second most recent movie I've seen on the list here. Number 7 for me was Last Christmas that Tiff and I saw probably about a month ago. I think it was in November. It's Emilia Clarke's new movie with the guy from Crazy Rich Asians. I don't remember what his Henry something I want to say. I can't remember, but it's just like on the surface it looks like it's going to be like really leaning in towards like the Christmas rom-com. but I don't think it's not as much the rom as it is more of like the comedy and just like a movie in the Christmas like setting sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it was really cool seeing Emilia Clarke because she's like my favorite. She's like my fucking favorite person,
Yeah.
especially as far as actresses.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
mean, Daenerys from Game of Thrones, if you don't know for
Oh,
sure. But
absolutely. Yeah.
it was cool seeing her. She's just such a fun, like quirky, weird person,
Mm-hmm.
and like she just kills it as doing that in this movie. And it's just it had like a twist that like I think Tiff and I were like literally the only people that didn't see coming because I
Yeah.
wasn't thinking about it. But like if you just think of the song Last Christmas, like it's there, it's right there. But it was a really good, fun movie, and her mom in the movie, I never remember who plays her, is just like it's always the side like supporting secondary characters are always the funniest in these type of movies, and she
Mm-hmm.
was fantastic in it.
Yeah.
Like she plays like someone who's from Czechoslovakia, I think,
Okay.
living in London. So like she grew up there, but like her family's like
Oh,
Czech
okay.
or something.
Okay.
And like her mom is just like from the homeland, and she's just so fucking funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good, fun movie. I liked it
Nice.
a lot.
We really want to watch it when it comes out for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so my number 7, we already talked about it. Avengers Endgame is my number 7.
Oh yeah.
I felt personally that Avengers Endgame did a really good job of wrapping up whatever phase
Yeah.
of the Marvel thing that they're on. You know, it was
Right.
fine. It didn't absolutely blow me away the way it did other people. And there's not much more to say about it other than that. I don't fucking swoon over Marvel and Star Wars the way I used
Right.
to, so take that with a grain of salt, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But
It looked cool. The effects and all
the
that.
effects
Fantastic.
and stuff, and the scene where they all fight and get together and stuff.
Oh yeah.
I'm hesitant to give spoilers, even though it's been out since fucking like what, June maybe, May or June. I fucking don't even remember when Avengers
Something
came
like
out at
that,
this
yeah.
point. Let me look this up here.
I was about to say.
Let's see, April. Jesus,
April might have
God
been.
Damn, it literally
That's a
feels
long
like
time.
5 years ago.
Right.
So yeah, I really liked Avengers Endgame, but that's where I feel comfortable putting it on my list. So what is your next one on your list?
God, I googled it too. That movie made fucking almost $2.8 billion.
Yep, that's Marvel and Star Wars for you.
Fuck. Budget of 356 million.
Yep.
Jesus. Anyways, so we're on 6 now.
Mm-hmm.
6. Another movie that we saw together.
Yeah.
My number 6 was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Hell yeah, baby.
Which fucking awesome movie.
Oh man.
I think it's one of those movies that like while it's happening, I'm just like, oh fuck, this is gonna be good. Like they're gonna build up to this crazy thing, and then like sort of in the middle, I'm like, all right, what are we doing? Like what is this movie?
Yeah.
And then like a typical Tarantino, the last 20-30 minutes, you're like, oh shit, which definitely won't spoil that because Tarantino has his take on like that era and a certain event type of thing that happens. But it's just that Leonardo DiCaprio is, I think, the most talented actor in Hollywood. I'll say it. I'll put my stance with Leo.
Yeah.
And he's so good in that movie.
He's very, very good.
Oh my god. I don't even remember what this character's name was. Russ?
Rick Dalton.
Rick Dalton.
Yep.
Fucking old actor from the Wild West.
Yeah.
He's just a fucking horrid alcoholic.
Oh yeah.
Who's like staring down the barrel of like his career being done, and he's just like, oh my god, he's fantastic. Brad Pitt's a fucking weird joy in that movie, where it's like, what is this guy doing? He's kind of a psychopath in the best ways.
Yeah.
But it's Tarantino. It's probably, as far as Tarantino movies, probably middle of the road for me, the ones I've seen.
Well, not to spoil the later part of my list, I'm going to talk about where it's at on my list.
Shit.
It's pretty high up there, man, for me.
Oh, damn.
It's wow. I bought it recently. It came out digitally pretty recently.
I want to see it again. I've only seen that one time.
Here's the cool thing about it digitally is they re-released it. Tarantino re-released it to theaters, I think last month or the month before, like a director's cut with the deleted scenes put back in. So this version comes with the deleted scenes that were in theaters. So, and it has a bunch of special features. Like if you want to hear a specific song from the movie, there's literally a menu of just all the songs, and it plays that part of the movie that song is from. It also has like commercials that they made for the movie, like vintage commercials that never got used, like for the Red Apple cigarettes.
I was gonna say the Red Apples.
Yeah, like all that other stuff. Yeah, Tarantino is top 5 all-time directors for me. I'll talk about it a little bit later here in my later part of the list, but I'm happy you enjoyed it too.
It's so funny. Like, I was talking about it and remembering this movie. I think it's probably actually my number 5.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna end up slopping
yeah, yeah.
because that movie is so
It's so
good.
much. Well, I will say
Oh my
we haven't.
god.
It's a pretty long movie. It's like damn near 3 hours, especially with the
Yeah, like
deleted scenes
240
now.
or something.
But it literally, I think it's going to get better and better with every watch because there was stuff I
Yep.
forgot that happened.
There's
And there was
always
new
things you
stuff I
don't
noticed.
notice.
Yeah, so
Yep.
Tarantino's good for that for sure.
I think without spoilers in this, I think what threw me off from like the trailers is I thought a certain like infamous person in history was
Yes.
going to be in it more.
Well,
I think him not being there as much threw me off.
considering I just got done ranting about how much I like true crime, I don't think this is any big spoiler or shocker because he was in the trailer. But
Right.
Charles Manson was in this movie. They had a guy who played him,
Right.
and he did not get used. So I will say
I think it was just the one scene. I think.
he was literally he was in like I think maybe he came up again later in the movie. I
Mm-hmm.
think it was twice he was in that movie. There was like one
Yeah.
scene where he actually talked, and then he was in it later. I was very disappointed with that as well, and literally that might have been one of the only big issues I had with this movie. Is I love that area of Hollywood or era of Hollywood, and
Oh yeah.
it's like it's fascinating to me. I'd love to like if anybody out there is listening to this, if you know any good books about that era of Hollywood, please leave them in the comments below
Mm-hmm.
because I want to learn more about it. But
Yeah.
the Sharon Tate and the just that
Oh
whole
yeah.
the golden age of Hollywood stuff. But
Yeah.
all right, so my number 6, which is the number we're on, I think, yeah. You talked about having watched the first movie in this series for the first time this year. Well, this is the third movie in this series that came out this year that I absolutely adored. John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum.
I
Is
forgot
my
that
number
came out
6.
this year.
Fucking, oh my god. Keanu Reeves has had such a renaissance as an actor.
He's such a gem now.
And
he's
he's so like, and I hate it because I've loved him all along. Like, I'm not the biggest Matrix fan, but damn near every other movie I've seen with Keanu and I have loved. I literally go back as far as like 2001's Hardball, which is the base.
That's so weird you just said that. Hardball is the name I was about to drop.
The
Of
baseball
his
movie
most like
that
underrated.
he did. Yeah,
That's
it's so
such a fucking good
it's
movie.
so fucking good. Like I've
Oh
been a
my
Keanu
God.
fan since I was literally a kid. Like I think the reason why I don't like The Matrix as much is
Although when you
because
call me Big
Papa, throw your hands in the
Hands in
air
the
if you're a true player. G baby,
Oh,
rest in peace, G baby. But
oh man.
no, yeah, The Matrix is a weird movie for me because it came out in 1999 and I was fucking 8 years old, so I
Right.
didn't see it until I was like in middle school, which is later. And I feel like we saw so many movies growing up that copied The Matrix that going back and trying to watch the movie that they were inspired by is weird. I think that's weird for anybody with any movie
Yeah.
or anything. So to me, like I wouldn't call The Matrix bad or generic, but that's the way it like my mind processes it because it's like, oh, I've seen this storyline now 100 times in other forms.
Right.
So the fact that Keanu Reeves is back in the spotlight and he's an amazing actor. I mean, he's I guess not an amazing actor, but he's a good action actor, like a good But John Wick Chapter 3 was an amazing movie. The whole John Wick series. If you love action movies, you need to watch them.
Definitely will be getting to that because I have. Tiff and I didn't buy the third one on Black Friday when we were at Best Buy because we saw online that Walmart had it cheaper, and then we get to fucking Walmart and it wasn't on sale.
Oh,
It's like,
fuck.
God damn it. So we still need to get the third one, but I have the second one, and we definitely have been wanting to watch it
Yeah.
because the first one was fantastic.
Yep.
My number 5, which I think is actually my number 6. We're just gonna pretend like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was number 5.
Yeah.
If not number 4,
Yeah.
it's fucking crawling up this list as I keep talking.
But Alex's number 1 this year was Once
Number
Upon a Time in
1.
Hollywood.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, yeah. But my number 5 is Star Wars, which
Nice.
aka number 6 actually now. But yeah, like I said, as being a neutral Star Wars like fan, I'll see all of them. I've genuinely liked every single one of them. Like Attack of the Clones is definitely the worst one, but I haven't seen it since I was little.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was little, I fucking loved it because it was Star Wars. Like it couldn't help but be cool. Like I think it's like with Game of Thrones, and I fall on the negative side of that, where like when you love something so much, you get very meticulous and like almost nitpicky on a lot of stuff, and
Very
like you
critical.
you don't let anything go.
Yeah.
Like you can't, no grains of salt, no looking the other way. Like you're just very into it. I respect that about Star Wars fans, and like I said, without being as invested, I almost can't even speak on like the validity of the movie in terms of the trilogy and as like the whole like saga as a whole, like all that. Like it's just the movie itself. The fast forward thing made a lot of sense. because they were like, all right, we're moving right along here because this is it. This is the last movie. We've got a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah.
But when I watched Star Wars, like the music was amazing. The like cinematography. There you go. There's the word.
That's it.
Yeah. The lightsaber battles, like the action, all that was great. Like it felt like a Star Wars movie still, which I just think Star Wars is cool. It's not my favorite. I'm not gonna lose my mind over it, but I just thought it was a good movie.
Very solid.
Fun, so,
a worthy entry. All of them can be nitpicked apart. I even like a Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones for different reasons. Phantom Menace is great. Like Attack of the Clones. Yeah, people shit on Phantom Menace way too much. Attack of the Clones almost deserves it. There's still some cool parts. There's still some cool parts in Attack of the Clones, but Phantom Menace does not deserve all the hate it gets.
No.
All right, so, fuck. My number 5.
Yes.
The Fast and Furious franchise is my favorite action movie franchise of all time. We covered this on our top 10 action movies list, which if you go back and look on the YouTube channel, I believe it's archived on one of the more recent streams we did. This was not my favorite Fast and Furious franchise movie, but it's like a middle of the road one just because of how much I like the other ones. But that did not keep me from absolutely loving this movie this year. One of the 4 movies that I saw with you and Tiff in theaters this year. My number 5 is Hobbs and Shaw. Now, I know there's people who are probably listening to this. The fact that I ranked Hobbs and Shaw above Avengers and Star Wars, there's people who are going to probably unfollow this channel for this reason.
Oh, they're going to be pissed at me.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
I saw it in theaters. My top 10 are movies I've seen in theaters, and I haven't talked about it yet. So it's higher than what you had.
I was gonna say, so yeah, it's in your top 4. It's my definition of an action movie that is just plain dumb fun. They're really starting to embrace the dumbassness in these later movies. Well, like I know a lot of people, like Billy especially, like he fucking hates The Rock for no reason. Which shout out to Billy, shout out to Billy from X Arsenal, but I can't.
Shout out to Billy, he can go fuck himself.
Yeah, shout out to Billy, fuck you and your dumbass. But for this dumbass opinion you have about The Rock for some reason, Billy, let's just pretend it's me and you here for a minute. Let some joy into your life. Let Dwayne The Rock Johnson be the light in your life, because to me, ever since Moana, I mean, I've loved The Rock for a long time. I've loved him since days of watching him as a WWF wrestler. I loved watching him just in all the movies he's been in, but his character in Moana is what really made me realize I fucking love this guy.
Maui's so fun.
He's just and The Rock is such a good guy. I don't understand how you could hate this man. I understand being mad at the Fast and Furious franchise for turning into more of instead of about the cars, it's about the heists and about the dumb over the top action set pieces now. But Hobbs and Shaw's fucking fantastic. I don't care who knows it. But it's my number 5 for the year. So let's get down into the nitty gritty of it here. What is your number 4 movie of 2019?
Oh, my number 4. I almost forgot that this even came out this year because it was a long time ago. I'm trying to see the release here. But I think it was very early in the year. I don't know. I can't find. Oh, well, I guess it wasn't that. It was May 31st, so not actually that early. But it feels like 30 years ago now. All of a sudden, my number 4 is Godzilla, King of Monsters, because I think thinking about how I was going to talk about this movie made me realize I think where I ranked a lot of these movies, it's all relative to what I expected going into that movie. Endgame, very neutral, not super invested. I thought it was fine. But I didn't have a big stake in the movie of what I thought was going to happen. Same with Star Wars. I didn't really care. I thought it was really good, right in the middle, number 5 out of 10. That's where I'm usually going to find most of them. But Godzilla movies, especially these new ones, they are by far, I will never call them good or great movies. But fuck if they don't look amazing.
Oh,
and they're not exactly what I go into a Godzilla movie expecting some big set pieces, some stuff exploding, and at least a solid hour and 10 minutes of on-screen giant, amazing, cool monsters just either fuck each other up or fucking up an entire city. And this one was really, really good because I think it's related to. It's not a sequel to the Bryan Cranston one.
Yeah.
But I think they're setting it up to sort of be in the same universe as like
Kong Skull Island, yeah.
yeah, Skull Island, because like Monarch's in it and like they reference it in both. There's that the Godzilla versus Kong is supposed to come out in 2020, I think.
That's what I heard. I have not. I've seen Kong Skull Island. I've seen the Bryan Cranston
Love that
Godzilla,
movie.
but I have not seen Godzilla King of the Monsters. So I need to change that and watch it.
I'll say I own it on Blu-ray now, so if you, I think
Okay.
I bought it on Black Friday actually. So it's
Nice.
just it's a good fun movie, and it's just Ghidorah's in it, and it's just like I said, it's just Godzilla being a badass forever, and
For sure.
that'll always be cool to me. So I used to watch those. Godzilla 2 goes back to even with like my grandma and grandpa, like
Oh,
watching the old movies on black and white when I was over there, and then my dad being into it, and like I actually loved the Matthew Broderick movie in 2000.
Yeah, yeah.
That was really fun. Like Godzilla's just weirdly always been super cool to me.
I saw that movie in theaters with my parents, the 2000 Broderick one.
Oh, nice. I think I might saw it at the drive-in or something.
Yeah, we went to like the New Philly Theater or something to see that one when I was a kid.
Okay.
I remember it just scared the shit out of me because it's just Godzilla's just so massive in that movie.
Right.
But no, that's awesome. Like I said, hey, like what you want to like. If you want to rank Godzilla as your #1 movie of the year, fucking go for it. Doesn't matter what the critics say. All right, so on the opposite end of the spectrum, from goofy over-the-top action movies to a very, like, I guess not artsy, like, independent movie. Probably the only one of those I saw this year that I would put really high up on my list. Literally, I'm going to say this 100 times between now and the end of my life, but I like it when things transcend being media and become an experience. Mm-hmm. And to me, I have not stopped thinking about this movie from the day that I saw it. I went after work one day because Christa had no interest in seeing this movie with me. And I can't blame her. I'm still trying to get her to watch it with me, but I can't blame her because after I described the entire plot to her, she was like, oh, fuck no, I don't want anything to do with this.
Oh, fuck that.
My #4 is The Lighthouse, which is the Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe black and white horror movie that came out this year. Seeing that movie by myself in a theater with maybe 3 other people in it was one of the most surreal and transcending experiences that I've ever had in my entire life. It took me to a different level of movies. It was so raw and uncomfortable. And I don't remember, besides the next movie on my list, which is my #3, these 2 movies challenged me this year more than I think anything has in the last 5 years. I refuse to tell you anything more about it other than if you have, I'm not even talking just to Alex at this point, I'm talking about anybody listening. If you have any interest in The Lighthouse whatsoever, don't watch any trailers if you haven't seen any already. Don't read anything about it. Just watch it.
Just go do it.
It's an experience. Robert Pattinson is kind of like Keanu Reeves, where he's having this renaissance as an actor. Yeah. He's come so far from his Twilight days, and he's become a really, really great actor. And Willem Dafoe in it literally is just like a modern day, like cross between like a pirate / really like a New England sailor. And he plays the part so fucking well. It's just, God, it's such a good fucking movie. And and the fact that it's in black and white and it feels old timey, like the opening credits,
like aesthetic and experience.
It's, if you didn't know any better and if you didn't know who the actors were, it could play as an old time movie for sure.
Hell yeah!
All right,
I think I know what that was your #3.
That was my #4. Yep.
4. I think I know what your #3 is because that's what I thought you were about to say, and then you said it's a lot like my #3. So.
Yep, I think you know what my #3 is. Yep.
Yeah. So my #3 is one you just got done talking about. Hobbs and Shaw. That movie fucking kicks so much ass.
It kicks so much ass. The Rock pulls a fucking helicopter down with a goddamn chain. I don't want to hear.
He grew up there himself.
Case closed.
That's not amazing.
I sell the Fast and Furious franchise on one line alone. It's when The Rock flexes his fucking way out of a cast and says, Daddy's got to go to work. If you listen to that, if that doesn't put the biggest goofy ass smile on your face, find your fucking pulse because you don't have a heart, motherfucker.
Exactly.
The Rock pulls a fucking helicopter down by a goddamn chain in Hobbs and Shaw. If that doesn't appeal to you, then you're not a movie goer. That's a popcorn movie through and through.
Yeah, and dudes with fucking like sticks and bone weapons essentially fight like a privatized military unit with bombs and explosives and shit, and they're just fine.
It's so stupid, and I love it.
It really is.
I can't be mad if anybody calls it stupid, but my God, it's just so good.
He just elbows a badass in that. Him and Jason Statham, like the Rock and Statham, work so fucking well together. They have such a good
chemistry together. It's like
oh my God, they really
how good they were. They work off each other so well.
What are the the Fast and Furious were the first Statham movies I actually ever saw.
Yeah.
What was like his Driver? Is it literally called Driver?
No, so I don't know if you're thinking of the same one that I am, but the movie that introduced me to Jason Statham was called Crank.
Crank. You know,
Um,
he's like a driver,
he's
like action guy in a lot of movies, right?
he is like he's got like The Mechanic is another one that he's in.
Okay.
Crank is fucking amazing, and it's a dumb movie too, but like
Hmm.
he's on adrenaline, and he's got like this thing in his heart where like it's kind of like the movie Speed. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Speed with Keanu Reeves and
Oh
Sandra
yeah,
Bullock, where
great
if the
movie.
bus goes below 60 miles an
It,
hour,
it
it'll
blows up.
explode. So
Yeah.
imagine that applied to a human, and that's what Crank is.
Oh shit.
If his heart doesn't keep at a certain beat, he has to keep his adrenaline up or else he'll die.
Damn.
So at one point in that movie, he literally fucks his like girlfriend or wife or whatever in the middle of the street, like in public, to get his adrenaline up. Then
Jesus.
later he's in the hospital in a hospital gown. He shocks himself with the paddles, and then
Oh my
he
god.
runs out of the hospital wearing nothing but the gown, gets on a crotch rocket and does a wheelie, and his hospital gown goes flying open, so you see Jason Statham's bare ass on this crotch rocket.
Hell yeah.
You need to watch Crank. Everybody out there, if you like
I'm
Jason
about to leave
Statham,
this call right now and
yeah,
watch this movie.
seriously, go watch it if you can. It's stupid fun, just like Hobbs and Shaw is.
Oh my god. But like Hobbs and Shaw and the Fast and Furious movies lately, and
Yeah.
then like the Meg was such like a dumb, goofy,
I
funny
still haven't
movie
seen
too.
that one yet. I need to watch it.
Oh my god. Tiff and I watched it the other day for the second time.
Yeah.
It's right up there. It's very stupid and fun.
Yeah.
Like quirky and like cheesy one-liners. Like Statham's just perfect for that. But
Yeah.
yeah, Hobbs and Shaw. There's nothing much. I mean, if you've seen literally any Fast and Furious movie,
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those, but only with the two of them in it. Like that's pretty much. It's so fucking funny and good.
It's
I
so
love
good.
it.
It's very good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So my number 3. I don't know how many of you out there saw Hereditary, but
Mm-hmm.
it is an anxiety attack in movie form. At least it was to me. I very rarely do horror movies ever bother me anymore because I started watching them when I was 5 years old. My dad started me out with Friday the 13th and Halloween when I was 5 years old. Now, you might say that was a bad parenting decision, and it might have been. It very well could have been. It's fine. It's fine if you think it is.
Who's to say?
But who's to say? But just like I have Ben to thank for introducing me to Giant Bomb, I have my dad to thank me for getting me into horror movies because it's my favorite genre of movie. I absolutely love them. So I watch a ton of horror movies, needless to say, and a lot of them are pretty throwaway stuff, like pretty goofy, cheesy stuff. So when I see a genuinely good horror movie, I obsess over it for a really long time, and that's what Hereditary was when it came out. I rarely ever am vocal during movies, but I was not only like saying oh fuck this over and over again during Hereditary. I was literally pacing in my apartment in a circle around the front of the TV. Not so much like to like get away from the movie. I was like, I can't sit still and watch this at the same time right now. I need to be moving. So Ari Aster, I don't know how to say it, the director, that was his very first movie. Imagine like he basically did what Jordan Peele did with horror movies, whenever he made it out. Crushed it right out of the gate. So I was very hesitant because Us came out earlier this year. So I was curious what would Ari Aster's second horror movie be like. So Midsummer is my number 3. I think I like it. I like it even better than I liked Hereditary, to be honest with you. It's a little bit longer. It's a little bit more drawn out. But the only thing
is it a sequel to Hereditary, or is it just another movie by this director?
Supposedly, it takes place in the same universe. I don't know if I sent you that picture a while back that supposedly proves it, but there's a part in Hereditary where the mom and dad or something are like outside of this store, and if you look in Midsummer, you can see the backs of those people's heads from Hereditary just standing there outside of the same spot.
Oh shit!
So like supposedly these movies they're connected in that way, but the director
it's like almost happening at the same time.
So maybe the third movie's going to tie it all together. Nobody knows yet, and the director refuses to comment on it because he's been pretty mysterious about them. But Midsummer is the only thing I'm going to say is it's just like The Lighthouse. I don't want you to know much about it going into it if you would ever decide to watch it, you or anybody else listening. It's the only horror movie I've ever seen that managed to make daytime scary. It is the only horror movie I've seen that takes place primarily in the daytime because they're in another country, which I am blanking on which country they're in, but it's one of the ones where there's not much nighttime. So when they sleep in this movie, they have to like pull these like blinds over these like windows because they can't sleep because there's so much light. So yeah, it's literally, it's so hard to recommend to like the casual moviegoer because I knew going into Midsummer, like this movie's gonna probably fuck me up. And sure enough, I saw it back in July, and I saw Spider-Man the same day right after it, which made Spider-Man was such a nice palate cleanser after Midsummer. But Midsummer, it fucked me up for months, man. I could not. I still think about it, and there's a director's cut of it out now that I watched whenever it came out, and it's even better. And it's just, it's up there with Get Out as just like a modern horror masterpiece. It's so good, and everything it does, it keeps you on the edge the entire time. You never know what's coming next. It's so beautifully shot and directed and written and just everything. It's fucking amazing. I cannot recommend it enough.
Sweden's where they go. It
yes.
I was just looking it up.
Supposedly,
it came out on my brother's birthday.
Yeah. So, that's Midsummer, and it's spelled Midsommar. Midsummer.
Hell yeah. Top 2, huh, bud?
Man, we are an hour and 59 minutes into this podcast, and we have not even covered
games.
We have not music and games. We still have left over. So.
I will say this: my games. I have played very few individual games this year between. My channel and a lot of other stuff of what I've been playing, so that one might not be as fast as on my side.
It's sad that we are a game channel and our smallest part of this podcast is probably going to be about the games, but hey, here we are.
For real. So my number 2 was one of your honorable mentions.
Yeah.
My number 2 was actually Detective Pikachu.
I know you liked it a lot more than I did. I
love that movie.
Yeah,
oh my god.
Yeah.
Like everything you had said, like wanting to see a live action Pokemon movie like growing up, I thought would have been like the coolest thing.
Yeah.
And they nailed it. Like some of them look really weird and I'm like, I don't know about you, Mr. Mime, I'm looking at you. But I thought for like a kids movie, the plot was actually pretty cool. Like it had some like twists and stuff. Like you didn't really necessarily know where it was going, and like it kind of pulled the rug on you in a little bit in like fun ways that I thought were pretty good. And just all the Pokemon themselves just looked really cool. It's a fun movie. Ryan Reynolds is a gem as always. He's really good in it. I don't know. I mean, Charizard looked amazing. Charizard's like the big bad, which of course he is, because why wouldn't he be?
Yeah.
It's just not much to say. I highly recommend. If you liked Pokemon at all, especially a lot when you were younger, you'll just like the nostalgia points this thing will hit you with. Like, there's not as many of like the newer Pokemon in it, so they know their audience are gonna mostly know the Gen 1 stuff. So there's some other ones in there, like later ones that only like the more hardcore fans would know.
Yeah.
Like even who they are and stuff like that. But it's just a really good, fun movie that like I remember I was laughing at myself when we saw it in theaters because like in the same row I was sitting at, there was like probably an 8-year-old with his dad like talking at the beginning of the movie, and I looked over at Tiff. I was like, "Kid won't stop talking." And then like I took a step back myself, and I was like, "You're in theaters to see a Pokemon movie right now.
Yeah.
Like, there's probably going to be a lot of kids in here.
Yeah.
So like, if there's a movie to not," and I was like, "You know what? That's fine. Good for you, kid. I hope you love it as much as I do."
That's awesome.
So, but yeah, Detective Pikachu is my number 2. I loved it.
So my number 2, it was on your list a lot lower.
This is hilarious because we have the same number 1. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, yeah, I think we do for sure. My number 2, it's been talked about. So this is like my Detective Pikachu. Like it's the one that you liked a lot more than I did. So I think I like this movie even more than you did. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is my number 2 from this year.
Yes.
It is not only my number 2 on this list, but I think it is my number 2 Tarantino movie of all time behind Pulp Fiction.
Oh, damn.
I absolutely adore this movie.
Okay. It might be my 4.
From top to bottom, DiCaprio and Pitt, and it's just... This movie feels like it was made for me in some ways. Like just the choices that Tarantino made. He did everything that I wanted him to do for his own kind of movie. And then there's just all kinds of weird little quirks that like just made it feel like it was made for me. Like Kevin Smith's daughter, Harley Quinn Smith, is in this movie as one of like the like cult girls, like Charlie Manson's cult girls. And like, it's, I won't ramble on about it because I don't want this to turn into a 4-hour podcast, but I could legitimately probably talk about how much I like this movie just for one episode of this whole podcast. But
Margot Robbie's amazing in it
all
too.
Right, so let's do something here. On the count of 3, we're both going to say our number 1 movie of the year. And we'll go on go. We won't go on 1. We'll go on go.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go. Knives Out.
Knives Out.
Yep.
100%.
That's the number 1 movie. That's the number 1 movie of this year. We saw that one together.
Oh my god.
And it's It's if you would have asked me at the beginning of this year, what's your favorite movie of the year going to be, I would have said Avengers or Star Wars or John Wick or something.
Right.
The fact that this Tarantino movie and Midsummer and The Lighthouse and Knives Out are my top four, it shows you that 2019 was a dumpster fire of a year for a lot of people, I think, but
Yeah.
we really did get some good movies, and Knives Out was the best one this year.
Right. It was. We can just like co-talk about this. I guess we both have it.
It was like Clue brought to life. It was like Chris and I used to act. We used to be actors in our community theater, and I think she did like 12 or 13 plays. I think I did like 14 or 15 of them in our entire career doing that. And a lot of what we did was these murder mystery dinner theaters where people would pay $25 and they would watch us act out, and we'd get involved with the audience and stuff. And this movie felt like that brought to life in a way. It was in the same way that Ready or Not was like Clue meets You're Next. It's I feel like Knives Out like blew Ready or Not out of the water. They're not the same plot and type of movie, but they were like kind of the same vibe. Like Ready or Not wasn't a murder mystery, but it kind of had that Clue vibe, like the ensemble of characters in one house for the whole movie.
Yeah.
And Knives Out like didn't have that exactly, but that was like the primary location was the house where the grandfather gets
like 80% of it is right there. Yeah.
Just from top to bottom, it's Rian Johnson is such a fantastic director. The hate that he gets from The Last Jedi is so unwarranted because people forget that he made Looper, which is a great movie. He made Brick, which is a really great movie that I think you need to see and everybody needs to see. He's a fantastic director. He absolutely knocked it out of the park with Knives Out. Is there anything that you want to say about Knives Out that we haven't said already?
I think like the key to a movie like this, where it's like that Clue-esque murder mystery type of deal, is just to keep you guessing. I think there's literally 10 different times during that movie
where I thought I had it figured out.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I see where we're going, and then they just like, nope, not even close. And just the way, like, I want to watch it again to see if they like hinted at anything or if there's any like plot holes in it. But like while watching it the first time, like my live reaction was like, that was a perfectly like no holes. Like you can't punch any holes in this. Like they like the perfectly told story of how they did it. And I mean, Daniel Craig is so good as the detective guy, and like his whole like CSI KFC voice as Chris Evans' character tells him.
So perfect, yeah.
He just really, and like the girl, who plays the.
I'll look it up here for you. You can keep talking. I'll look it up here for you.
Because the story kind of runs through like the caretaker of the guy whose mansion, like he's the one who dies.
Christopher Plummer, which I tried to tell my family about this movie. They didn't really know the modern actors as much as we do. Like, of course, they knew who like Captain America and Jamie Lee Curtis and Daniel Craig were, but like we have an appreciation on a different level for like Michael Shannon and Toni Collette. I love her from Hereditary, and Lakeith Stanfield, as I mentioned before, from Atlanta and Sorry to Bother You. But my grandparents were like, "Oh, we love Christopher Plummer because he's been around for fucking 100 years, basically." So, her name is Ana de Armas. She played Marta.
Marta, yeah, she was incredible during this whole movie. Like, I don't know if this probably won't be like any Oscar award winning, but like she could be right up there with like the best performances of the year too. Like she just plays a scared like teenage girl who just doesn't know what's happening very well, and like it's not like a horror or like thriller movie at all, but like they have a lot of like emotions like that in this of like this guy died, like what the fuck happened, and like all the family members are just like pieces of shit in their own way, and they just like crush their roles of all that, and it's just the best like modern whodunit you could have. Like this is just an amazing. It has a
96 on Rotten Tomatoes for a reason. It's out of all those movies, even as much as I loved Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Midsummer, this was my perfect 10 movie of the year.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
It's
highly recommend.
If anybody has a problem with it, I'd be really interested in hearing your take on it. Like what problem you could have possibly found with this movie, because it's one of the few perfect movies I've seen in a very long time.
And it felt perfect. Like some movies, it takes you like a couple. Like, you know what, this is actually perfect. Like while watching it, I was like, this is the best.
It truly is just so perfect in every way.
Yeah.
All right, we've got 2 more categories left to go here. I'm gonna, like I said,
there's 2 left.
We're at 2 hours and 7 minutes in this podcast. So, sorry that this turned into such a long episode, but
this is gonna be a 3-hour boy.
This is why we couldn't do this before Border Boys. We have a lot to
No,
say.
the
It
stream
turns
would be
out.
over right now.
Yeah, the stream would literally be over. It'd be like, well, we didn't play any Borderlands, so go fuck
Yeah.
yourself, I guess. I don't know.
We stood around the ship for a while.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to go through my honorable mentions for music here pretty quick because I don't think that a
Okay.
lot of my viewers will know who some of these bands are. Some of them are big
Okay.
and some of them aren't, but I don't even know if you know who all these are. But all
Okay.
right, rarely I put this band on here. This would have been in my top 10 albums if it was an actual album, but it was just a 3-song EP that was released this year. Very rarely when Ben and I share music a lot, buddy Ben and I share music a lot, and very rarely do I find a band. I think in all the years I've known him, this band and maybe one or two other ones are the only ones I've ever showed him that he's truly loved. Me and you, on the other hand, we show each other something new every week. It feels like that we
Right.
love him. He's like, I have to earn it from him. You know what I mean? So there's a band years ago called Houndmouth that I found for Ben, and he really loves that band. So what just happened? Oh, okay, my Discord was acting weird for a minute. Um, this band is called Keep Flying. They opened a show for Real Friends, which is one of my favorite pop punk bands of all time. And I saw them live, and they were like the most energetic live opening band that I've ever seen, the way they opened the show for Real Friends. And I told you and Phil about them recently, so I hope you guys listen to them and see what you like about them. But they're like pop punk meets ska, so there's a lot of horns and trumpets and stuff. And I showed them to Ben, and he was just like, I didn't know I needed this band until I heard them. He's just because he likes ska a lot, and so but he's not the biggest pop punk fan. So for him to really really love this movie or this band was really surprising. So anyway, Keep Flying, one of the best bands out there, killing it in that genre right now. Other honorable mentions: Father of the Bride by Vampire Weekend, Dedicated by Carly Rae Jepsen. I honestly think I like Carly Rae Jepsen better than most like female pop stars at this point. Taylor Swift's always going to be my favorite though, but Carly Rae Jepsen's like higher up there for me now than like even Lady Gaga or Katy Perry, I think. Next album on my honorable mentions is the self-titled album from I guess not super group, but combines two of my favorite musicians. It's called Better Oblivion Community Center. It has Phoebe Bridgers, which is a really good artist that I recommend everybody check out. It's her and the former lead singer of the band called Bright Eyes named Connor Oberst. It is their project. It's really chill, like contemporary, like rock music. And highly recommend that if you want something a little bit different. Let's Rock by the Black Keys. I know a lot of people weren't hot on this album, Ben included, but I did like this a hell of a lot better than Turn Blue, which was their last album, which was my least favorite Black Keys album they've ever put out. Help Us Stranger by the Rack on Tours, which is one of Jack White's from the White Stripes side projects. We got to see them live over the summer, and that was an amazing show. Breathe by Tiny Moving Parts, one of my favorite pop punk bands, put out another really solid album this year. On the darker end of the spectrum, Death is a Warm Blanket by a band called Microwave. They are... I need to look them... Okay. I know when I listen to them, I like them, but they've changed their sound up a lot, and I'm curious to see what genre they're labeled under now. I guess alternative would be the best label. They're just an American rock band, according to Wikipedia, so thanks a fucking lot for that. But
yeah, thanks, guys.
Then Sound and Fury by Sturgill Simpson. Sturgill was on Joe Rogan earlier this year. And my friend Randy likes Sturgill Simpson's like country folk stuff more. So this album was like more of a bluesy rock album. And he actually put out a companion anime movie on Netflix to go with this album that I haven't seen yet that I've been meaning to watch. My last three on honorable mentions, I have Nothing Left to Love by Counterparts. They are one of my favorite metalcore bands of 2019. And this album just beats ass from top to bottom. Ginger by Brockhampton. They are known as the rap boy band. They have like 13 members in that band, or maybe less than that, like 10 or something. But really good, solid rap album. It's not their best. It's far from their best, but I did really still like it. And my final one is from one of my new favorite pop punk bands from 2019, Nella Vita by Grayscale. So those are my honorable mentions for 2019 for music.
Nice. I also didn't listen to a ton of, just like with movies, I didn't see a lot of brand new stuff this year. I didn't listen to a whole lot of brand new stuff. Like I kind of discovered some new things.
Yeah.
And then just in general listened to like a lot of, like this was like the year of me just becoming obsessed with like few people.
Yeah.
As far as people who didn't have any like 2019 releases, as far as I know of, Halsey definitely did not, but I've listened to so much Halsey this
She's
year.
so fucking
It's
good.
disgusting.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm obsessed with her. She has had some songs come out this year that her album's supposed to come out
2020, I
sometime in
think, right?
January.
Or so,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like within the month, I
It's gonna
think.
have Graveyard on it, right?
Yep, Graveyard,
Okay.
and even without me, which
Hmm.
came out in 2018.
That song is so fucking good.
It's so fucking good.
I
I
sent
just
you a
love everything
remix of
about it.
that recently, didn't I?
I think so.
Okay, yeah, that
I
remix
have
is
heard
really
that
good.
song she was in with was it BSI or whatever, that Korean like pop group.
BTS?
Yes, that song's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
It's very catchy and good.
I know Billy likes
Um,
BTS. He's been listening to them on some of his streams he's been doing.
really?
Yeah,
That's
BTS.
amazing.
BTS honestly, I could
It beats ass.
I could get into a whole separate conversation about how much I like J-pop and K-pop and baby
Oh, you gotta
metal and
talk
all
to
that
Brandon
stuff.
then.
Yeah.
Brandon used to listen to that all the time.
All
Oh
right.
yeah.
Well, me and Brandon are gonna become even better friends than we are
Yeah,
already.
right.
But yeah, no, it's yeah, Halsey's
It's very
great.
good. Yeah. Halsey and then Travis Scott, who you also
Oh
showed
fuck
me.
yeah!
I listened to a shit ton
God,
of
I
like
love Travis Scott.
they're probably like 2017, 2018 when a lot of that stuff came out, I think, but just a lot of him. Yeah.
Shout out to Sicko Mode, which was one of my
Oh
most
my god.
listened. It didn't come out this year, but it was one of my most listened to songs from this year, according to
Yeah.
Spotify.
That song's fucking incredible.
Beats ass. The Skrillex remix, that song just whips
Oh
ass.
my god. It really does. It's so good.
Yeah,
But yeah, as far as like honorable mentions beyond the albums, that's kind of
that's pretty much it for you.
yeah. Yep.
Okay, I will take a turn here for these last two, and I'll list my top 10, and then you can give your top 10 and so forth, and we'll go back and forth.
Okay.
So my number 10 for the year was from a band called Water Parks. It is their album they put out called Fandom. I'm not the biggest Water Parks fan, mostly because I think that they're not a boy band exactly, and they're like pop punk kind of, definitely more in the pop rock aspect than pop punk. But this album really surprised me. It's catchy as fuck. I'm gonna send you a list of these albums so you can check them out after we're done.
Hell yeah.
And I want to do the same with yours, of course. But
Yeah.
Aaron doesn't really like a lot of the same music that I do in this genre, at least, and he really liked this album a lot this year too.
Nice.
But if you just want some catchy, like feel good music,
Hell yeah.
it's really good stuff.
That stuff's always good.
Yep.
Oh, so my 10 then, huh?
Yep.
Speaking of catchy feel good, my number 10 is We Are Not Your Kind by Slipknot.
Hell yeah. Catchy
album.
and feel good. Yep.
I remember seeing at one point it was like the number one selling album like in all of music at one point, which
Crazy.
is fucking wild that a Slipknot album in 2019
Yeah,
can do
that's so wild. That album definitely didn't make my top 10. I haven't been a really big Slipknot fan, I don't think, since what was the album that had Before I Forget on it, and then
Oh god, yeah.
and then
I'm not the biggest Slipknot fan. I like Corey Taylor in general
like
more
Stone
than
Sour,
the
yeah.
band. Exactly. Stone Sour I like a lot more than them.
Yeah,
But, like Unsainted was like the single on that I liked for a while.
that
And
song's an ass beater too.
yeah, like this album probably only got like 2 or 3 listens to for it, but that's kind of how my year went for brand new. that like that's in my top 10. I listened to it 2 times, so. But it was a pretty good album.
Okay, so my number 9 is from a band I like called Pup, P-U-P. That name of the album is Morbid Stuff. I think this band, they're still not really that big yet, but I think that
I think I remember you telling me about them at some point.
I think, well, the reason that I'm about to describe, I think, is when we were talking about it, because Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things is in 2 of this band's music videos randomly.
Oh shit! Yeah.
And it's like I wouldn't necessarily call them pop punk. They're just like, I guess they're just like rock, like alternative or whatever. But really, really solid album from Pup that came out this year. Probably my favorite one that they've made. I like a lot of the older singles better overall than this album, but this is my favorite cohesive, like, one album that they've ever put out. So that's my number 9 is Morbid Stuff by Pup.
Hell yeah. My number 9, another album I didn't listen to a ton, but it's a band that I liked their last album a lot. Have you ever heard of Highly Suspect?
Yeah, you showed me them in the car on the way back from Wage War, that Wage War concert we went to.
Oh my god, yeah. My Name is Human is one of my favorite songs ever, but that was on their last album. That I think was a lot better than this one, but their newest one was MCID, which my brother and sister-in-law are obsessed with Highly Suspect.
Yeah.
Like probably like top 3 favorite bands of all time now, obsessed. And MCID is just My Crew is Dope, is what that stands for.
Oh, okay.
It's just like their fandom is just like MCID.
My Crew is Dope. That's awesome.
Yeah, which is cool. They had a song called Tokyo Ghoul on that album that's based off of the anime.
Yeah, that I've always wanted to watch that anime too.
Yeah, I've seen a couple random episodes. It's very good, but
okay.
they've got another singer that's got like one of those very unique, like different sounding, like
Nice.
recognizable voices. Now that I
I need
know
to
them,
listen to more of their stuff then.
yeah.
All right. Well, my number 8 is I had to miss this person's concert earlier this year. We had some
Oh
shit going
shit.
on, but he's a rapper technically. But the way I describe it is it's like hip hop meets slam poetry is the way I
Hmm.
describe this artist. It's from Hobo Johnson. The album is The Fall of Hobo Johnson. His first album was called The
Oh
Rise
yeah.
of Hobo Johnson.
Huh.
It's I played some for Ben in the car ride. I had to go pick him up at the airport the other night and drive him home,
Yeah.
and I tried to play some for him, and I could just tell he was not feeling it. And I think most people that I show this artist to, they just do not feel
Yeah.
him at all.
He's absolutely a either acquired taste or like a very specific like niche.
Yeah,
Like
it's
I respect what he does. Is I don't think I could. I couldn't picture myself sitting there and listening to it. But
yeah,
like, it's very good and interesting and different.
a lot of the stuff I listened to this year, some of it's pretty cookie cutter, like typical stuff, but then the rest of
Yeah.
it is really different or like changed the way I look at music. Like I changed the way I look at music a lot this year, and this was part of it for sure.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's he has a song called Peach Scone, which was pretty much like his breakthrough
Yeah.
song. He was on NPR's Tiny Little Desk or Tiny Desk concerts that they do, which if I don't know if you've ever watched those before, but
Uh-uh.
they have like artists come on and do like either like acoustic or like
Just yeah.
scaled down versions of their songs, and he was on there, and that's how I found out who he was.
Oh wow.
And it, like the biggest artists too, like Lizzo did one, a bunch of other really famous artists do this, where they do like 2 or 3 songs, and it's like scaled down performances of their big hits that are otherwise produced differently.
Hmm.
But yeah, he's become one of my favorite artists for sure.
Nice.
All right then.
My number 8, another album I didn't like. If I made like truly like loved of this music on my list, it's really my top 5. But like the
Yeah.
6 through 10 was other stuff that I did listen to and I liked this year, but I just
Mm-hmm.
didn't get like super into.
Yeah.
My number 8 is Korn's new album, The Nothing, which has there's a couple good songs on there that like I don't hate new Korn. Like I feel like a lot of people like their older stuff best, which I
Mm-hmm.
mean that's what got them big, and I agree for the most part. But it definitely wasn't as good as their last album that was called Rotting in Vain, I think was the name of the album. That's one of
Yeah.
the songs on it, at least.
Yeah.
I really like that album a lot, actually. But Nothing has a song called Cold that's just a fucking ass beater that's really good. But
Nice.
Korn just sounds different than anybody else. Like I
They
just
have
love
their own
Jonathan.
unique sound. When you listen to them,
Yeah.
much like Slipknot, like okay, this is a Korn song.
Right, yeah. So that was my number 8.
I think Here to Stay is always going to be my favorite Korn song for some reason. I like that
Oh,
one a
hell
lot.
yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. So my number 6, I think, or 7.
7.
7,
Yep.
yeah. My number 7 is Lizzo's album "Cause I Love You." She's become one of my favorite new artists, like breakout artists for sure. Abby from Giant Bomb actually tweeted out a song called "Water Me" by Lizzo. It's one of her older ones. I don't think it made it onto this album. It was like a single she put out right before she got really famous.
Mhm.
So I hate to be that douchey guy that's like, oh, I liked her before she was really famous,
Oh
But
no, you're all there.
I was there on the front lines. Like I was listening
Yeah.
to Water Me back whenever Abby shared this on Giant Bomb, like in 2018, and I feel like
Mhm.
Lizzo really didn't start to blow up until 2019.
Right.
But this album overall was just so solid from top to bottom.
Mhm.
She's got so much soul and so much, like just her voice is great. She's a really
Yeah.
great singer. She's really funny and entertaining, but her music means a lot to me because I don't know if you've ever watched her live performances. She twerks a lot, so like that's the funny part of it. But she's
Yeah.
like, and if you don't know who Lizzo is, she's a really like heavy set African American
Right.
woman. But she's all about like body positivity and self-love,
Exactly.
and she preaches that on stage. Like she interrupts her shows frequently to just go off on these tangents about like look in the mirror every day and tell yourself that you love yourself, because until you start doing that, you're really not going to be happy.
Right.
And I just appreciate that so much. Like you can make the worst fucking album in the world, but if you have that kind of attitude about music, you're at least going to make me want to pay more attention to you than I was already. So
Right.
it helps that I love her music already, that I love her, but I love her as a person because of that for sure too.
Yeah, like I haven't listened to much of her music, but I know all that stuff about her. That like, yeah, she's very positive and like doesn't let like fucking mainstream media tell her what
Yes.
she should look like, or like the fact that she does look the way she does is a bad thing. Like she doesn't.
Yeah.
She's like fuck all that, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. My number 7, which we've talked about them before, and we both agree that their older stuff is better, but they had some catchy songs on their newest album, but my number 7 is Ammo by Bring Me the Horizon.
Yeah.
There's a couple bangers on this one.
We will talk about that album later, my friend.
Oh shit! Look at that.
Yeah,
there we go. Nice.
So I older Bring Me the Horizon back when Ollie was still screaming a lot. I've strayed away from that a little bit because it all sounds kind of the same.
Yeah.
But the album,
That's the Spirit will be my favorite album.
That's the Spirit is a really, really good album.
Very good.
Amo is an album that has grown on me in a major way this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you'll be very surprised where this album ended up for me this year.
Oh yeah.
But I really like that a lot. I'm happy that you put that on your list too. Medicine Alone is one of my top favorite songs of the year.
Mm-hmm.
That song's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, so my number 6 then, right? Okay.
Yeah.
My number 6 is a band that we saw open up for Wage War.
Hell yeah.
We missed the first part of their set. Actually, most of their set I think we missed because we were in line the entire time.
So fucking mad.
But this band has a song called Burial Plot that has been very helpful to me getting through tough shit this year. And the rest of the album is good, but that song's always going to have a special place in my heart. But the name of the band is Dayseeker, and the album is called Sleep Talk. I don't know if you saw on their social media recently, somebody stole their van and their trailer with all their stuff in it.
What?
Yeah, so they just lost all their instruments, their amps, the drums, the guitars, everything.
Oh my god, that's terrible.
So it's that band right now has like a GoFundMe to try to get all their stuff back. Actually, breaking news, because I was just looking at my list and I was like, oh, I want to see if they got this resolved. They found the trailer.
Oh, that's awesome.
The van is missing and everything that was in the trailer is missing.
Oh,
but,
fuck.
But they're
Not
thinking
good.
now that but it's better than what they had because this has been missing. This has been ongoing for like a month.
Oh wow, I had no idea.
They've had no leads until now. So Dayseeker is like, would you call them metal core, maybe metal? I don't know.
Yeah,
but,
almost like not pop as in like the type of music, but like pop is like catchiness. Like they had those
metal,
that really gets you. I was actually listening to that album today.
It's fucking a great album. I contemplated because I know you can play so much of a song on YouTube before you get copyright striked.
Oh, yeah.
I was considering playing like 15 seconds of each of these songs, like a song from these albums, but now obviously we're like crushed for time here, so because we're coming up on the 2.5 hour mark of this podcast.
Holy shit!
But anyways, that's my number 6 for the year is Sleep Talk by Dayseeker.
Hell yeah! So my number 6, kind of like the finale of like my second half, where they're really like a huge gap will kick in once we get to number 5.
Yeah.
My number 6 was another one that just surprised me that they're still making stuff that's actually pretty good. And it's actually kind of heavier, I feel like, than a lot of their older stuff. But my number 6 was Order in Decline by Sum 41.
Nice.
Their newest album, which actually wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I love
They
Sum 41.
had some bangers. What's his name? Their singer looks like a fucking 83-year-old woman now.
Yeah.
He did not age very well.
Well, he had problems with drugs real bad.
Yeah, I was like, oh, you can tell he's paying for that now.
He really is.
They can still beat some ass, though.
They can, for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
I like that album.
So my number 5 is one of my favorite rappers from 2019, one of the best new artists of 2019 in my opinion. He's done a lot of features. I think he's done more features on other people's songs than anybody else this year. Like he's made it a point to brag about that because he's been everywhere and done everything. Kirk by DaBaby is my number 5 album.
I need to look this up.
It's so fucking good. He's just such a good rapper. He was on that show Hot Ones pretty recently too, like the live episode they made. He just seems like the typical like cocky rapper, but then he actually has like a nice side to him. He has like a daughter that he posts on Instagram. Like you can tell he's a genuinely good guy, but he does like to. He's one of those people that's like he's really happy with where he's at now, as opposed to where he used to be. So he's like showing off his stacks of money and his, his bling and stuff. But he seems like a genuinely good guy. He was on Saturday Night Live recently and killed it.
Got Kevin Gates, Chance the Rapper, Nicki Minaj, Lil Baby.
Yeah,
Migos.
little baby and DaBaby. There's been a lot of babies this year in rap music.
Right.
But yeah, check out that if you like hip hop.
I just downloaded it. Actually,
I've been trying to get Ben to listen to it. It's a really solid album. The best song that he has, which you're gonna have to add this song to. It's not on that album, but it's called Suge. Okay. It's called Suge. SUGE as in Suge Knight.
Yeah.
Fucking amazing.
Baby
song.
on baby.
Baby on baby. But yeah, if you like rap, you need to be listening to DaBaby, and I'm sure most people probably are. But that's my number 5 for the year.
Hell yeah! I get 2. That album came out in 2019 too.
I know.
You get 2 of them. That's crazy. And 2018.
Yep.
Holy hell. Okay. Okay. So like I said, my number 5. This is where it's getting into stuff that I actually like religiously listen to.
Oh yeah.
Probably all these things for at least like a week or two like straight at some point
Yeah.
during the year. My number 5 is from a band called Bad Flower.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, I'm Sick. Which they're kind of in the vein of like a Highly Suspect, I feel like. But for some reason I've gravitated to them so much more than Highly Suspect, even though they also made my list.
Yeah.
They just got some songs on here that are just fucking wild. Like the subject material of a lot of their songs are just very deep and like heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have a song called Daddy that is insane about like an abusive father and stuff.
Damn.
And it's like the catchiest song, but like the words he's saying are just like, what the fuck? Like this is messed up. But it's like very good, deep, like I feel like Day Secret has a lot of really well written songs. Like their songwriting is on point, along with being catchy. Like The Jester is legit one of my favorite songs of all time. It's the second song on that album, and it's so fucking good.
It's a good
just
one.
About like, oh, like you just want me here to like laugh at me, right? Like this is I'm just like a fucking jester to you type of stuff. Like, oh my god, it's just very good.
It's good shit.
Yeah.
All right, we are in the nitty gritty of the albums that I listened to the most this year.
Mm-hmm.
When I think of the term alternative to describe music, it can mean a number of different things, but to me it means something different from mainstream. And this is an artist that definitely went mainstream this year, but she has one of the most unique voices that I've ever heard in music. A lot of people, including my own friends, like to give this artist shit for being a young girl that doesn't know what she's doing, doesn't sound good, her music's not good, they don't understand her, they don't like her music. I personally don't understand where all the hate for this artist comes from, because I personally really enjoy her as a person. Like, she's very entertaining to like listen to in interviews, but her music is really surreal and ethereal and like captivating to listen to. So my number 4 for the year is When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go by Billie Eilish. I absolutely have grown to love her over the last year or so. Ocean Eyes, which is off of the album that came out right before this one, is always going to be my favorite.
Amazing song.
You know what? You know what just occurred to me the other day? I talked to Christa about this, and I don't think I told you. Do you remember that What You Say song that was everywhere for a long time?
Yeah.
Which is called Hide and Seek by Imogen Heap.
Yeah.
Go back, when we get done recording, go back and listen to that song and tell me you don't think Billie Eilish was inspired by Imogen Heap a little bit and artists like that.
I can see that. Yeah.
It's like the distorted vocals especially.
Yeah.
And like people are acting like Billie Eilish just came out of nowhere and nobody's ever existed. Like you can hear the influence from other artists like Imogen Heap in her music.
Oh,
and
yeah.
She has like a raspiness to her voice, kind of like Lana Del Rey does too.
Yeah,
but
I
truly just, I could rant for a whole podcast worth about how it's unfair to put hate on an 18-year-old girl who's made more money in her entire.
She's just trying.
She's doing what she loves to do, and it's not like she's being humble about it. She's just doing what she wants to do, what she loves to do. She's made more money than you or I are ever going to see in the rest of our lives. And by the time she's 18, and her music just happens to be really good, and I like that album a lot. So that's my number 4 album of the year.
Hell yeah. My number 4 was the Collaborations album that Ed Sheeran made. Yeah. Number 6. That album had some fucking bangers on it.
South of the Border, baby.
Oh my god, South of the Border's great. The fucking I think it's I Don't Care. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, with Bieber.
With Bieber, like that's going to be played at Tiff and I's wedding. I fucking love that song. Yeah. The one with I got the list right now. Like I haven't listened to it in a couple months. That's at the bottom. God. Great audio. What the fuck was that one called? Blow. Fuck, there it is. The one with Chris Stapleton and Bruno Mars. That song's a fucking banger.
Chris Stapleton's like one of the only country artists that I like anymore.
Yeah, like that song made me download his like essentials on iTunes. I loved it. Got such a great
Parachute's a great Chris Stapleton song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just like any like there's gonna be a song in this collab with somebody that you like. Like it's just it's called collaborations. Every single song isn't just him. Like he's got somebody in all of them. It's just a fun album with a lot of different sounding songs in it.
Touches on a little bit of everything.
Right.
All right. So my number 3, I don't listen to a lot of hardcore anymore, but this is my favorite hardcore band that I've ever heard. I've been a fan of them for about 2 or 3 years now. They haven't put out a whole lot. I think this is their second album that they put out this year. When I talk about ass beaters of a song, this is literally when I listen to this music, it just makes me want to roll around naked in a field of glass. It just makes me want to just knock someone's dick in the dirt in the worst possible way. But I like the sad part is like if I'd ever go to one of their shows, there's no way I'd ever be in the pit because there's just
Oh yeah,
dudes
you'll get
like
murdered.
throwing like doing like jump punches like and throwing kicks and just I can't do it. But my number 3 is A Different Shade of Blue by Knocked Loose.
Oh yeah.
They are my favorite hardcore band by far. Literally every song is an ass beater. There's a song called In the Walls on this album where he describes at the end, I don't think it's a real like police like radio call, but it sounds like it.
Mhm.
And it's describing like a man who murdered his whole family, and then when police showed up to like arrest him, he was just outside in his car listening to the radio. And so yeah, it's fucked
That's
up.
amazing.
But it's so good. It's the best hardcore band right now in my opinion. But they're just
Hell yeah.
every song's an ass beat. If you want some good metal music, listen to Knocked Loose.
Hell yeah.
All right, here we go. Number 3 for
The
Alex.
top 3.
Yep, top 3.
Probably even yet another step up from this one. This is where it really takes off.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Insane amounts of listening to it. So my number 3 is one you've already listed already. My number 3 was Sleep Talk by Dayseeker.
Damn, you put it even higher than I did.
Hell fucking yeah, dude.
It's so good.
It's so unbelievably good. And I think Drunk is probably my favorite song on that album. It's just very different. Like it's very like calming, like auto-tuned, like almost more talking than singing. The weekend. Yeah.
His distorted vocals in that song are just beautiful.
It's so good. And then just where the fucking drops back in, where could you run? Like I just fucking get hyped as shit.
Oh yeah.
Every single time that drop happens.
Getting goosebumps just talking about it. It's
oh my god, it's so good. And like we talked about, it's just like a different, like almost like poppy metal sound.
And to think
like,
we probably
nothing
wouldn't know,
super heavy.
We wouldn't even know who they were if we wouldn't have gone to that Wage War show because we like listened to them leading up to that. And it's like if we hadn't had the idea to go to that show, we wouldn't know who this band is. And now they're in the top 10 of the year.
Yeah, it's wild.
So
that's
good. It's so fucking good. All right, we talked about my number 2 a lot already, so I won't go on too much further about it. But Amo by Bring Me the Horizon was my number 2.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. Medicine has become a theme to me and Christa's like life problems lately.
Oh shit! Yeah,
like putting like casting toxic people out and learning how to deal with like cutting off relationships and friendships. And
it's very hard.
It's a hard thing to do, and music has been a thing that's gotten us through it. And Amo is a big part of that for sure because of Medicine and Mantra, however you say it, is a really good song as well.
Very good.
Mantra.
Yeah. Mantra.
And then I already know. Well, we have your number 2 to go over, but then I already know both of our number 1s here this year. So
we're gonna be tied again.
Yep, we're gonna be tied again.
Our like 10 through 2s for both this like movies and albums have been so unbelievably different, and it's just hysterical that both of them like but number one.
Number 1. Yep.
Yeah. So my number 2, we mentioned the Wage War concert we went to. My number 2 was Pressure by Wage War, which is not my favorite Wage War album, but I still love the shit out of that album, and I listened to it.
Yeah, Dead Weight.
So
as far as Wage War goes, Dead Weight's the all-time goat.
It's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have you to thank for this one because you had showed me the album, but or the Wage War in general, and it's just like my favorite heavy band right now. For sure.
They're fucking fantastic.
And Pressure dials it back a lot on that, but there's still some really fucking good, like, kind of like Dayseeker, like that poppy, like if metal could be poppy, like that's what they kind of are, like calmer, catchier.
I like when bands have a screamer and a singer designated with the band, because to me, when you have some guy doing both, he's going to blow his voice out by the time he hits his mid-20s, you know? So it's like... Let two guys do the work, because I feel like perfect example of this is lead singer of Devil Wears Prada. He does the the guitarist does a lot of the singing now, but like back in the day, he was just screaming his fucking lungs out. And so when you listen to him now, like he just doesn't have a voice anymore. Yeah. All right, Alex, what was our number 1 album of 2019?
Should we do the countdown again?
Are we gonna be able to say this in sync? Because it didn't work so well last time, but I feel like
I know.
All right, let's just go for it. We're gonna go on go again.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go. Hollywood's Bleeding by Post Malone. Fuck yeah, Posty. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what anybody says. This is the best album that Posty's ever put out.
Yep.
It's fantastic from top to bottom. It's one of the catchiest albums I've ever heard. It's one of the best produced albums I've ever heard. It changed the way that I look at Post Malone forever, because I do love Stoney and I do love Beer Bongs and Bentleys.
Yep. He's gotten
Especially
better each time, which is a
he's
great
literally
sign.
getting better every time he makes an album. I know a lot of people that are fans of Beer Bongs and Bentleys disagree with that, and they think that
Yep.
was his best work.
It's
But
close, but I think he got it just barely.
it's perfect. It's in much in the
It
same
really
way that
is.
Knives Out is a perfect movie. This is a perfect album for me, and it's surprising in a way. It's been a really surprising year for all this stuff for me. I would have never told if you would have asked me in January, hey Josh, is that Post Malone album going to be any good? I probably would have been like, oh well, it's probably not going to be a Beer Bongs or Bentleys, but it might be okay.
Yep.
Where's it going to be on your top 10? Oh, it probably won't even make my top 10. Now
Yeah.
here we
It'll
are.
be an honorable mention.
It's my number one. So
Yep.
go listen to fucking Post Malone, you
It's
fucks.
just that fucking you fuck. We're getting fucking. Listen, you've been here for 2 hours and 40 minutes. What the fuck are you doing? That's 2 hours and 40 minutes. You could be listening to Post Malone.
How many times could you listen to that album? It's like a 40-minute long album. You could have been listening to that at least a couple
Oh
of
my
times.
god. I wish Apple Music had more of the stats like Spotify, because that's why I missed. Because I just wanted to laugh at how stupidly disproportionate my music listening to has been of Post Malone versus everybody else.
Yeah.
Like
So
it seriously might be 50-50 this
me
year.
and Christa share we share a Spotify account. We don't have the family account, which was like $5 more a month. So like my Spotify year wrapped thing, I was gonna go over it in this, but like it wasn't really an accurate representation of me. It was both of us.
Mm-hmm.
But State Champs and Post Malone were our two top artists of 2019. So
it stuck through. Yep.
That sums me up pretty well as a person. If you know me personally, that's like been my life for the last year in music.
Right.
All right, and now for the moment I'm sure everybody who watches this channel has been waiting for, the fucking games. So this will be the last list. So we've covered Alex's TV shows of 2019. We've covered our top 10 podcasts of 2019. Top 10 movies, top 10 music albums, and now finally we are on top 10 games. As mentioned before, I do have quite a few honorable mentions, so I'm going to run those down real quick here. First one is Lo-Fi Chill Beats to Write To, Kind Words. This is the game that we did the quick look of. I don't know if you remember that one before we did the Colonel Sanders game, the one where people just write each other anonymous letters of encouragement and everything.
Yeah, I remember that.
I checked back in on it this week, and it's still thriving. There's a lot of people playing it. My inbox was full, and a lot of people said some really nice things. I said some nice things in return. I think that game is like $5 on Steam, so if you're going through any kind of mental illness, depression, anxiety, stress, anything, or just need to vent and like talk about work or family or anything, it's such a nice. And then the lo-fi part of it is, I listen to that lo-fi YouTube channel all the time with lo-fi hip-hop beats, and this is just that music with the encouragement writing of letters put in with that. So it's really just the perfect little game for me, especially for $5. It's a steal.
Right.
My second honorable mention is a game called Audica, which is Harmonix's game, VR game, PSVR game that I think it might have came out on other platforms, but I got it for the PSVR. The people who made Rock Band's new game, it's basically a rhythm shooter. They just put Posty and Billie Eilish and some other songs in the game.
Shit.
They put them in Rock Band, which is why I think that they also put them in Audica. I think that they're going to start double dipping there.
Yeah,
but it's different. It's different Posty songs though. I think the Posty song in Audica is better now.
Oh, fuck me up.
So, and I think the Billie Eilish song is different too. So like that gives me hope that those are going to come to Rock Band too. If they could put them in Audica, they should be able to put them in Rock Band.
Yeah.
But it's a rhythm shooter. It's really cool. My other honorable mention, a game that I put 10 hours into this year that I need to go back and put more time into, but I didn't feel comfortable listing it any higher than an honorable mention because I'm still forming an opinion of it, is Fire Emblem Three Houses. I'm typically not a strategy or real-time strategy game player, but this game, somebody sold me on it by telling me it was like Harry Potter with the houses and the interactions between students and stuff.
Yep.
So I really like it, but it's complicated even on the easy difficulty or normal difficulty that I'm playing on. So I will come back to it at some point. An honorable mention, a game that I had fun with, another game that I played for 10 hours this year and then fell off of really hard, is Days Gone. It just got to the point where there were so many different things coming out that I wanted to play that I couldn't justify making more time for this. I think it's run its course. I don't know if I'm going to go back and play any more of it, but I did enjoy the time I played it quite a bit. Another honorable mention is Super Mario Maker 2. I only put about 5 hours into that this year. I need to put more time into it. I made exactly one level that stumped my friends for a couple days, and then they beat it. And I was like, well, I'm not creative enough to keep making these.
That would be a really fun, even if we had to do it over here, just because how your setup was being very difficult with us.
Yeah.
I think that would be a really fun video series to do of us.
trying to
either
make
making a
levels or
level
playing
or
other
like
people's.
fucking around. Yeah, that'd
We
be really
really,
fun.
really need to do
I want to
that.
play that.
That in 2020, you heard it here first on this podcast. I
Huh.
want that to be a series. I also want Sweet Dreams to be a thing where I play through the stuff that people are
Oh
making in that
yes,
Dreams game
that's a
somehow.
good name too.
So, and then I've also got Devil May Cry 5 on my honorable mentions. I did not finish that. I've never been a big button mashing action fan, but I think personally this is the best Devil May Cry that they've ever made. But they just lost me because I was like, my thumbs are sore. I'm tapping the X and square buttons repeatedly. And it had an interesting story, really fantastic soundtrack, but story wasn't compelling enough to keep me going. And I might come back to it. I own all my games digitally now, so I'll have them forever if I ever want to come back to them.
Yeah.
Another honorable mention that almost made it into my top 10 but just missed out is Apex Legends, which I also forgot that came out this year. It seems like it's been out for fucking ever, but it really
I was looking
did.
up a list too, and I was like, holy shit, like February 4th or something like that.
Me and John, which shout out to John from his Make Stuff channel that he has on YouTube and on social media, and then he's in my game dev videos. He and I streamed Apex Legends a couple times on Addict Now Gaming this year. It's PUBG was always my battle royale of choice, but Apex Legends is always going to be a close second, I think. Another game of my honorable mentions is Metro Exodus. I've never been a huge fan of the Metro series, but I did play about 15 hours of this game this year.
Yeah,
On
that's
Xbox.
the first stream I ever hopped into. I remember that.
Yeah, you did hop into that stream. Yep. That was the first one that Swirly ever hopped into, so that was awesome.
Yeah.
And you talked to Aaron like in the chat the whole time and stuff. Yep. That was a lot of fun. But I played a lot of that game. It's still clunky. It's just it's just some of these games on this honorable mentions. The clunky is the word, I guess, to describe them. Like Days Gone and Metro Exodus are probably the two clunkiest games on this list, I would say. Tom Clancy's The Division 2. You and I are going to be returning to that in 2020 as well.
Yeah, we are.
But Buddy Ben and I tried to play that together on PC, and my PC is just not fucking having it anymore.
He's like, nah, dog.
So, nah, dog. I'm gonna, that's gonna be a no from me. So, my computer will not run it. I love The Division 1. Ben and I put about 50 hours into the first division, so I really am looking forward to returning to this with you. So that's another new Addict Now game series from the year. For 2020, that's going to be coming. Risk of Rain 2, which you guys know, Buddy Ben and I had a Let's Play series of that ongoing. That game, they've updated it, and I don't think I like the new version of this game, but I really like the first couple videos we did of it. They've made it a lot harder. Enemies spawn a lot faster and a lot harder. And it's not nearly as good anymore, if you ask me, which is a shame, which is why it didn't make my top 10. But I'm still really enjoying playing it with him. I've got World War Z on my list, which Aaron and I played a little bit, and I played a little bit of my own this year. It's kind of like the modern Left 4 Dead, and I want to play more of it in 2020, but it's an honorable mention for now. Along with Resident Evil 2. I love the original PlayStation 1 version of Resident Evil 2. This new one, I didn't like Mr. X, which is the ominous man who just stalks you and you can't kill him. And to me, that's when games stress me out, like horror games, when there's something you can't kill. And he just appears. And honestly, it got to the point where I wasn't even scared anymore as much as I was annoyed that he kept appearing.
Yeah, like, get the fuck out of here, man.
So, yeah, Resident Evil 2 is really good. It's probably one of the best remakes of a game I've ever played. But overall, it's not top 10 material for me personally.
Yeah.
Then I have Madden 20 and FIFA 20, really solid entries in those sports games, but not the best that they've ever been. Madden 20 is a significant improvement from Madden 19, but still not top 10 worthy for me this year. FIFA, I like the Volta mode that they put in the street soccer that felt a lot like FIFA Street, but overall everything else about it, it's still just EA is a bad company. They're a very bad company. I continue to give them money and play their games. I really shouldn't, but I love sports games, sue me.
Right.
Another honorable mention is the Dark Pictures anthology, Man of Medan, which is the newest game from Supermassive Games, the company that made Until Dawn. I still love Until Dawn a lot better. This game was very short. I completed it in 2.5 streams.
Yep.
But they're making a trilogy, and they showed a trailer at the end. If you missed my Man of Medan stream,
is Man of Medan 1 or is that 2?
So Man of Medan is the first one in this new trilogy of shorter games. So the second one is coming out next year sometime. They showed a trailer for it at the end of my last stream, like after the credits rolled. I'm glad I stuck around because they showed. Yeah, you need to finish it because they showed a preview of the next game. It was like 30 seconds, but it got me more excited than Man of Medan did.
That's really cool the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah, Man of Medan was good. It just didn't really go anywhere, and I felt like my choices ultimately didn't matter because of how short it was. But I still enjoyed it. I want to see what else this company is capable of producing. And then finally, last 3 games on my list, we have Call of Duty Mobile, which is a game I never thought that I was going to sink like 10 hours into this year, but damn, I did. It's very solid. Most games on phones just play like absolute shit, and especially shooters, like or any game where you have to walk or shoot. But it's surprisingly intuitive for a mobile game, so I thought that was worthy of my honorable mentions. Then we have Heave Ho, which is a game that you are absolutely going to play with me next time we're in person. It is a Nintendo Switch game. I believe it's a PC game as well. Actually, Alex, do you have Twitch Prime?
I do not, but Tiff does.
You can get Heave Ho for free right now on Twitch Prime.
Really?
Yes, what you need to do.
I really gave away
you
games.
Literally, all you have to do, every month. Like right now, you can get like 5 games for free just by having it. So even if they're under her account, you need to go claim this game as soon as possible to make sure that you can have it, because
that's crazy.
It's so much fun. It's like one of the best party games I've ever played. Giant Bomb did a quick look of it, which you need to watch at some point, and that'll sell you on the game.
Yeah.
And then finally, a game that we did one recording for Adjective Now Gaming this year was Hypnospace Outlaw. I don't know if you watched us play this one.
It sounds familiar.
It's the game where
Is that the card game?
No, it's not. This is the game that looks like the 90s internet, basically. And
that's right.
You're like a police officer, like enforcing copyright laws on the internet.
Yeah.
The unfortunate part of this game was when Aaron and Ben were watching me play it over Discord, they couldn't hear the game through screen share because none of my audio ever comes through. Part of the fun of this game is the audio. And it looks and sounds like 90s internet, like the way I remember it, like AOL and all that stuff. So
right.
That concludes my honorable mentions. We're at the 2 hour and 50-minute mark here, so I'm going to let you run through any honorable mentions that you have. Okay,
I'm just going to do these real quick. So basically my list was the 10. I played 10 games essentially in 2019 that came out in 2019. And this is everything else that I played at least a little bit for the year. I beat Pokemon Moon finally, right before the new Pokemon game came out. So I never finished that. I played A Way Out, which fucking ungodly amazing game.
Such a good game.
Watch our past live streams on the channel.
Yes, they are archived on the Adjective Now Gaming YouTube. Honestly, my favorite thing, besides that recent episode of Game Dev, that and our Way Out thing are like my 2 favorite things I've done on the channel.
Fucking unbelievable. Oh, fuck. I just realized I forgot a game on my list. Okay. Streaming it just made me think of it. Borderlands 2. Streamed that for a little bit.
Yep.
I think I beat BioShock Infinite in 2019. I honestly can't remember. It might have been late 2018. It might have been early 2019. I can't remember, but fucking amazing game too. I played Dead Space for the first time on the Extra Life stream, and that was really fun and made me want to actually like play through that game legitimately. Dead Space is one of the best horror games of all time, one of the best Xbox 360 games of all time, and just one of my favorite games. It was in my top 30. I can't remember where I put it. During my Extra Life stream, we listed our top 30, and it was in there for sure. Such a good fucking game. Really good. I'm putting the game I forgot. I'm literally throwing it into my list right now because I can't believe I forgot about it. I played some Rock Band 4 this year, mostly with you. Actually, exclusively with you over at the place on stream and just playing and hanging out. Yeah. I finally started but did not finish God of War, which I absolutely need to get back into that. Game of the year for 2018. Yeah, I think I got like 6 or 7 hours into it, if that, maybe. Yeah. And I loved it, and then like the wave of the 2019 games that I did actually play came out, and I kind of lost it. But the unfortunate thing for you there is I think it's going to be hard to go back into it, because when I beat it, Aaron was telling me like, hey, this game's pretty easy to platinum. Like he got pretty close to platinuming it, and he was telling me like, but like if you drop it and try to go back to it, it's like really hard to pick it back up. Yeah. So maybe like you'll have a better experience being still like early on, like 1/4 of the way through, as opposed to me having finished it and then trying to come back to it like a couple months later. But I hope that you have a smooth transition, because that game deserves attention from everybody. That game was phenomenal. Such a good. I loved everything I'd done so far. It's so good. Mm-hmm. I played a little bit of Smash this year, mostly at that tournament that Billy had at his place, and I played it a little bit on my own as well. Tiff and I got the Lego Harry Potter collection for PS4 that had the books 1 to 4 and 5 to 7 together, and we beat 1 to 4, and I think we're somewhere in book 5 still. But it was one of those, we were playing it all the time, and then we just one day just stopped. Yeah. And it was like, wow, we didn't realize that was going to be the last time we'd play it in like 6 months, but here we are. But that game's a lot of fun, and I love it a lot. Yeah, yeah. And then a couple 2s. I played Destiny 2 a little bit with you on stream, and I think on my own. Still playing some Forsaken. I don't remember when that DLC came out, but I think I was still playing it at least into the new year a little bit. And then Division 2 as well, which, like you mentioned, I've got that now thanks to you again, by the way.
Yeah.
Great Christmas present.
Oh yeah.
But I am actually excited to get into it and like fully start that over and like get into it.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
yep. So that's all my honorable mentions I got there.
That's awesome. All right.
Yeah.
So my number 10, we are down to the final part of this podcast finally. Our top 10 games of 2019.
Thank you to whoever has made it through this 3-hour
Yeah,
slot.
honestly, thank you for listening. Thank you as always for supporting the channel. I know this is what most of you came here to see. We will be posting this as soon as possible after we get done recording it. And of course, Christa will make graphics of our lists, which will take her a while since the lists are beefier this time. And we've got more of them. But that's one way also to check out the list. But we really do want you guys to listen to the podcast because this is kind of like a passion project for me at this point.
Yeah.
So sorry for the long episodes. It's kind of all I know how to do with being a Giant Bomb fan for like the last 6 years.
Right.
I can only think of podcasts in terms of being 3 or 4 hours long.
Yep.
But my number 10 of the year is a game that we've become known as the Border Boys on my channel this year. Borderlands 3 is my number 10.
Hell yeah.
It's a game that I don't know if I'd necessarily enjoy playing it by myself, but I have had a hell of a good time playing it with you on stream, and
I tried to, and I didn't.
Yeah.
So I tried.
Yeah, but it's just more Borderlands. That we talk about it. If you want to see our Border Boys archives, they're up on the channel for your consumption. It's a good Borderlands game. The guns don't feel super great. The variety's not super great with them. There's a lot. The humor's pretty stale at this point.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's more Borderlands. So if you want some Borderlands, play Borderlands 3.
Yep. My number 10 is a game I don't own, but I played with my brother a couple times and had a lot of fun, and we always do with these yearly games for this franchise. But my number 10 is Madden 20, which I couldn't go into as big of a dive on that as I could as like MLB. Obviously, having not played it nearly as much or playing it like year to year as far as like Ultimate Team or how the franchise works, all this other stuff. But like Madden will just always be fun to like play with your friends and just fuck around with a little bit. And
for sure,
as long as it's not completely broken, it'll be okay. But yeah,
it's no NFL Street, but it'll do in a pinch.
Right.
All right, my number 9, another game we played on stream this year that I definitely wouldn't have enjoyed by myself as much. Far Cry New Dawn.
Yes.
It is the step after Far Cry 5. You've got me very curious, and if you want to watch our Far Cry New Dawn streams, of course, those are archived as well on the channel on YouTube. I don't think I'd enjoy this by myself. I really was suspect of this game going into it because I did not like Far Cry 5. And I remember like Primal was like different from 4, but it was like the in between like 4 and 5. And I didn't like Primal, and then I didn't like 5, and then I was like, man, do I just not like Far Cry anymore? Right. And then we played New Dawn, and we have clips up on our Twitch channel that Christa has clipped out from Far Cry New Dawn. Just watch us have fun with this game. Watch me blow up us essentially with a stick of dynamite that I held in my hand for too long. Watch me and Alex get mauled by bears that are on fire. We have so much fun together in general, just as people. But when we play games like this, it brings out the best and the worst of both of us. And usually the best because we're just having fun and shooting the shit and shooting shit. So Far Cry,
especially because I think we both got the $20 we got it for when it was $20, right?
So like for $20, like it's in the same arena value as A Way Out. Like the only reason we played A Way Out was because we had EA access for like a couple months. And so the fact that I paid $5 a month for EA access and got to play A Way Out, which is now one of my favorite games ever, and one of my favorite games I've ever played with somebody else. So Far Cry New Dawn, we both paid $20 for a $40 game. So we paid half of what that game should cost, and we had to blast.
It was perfect.
So it was perfect price for a good game to play with somebody else.
Absolutely. Sure. Yeah. My number 9 was your number 10, actually. My number 9 was Borderlands 3.
Nice.
Like I said, I think 98% of the fun of that has just been playing with you and playing on stream, and like that's the game that'll make me think of these lists that we're doing right now too. Like that's what we were playing when we started them. So it's not a bad game. It's just it doesn't feel like a game that came out in 2019. So it's not the best, but it's still fun when it comes it's a harmless fun game.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, my number 8. You're gonna kill me for how low this is on my list, but you know that I am not.
Oh shit!
You know that I'm not nearly as big of a fan of this game as you are. Well, I love baseball,
Oh, okay. I was like, okay.
I love baseball. I love playing this game every year, but I don't play it online like you do. And for
Mhm.
those of you who don't know, my friend Alex here, Swirly Games is his channel, and he plays MLB The Show for 90% of the time, and then Luigi's Mansion the other 10% of the time. But he's primarily a baseball and sports themed channel. So MLB The Show 19 is my number 8. And
Hell yeah.
the only reason it's so low is because I think that they need to start doing more for people who don't want to play that game online.
Yep.
It's increasingly
How they
getting
fuck it up for the people that play online
yeah.
too.
So
Yeah.
it's if you want to put the money and the time into it, I'm sure it's very rewarding. I've watched it be rewarding for you in real time, in real life. Your channel's
Mhm.
fucking amazing. I love the content
Oh,
that you
thank
make
you.
on it. But it's a game that I will never enjoy as much as you because I, number one, don't have the money or the time to put into it.
Yeah.
And I don't have the focus to focus on just my energy on one game like that, like you do. Like the way your channel's on one game. That's just not my style.
Hmm.
But as far as baseball goes, it's going to be multi-platform starting in 2021.
Yeah,
So,
which is
which
unbelievable.
is
That's
fucking
crazy.
crazy that people on like Switch and Xbox and potentially PC would get to play.
Yeah.
But
That had to be baseball themselves being like,
yeah,
you're gonna make this
we
game for
want some
everybody
more
else now.
money, and that's not going to be
Yeah.
possible until you quit hogging this game. So,
Yeah. It's fucking
but
crazy.
anyway, overall, I would say that it's the best baseball game out there. The only baseball game that's been out there for a while, but the best one that they've ever made, that anybody's ever made.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got King Griffey Jr. Slugfest, which is a lot of fun. You've
Oh
got like
yeah.
the arcadey baseball games, but as far as pure sports simulation, this is probably the best sports game that is made every year.
Hell yeah. I agree.
But I can't rank it any higher for me personally because once you get to a certain point with that single player stuff, it kind of runs out of steam.
I agree. Yeah.
So
It reaches this point.
yeah, so that's where I'm at with it. But
Yeah.
okay,
My number 8 is a game that, while making this list, I like remembered it even existed, and then realized I need to go back and finish like not 100% this game, but
yeah,
like beat everything that intend to like do
yeah,
without losing my fucking mind. My number 8 is Crash Team Racing, the new remake
nice.
of that.
That's a good one.
Which, yeah, I love that game until I started trying to be like, oh well, for each track, I'm just gonna like beat the time trial and do the like get all the crates
Yeah,
for each level before I move on. And I found myself just screaming at like the second level of the game for like an hour straight. I'm like, I'm not good enough at this game. I can't. I just need to just beat the story and I'll be fine with it. So it plays like a fucking dream though. That game,
yeah,
they've done such a great job with that remake along with the Spyro and the Crash like proper
mm-hmm.
remakes that they just play and feel so smooth, even if they're like slightly different than their older
Yeah,
counterparts,
yeah,
but like in good ways. They've changed it. That's a fun party game.
yeah, for sure, absolutely.
Hmm.
It's honestly, I think people like Mario Kart overall is like the best art like family
Yeah,
slash like party racer, but I think Crash Team Racing deserves to be right up there with it.
it's very underrated.
It's very
Yeah.
underrated. It's very good.
Hmm.
Let's see here. So my 10, 9, 8, 7. So my number 7. A game that I've only put about 5 hours into so far this year, but I was so thoroughly impressed with what I've played of it that it had to be like, middle of the road for my list. And
Yeah.
potentially if I had played more of it, it might be higher. So take this with a grain of salt. But my number 7 is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Hell yeah.
This was a big year for Star Wars for me, with The Mandalorian being a fucking amazing TV show, with Rise of Skywalker being what it was, and with Jedi Fallen Order being a good Star Wars game finally. It was a hell of a year for Star Wars stuff. And this game, I bumped it down to story difficulty because I did not want it to be a Dark Souls game in terms of difficulty. But it's a really good Star Wars game. It might be the best Star Wars game I've ever played.
Hell yeah.
The lightsaber combat feels good. It looks amazing. I know Aaron's been having some issues with it on PS4. I've been playing on the PS4 Pro and I haven't had any like audio or visual issues. He's had a lot of like freezing and lagging and
Hmm.
some loading issues. But other than that, I feel comfortable putting it at number 7 because I feel like by the time I finish it, it might have been a game I could bump up to like 5 or 4 or something, or 6.
Yeah.
But
Hell yeah.
all right.
So my number 7 isn't a game that came out in 2019. It came
Yeah.
out a very long time ago, but always being updated with patches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
My number 7 is actually WoW,
Nice.
which a lot of people are very mad at the newest expansion because it is, I mean, I've never been like a hardcore WoW player. Like I just enjoy the game and like the world and questing and like it's my game that I play with Tiffany, so I love doing that.
Yeah.
But it's still like one of the cream of the crops as far as MMOs go, and I think it always will be.
Yeah.
I know Final Fantasy 14 is a game that a lot of people have liked that I've thought about trying, but there's no fucking way I could play MLB and 2 MMOs and have a life
Yep.
outside of that. Like,
Yep.
I already
Yeah,
barely can't
Final
do it
Fantasy
right now.
14, Giant Bomb's talked about it a lot this year. That game has really
Yeah,
made a comeback. Like they revamped that game in a major way.
yeah. And I love Final Fantasy games, and my brother and Andy played it on PS4, and they really liked it, but they like were trying to get us to play, and then I think like a week later they weren't playing anymore.
Yeah,
So it's just, like they just fell off of it really hard, or because they only had the 2 of them that helped. But I don't
that's
know.
true.
But
Yeah.
my number 7's WoW. It's still a solid game. I still have a ton of fun with it.
All right. So my number 6 for the year is the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare. They already made one of these back in the day, which is technically Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, which is still
Right.
to this day one of my favorite Call of Duties they've ever made. The second Modern Warfare is also very good.
Mhm.
I have a very mixed relationship with Call of Duty. When I was growing up and when a lot of my
Yep.
friends were into it, I didn't really have the internet to play it online. So my Call of Duty opinions over the years were based on how good the campaigns were, and for a long time that was the selling point of Call of Duty and
Yeah.
Medal of Honor and all those war games. It
I
was
played
just
the shit out of the first 3 on
yeah, it
PS2
was
when
just
that's all it was. I love
yeah,
those
it was
games.
just World War II campaign after World War II campaign
Yeah,
of good
I
shit.
loved it.
And so for them to make another modern game, at first I like rolled my eyes in the back of my fucking head. I was
Yeah,
like you literally just like saw how Infinite Warfare, is that what it was called?
I think like
Infinite
advanced. They did both that and Advanced
Advanced
Warfare.
Warfare. They've done
I
both
think
of
they
them.
had both. Yeah,
Advanced Warfare was fine. Like I played that one. That was the one with like Kevin
I
Spacey
was
in
gonna
it.
say I played that campaign. It was fun.
So not only is this the best multiplayer Call of Duty that I've played in probably the last 5 years, but it has the best campaign also.
Hmm.
It's probably like top 3 best looking games I've played in a very long time. It looks and runs amazingly on the Xbox One X,
Nice.
and it really like there's not a lot of games that make 4K. Like 4K looks good. Like I'm just used to everything looking good in 4K now. But
Hmm.
Modern Warfare, like that, along with like God of War and some other recent games I've played, it just like shows off like it's like a good tech demo for 4K basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the best Call of Duty I've played in quite some time. I'm back into it again. I'm not as into it as Billy, which again, shout out to Billy over at X Arsenal. Go check him out on Twitch, and he's on Twitter as well and YouTube. But yeah, Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Oh yeah. Let's see, 6, I
Yep,
think.
yep, that's what
Okay,
we're
so
on.
my number 6 was a remake slash re-release of a game I used to play on the PS2 a lot, and I normally don't like puzzle like um, Candy Crush esque type games. They're
Yeah,
usually not my jam, but like this one gets me so well. My number 6 was the Puzzle Quest whatever edition. I forget what it's called, but it's like they never had DLC because it was so old, but they like added stuff to it. So
yeah.
it's Puzzle Quest on the Switch. It's basically one of those like gem matching type games, but it mixes in like fantasy RPG elements where like you have a class, you have powers that you use. Like the different colored gems are basically like your mana types that like you have your red, blue, green, and yellow, and you need so much. Like say you need 5 reds and 6 blues, and you'll do this spell that does like this damage to the guy, and like there's skulls you can match up on the board to do direct damage, and it's just built around like a relatively basic, but it's still like a fantasy like RPG type game with
Mm-hmm.
that type of mechanic to it. And it's just the music. Just when I like first loaded up the Switch version of it, it like took me back to like when I was in like 8th grade. I think like that summer, I weirdly found myself playing that game a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really fucking fun. Like it's the one puzzle game I can really get behind.
I think I am gonna give that a shot at some point if it ever goes on
It's
sale for
great.
really cheap on the Switch, because that
Yeah,
sounds like, and as long as you're not being timed too. I hate when you're being
yeah, it's
timed
completely
during puzzle
untimed.
games too. So
Yep.
that's nice.
Yeah, I think I got it for $20 when it came out, maybe
Yeah.
30. I can't remember.
Okay.
So it's definitely not a full
If it ever
price at
drops
least.
to like $10 or less, I might end up getting
Hell
that
yeah,
and play it.
it's absolutely worth it because it's a long. It's I mean you could put 30, 40 hours into it easy just to beat it
Nice.
with one class, and then there's like 12 classes now.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah,
All right, folks. We've made it
top
to our top
five.
5. We are at our top 5 video games of 2019. My number 5, I think, made it into my list based. Now, I know what you're going to say when I say these next couple words here. I know what you're going to be thinking personally, Alex.
Oh
I
shit.
think you're going to think you have my number 5 figured out, but I don't think you do.
Oh shit.
This made it into my top 5 based on nostalgia and emotions from my childhood alone. Um,
Mm.
it I have a very complicated relationship with this game series. I played the first two on PS2 when I was a kid. Loved them so much. And then I didn't play the in-between stuff, which Aaron and I talked about this a little bit on the
Oh
first
fuck!
episode of the
Now I know.
podcast about
Okay.
like what does a true fan mean? Like, is Aaron a bigger
Yep.
fan of this than I am because he's played all the entries? Sure, you could look at it that way. But I've played the main entries of this, and we played them at the same time growing up. So it doesn't matter to me who's the bigger fan of something. Like, if I want to play one game or 20 games in the series, I'm a fan of the series regardless.
Mm-hmm.
And this game has a lot of issues, but the nostalgia pool alone and the fact that it got made is a miracle. After all these years,
Yeah.
it finally got made.
Took them a while.
Is a miracle. But my number 5 is Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yep.
Kingdom Hearts fans out there, I know you know my pain in this. It's really hard to recommend this to anybody. If you've never played Kingdom Hearts before, I can't recommend you start with this game, because the only way I made it through this was knowing that I was like, I love Kingdom Hearts. They made a collection that has all the games basically in one, and
Which is wild.
Yeah,
they have fucking like 11 games on it or whatever.
And so that would be where I would say I think it's like a $60 product right now, which is pretty good considering what all you get. And that's where I would start, so that you could play 1 and 2. And if you can make it through those, because they're clunky as hell, the Kingdom Hearts 3 plays like a PS2 game, and it's both a bad thing and a good thing. It's such a bittersweet thing to me, but I think more than anything, I'm just happy that in 2019, I was able to pull part of my childhood back into my adulthood with me. And the fact that this game even got made, I'm just so thankful that it got made, whether it was
like
good or bad,
it happened.
That it happened finally. I've been waiting for it for seemingly forever, and I know Aaron was really stoked on it too. And he and I could probably do a Kingdom Hearts podcast at some point, talking about our complicated relationship with the series. But that's my number 5 is Kingdom Hearts 3.
Hell yeah. You probably could do a lot of the, like, we've had so many topics that came up of like, I could do a whole thing on this alone. Like,
there's a lot of episodes of podcast material here.
Yeah. Like, not necessarily in the same vein as Wizard the Bruiser, because you're not like maybe not getting into the history of it, but just like my personal history with Kingdom Hearts, with FIFA, with whatever. Like, that might be a good idea. Come up with ideas fucking 3 hours into this thing.
Hell yeah.
So my number 5 is the 5th game of a franchise, actually, I just realized.
Damn.
I know, I felt really bad for you because you had the fucking bitchiest of a time to get this game to work. Yeah. And it made me really sad because I was loving every second of it.
Yeah.
While like the universe just would not let you play it, and it made me feel real bad for you. But my number 5 was Gears 5.
Yeah.
Which they finally dropped the of War, because no one says Gears of War anymore.
It's just Gears 5.
Like, officially called Gears 5, yeah.
There were so many problems with that. I played it at launch on Game Pass, so I can't complain because I love Game Pass. I really do.
Yes,
I love the Gears
I bought
of War
Game
franchise.
Pass for it.
Yeah, it's a good game, but I literally had a game-breaking bug happen 3 or 4 times.
Yep. It just ruins it.
It ruins it for you when you lose progress over and over again, and then I'm like still stuck on this boss that I'm just not having any fun playing. It's ultimately 2019 was the year where I didn't waste time with bullshit that wasn't fun for me to play or like accessible for me to play. I didn't waste my time with bullshit this year. So
yeah,
I ranted about it in the podcast with Aaron, but I'm done with games like Dark Souls, and I'm done with that shit. I'm at a point in my life where I'm comfortable admitting that I'm just done with that kind of game. I want to play a game to enjoy it. I want it to be accessible to me and to everybody to play. And to me, there's parts of like a game where with Gears 5 where it's like this boss fight's really hard and I just have to bang my head against it forever. That's not fun to me. And it's especially not fun to me when I have a game that like erases your progress or like takes you back 2 checkpoints farther than it should. So I wanted to love it, and I wanted it to even be in my honorable mentions, but after I thought about all that, I was like, you burned me really fucking hard on this game. And I just, not you personally, like Alex, fuck you. You fucked up Gears 5 for me.
You fucked with the wires in my fucking game.
Yeah, so I don't know. I might return to it at some point. I think Gears like 2 or 3 is probably like the highest point of Gears for me personally.
Oh yeah,
but
I was trying to think. Like, I don't know where I would rank it as far as like my favorites for the campaign, but I really, really liked it. It was very good, and like the ending, especially like the final act of this game, is one of the best singular acts I think of anything, because it just like the stakes get so high and so real, and like, without spoilers, there's literally like a telltale type decision you fucking make in the game, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, I've never seen that in Gears before.
Sounds I even like they actually did some meaningful improvements like that, and then actually made the story and the characters like matter.
Yeah, because they got me thinking. I'm like, well, what the hell is going to happen in 6? Because like,
Yeah.
or it made me wonder if like it was always going to happen that way. Like even if I pick the other option, like
Yeah.
the game forces it. Like I was like, I don't know. So my guess is the other option will probably happen like immediately into 6, and they'll just never have to worry about it again.
Yeah.
But it was just a different take on it. And like the open world part, like it's technically open world, but I know Giant Bomb went on about it a lot, and they hit it right on the fucking head. Where it's open world for the sake of being open world. It's just like an empty environment for you to drive.
There's nothing to do in that
Place.
open world.
There's just literally nothing. You're just going to individual spots.
Yeah.
For no reason.
Yeah.
But overall, I still thought it was really fun, and Horde mode was fun. The one time I played it with Billy and TJ on Billy's stream,
Yeah.
that was really fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. My number 4 game is the most creative and unique experience I had with a game this year from the people who made Little Big Planet of all people, which I liked those games when I first got a PS3, but after a while they started to grate on my nerves because it was just the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I totally missed like the PS3 exclusives outside of like Uncharted and Last of Us. Like I don't think I've ever even played Little Big Planet.
Yeah, so my number 4 is a game called Dreams. It's where I want to do this game series called Sweet Dreams, where I just take the time to go through. It's almost like Super Mario Maker in a way where like I don't have any desire to make anything in Dreams, but it is such a delight for me to be able to scroll through and play stuff that other people have made. Super Mario Maker is limited to just Mario. Dreams already, and it's still technically the full game hasn't released yet. Like I got it for $30 as a like I guess not like a beta, but like what would you call it? Like early access, I guess is what they're calling
early access. Yeah,
it's fucking astounding to me. Like the first couple weeks, I just couldn't stop like scrolling. They have a mode called Dream Surfing where you are just like it's like channel surfing basically. You're just going through. Yeah. Just imagine like you're really bored, you have nothing to do. And then all of a sudden this game comes along where it's like, we heard you were bored of games, so here's every game that any person can ever make in one game. So in a way, like I like Dreams more than I like Super Mario Maker because Super Mario Maker is a lot of fun and it's really like, it's got its issues and not to say Dreams doesn't have its issues because it's pretty clunky in some ways. Like I'm not crazy about, like you have to use the motion controller on the DualShock 4 to use the menu on Dreams. And...
It just made you sound like just a douche shock and not
DualShock.
That just made me laugh. We're 3 hours in.
I can't. Tell. I have no throat anymore. My throat has evaporated. But Dreams is just sum it up. It's from the people who made Little Big Planet. It's my biggest surprise of the year probably. It's a game that I didn't even know it was coming out, and then when it came out, I was hooked. I haven't been playing it that much lately, but I need to get back into it. I want to do some streams with it, which I'm limited to PS4 because that's what it's for, and I'm limited to doing it on Twitch, and so there'll be a delay. But I could at least have you in the chat for that for sure. But that's going to be something we're doing in 2020. We're doing Sweet Dreams, so that I can show all of you guys what I've liked about Dreams so far too. So that's my number.
That'd
4.
be very cool. Hell yeah. So my number 4 is Far Cry New Dawn, which is the game I totally fucking forgot about.
Hell yeah.
Until I was like, this has to be dropped in here. This, even obviously more so than Borderlands 3, which is only at 9. I think Far Cry New Dawn is a better game than Borderlands 3, but this is bumped up even more so because of how much fun it was to stream the whole thing.
Yeah.
And like you said, all the wild hijinks and shit that happened and exploring that world, and it's such a beautiful game. Like that's one thing you can't take anything out of it with like the weird story and like that big boss at the end. That was strange.
God. Yeah.
A lot of weird stuff that happened in that game.
But it's a beautiful game. It looks really great.
And fun, and it was such a good game to stream.
It was the Far Cry that I needed after not liking Primal or 5.
Yeah.
It got me excited for a Far Cry 6, whatever that is going to be. So we'll see what happens.
I played and liked 5 and liked this more. Yeah. So it was still better than 5, I thought.
All right. Yeah. Top 3 games, bud.
Top 3.
All right. Woo! 3 hours and 16 minutes in.
Holy fuck.
My number 3 game, speaking of childhood nostalgia, Pokemon Sword is my number 3 game.
Hell yeah.
A lot of people have had problems with this game. I think a lot of it stems from the fanboys that like Pokemon too much. Like people our age that like Pokemon a little too much, that get upset that every Pokemon in the world wasn't in this game.
Mostly, they forget that it's at its core a children's game.
Yeah, it's a children's game, and it's made for children. And I don't think there's any child out there that wants to catch 800,000 Pokemon in one game.
Yeah,
I think we should be thankful that we got as many as we did because we got a fuck ton of them in this one game.
Yep, and they could
But
still patch more in. Like I really think that's a possibility at some point.
Aaron and I joked about this for a long time because the way we play our Switch is really different. I play it almost exclusively handheld. He plays it almost
Hmm.
exclusively with a controller on his TV. And so
Yeah,
for the longest time when we were kids, we kept hoping, like, man, they need to make a Pokemon game we can play on our TV.
right.
And we finally got one, and now I'm playing it handheld. I played the entire
Right.
fucking game handheld. I think literally
That's so funny.
the only time I've played on a TV is with Aaron. So
Huh?
the Switch is a
Mine's
great
probably like 30 on TV, 70%
handheld.
handheld, I
Yeah,
would say.
the
Yeah.
Switch is just such a good handheld console. Like it's cool that it's
Hmm.
plugged into the TV, and the Pro controller is a great controller. But
Yeah.
yeah, Pokemon Sword brought me back to that feeling of feeling like a kid again, just like Kingdom Hearts 3 did. I think Pokemon
Hmm.
Sword overall is a better game than Kingdom Hearts 3 is, mostly because it doesn't feel like a PS2 game.
Yeah.
And the story is not so convoluted that you don't know what the fuck's going on or who Xehanort
Right.
is or what it means to be Norded
Yeah.
or and all that other bullshit
Oh
terminology
yeah.
that Kingdom Hearts is at this point.
Oh yeah. So
But
far up its own ass.
yeah, it's wild. But
Hmm.
it's like when I think of Kingdom Hearts now, I think of Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny with the strings and the
Oh yeah.
that's what I think of when I think of Kingdom
Trying to
Hearts.
figure it all out. I
Yeah.
think Polygon did a video by that Brian.
He's Brian David Gilbert is literally
Yeah.
he's so fucking great. I love him so
Yeah.
much.
Brandon and Andy are obsessed with that man. I think he's
He's
funny,
I love
but
him so
they love
much.
him so much
Yeah,
more than
I
me.
do too. He's
Yeah.
fantastic. I love him.
I think he
Uh,
did a Kingdom Hearts Explained, didn't he?
he did, yeah. And then he did the Pokemon rap, like the definitive Poke rap, where he tried to
That
include
was
every
very
single
good.
Pokemon ever made. And
Yeah.
but anyway, Pokemon Sword is, I think, the best Pokemon game we could have hoped for on a like major console that wasn't exclusively a handheld. It looks
Yep.
great. It feels great to play. It's a lot of fun. It wasn't too hard. It was almost too easy towards the end if you were over leveled a
Definitely
little
too
bit.
easy. Yeah. That's
But
my one gripe with
it's
it.
yeah, I don't
But
know.
again, children's
I
game.
like I said, I this was the year of me needing games that were accessible for me personally, and
Hmm.
I overleveled myself a little bit on purpose so I made sure that I wouldn't be frustrated because I didn't want to play this game and be frustrated.
Right.
So that's my number
That's
three of
fair.
the year. I didn't play Shield. I've never been the type to buy. When I was a kid, my parents bought me Red and Blue and Yellow and Gold and Silver and Crystal and Leaf Green and
Yep.
Fire Red, but I just need one Pokemon game and I picked Sword. That was the one that I wanted.
Yeah. It's been a long time since I've played like more than one of them. Just
Yeah.
because honestly, time, just more
Oh yeah,
games.
for sure.
Yeah. My number three might surprise you that it's only number three. My number three was MLB The Show 19.
I was gonna say, goddamn, this is about to be Luigi's Mansion games. Is that what you're gonna be calling that from now on?
so I so I played. I think my total game time on MLB The Show 19, I think, might be almost at 500 hours.
God damn, you're halfway to Christa hours in The Sims.
It's disgusting. It honestly is because like, so I'll talk a little bit about why I like the game. Pretty I mean, I obviously like it if I played it that much in my channel and everything.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna talk a little bit about TJ playing the game, and then why I'm mad at how much I played this game
Yeah.
this year. Honestly,
Okay.
so I love the game because I mean, Diamond Dynasty is a very fun game. It's the ultimate team, buy the cards, all that. I started the year off by putting, like, because of the channel and stuff, I was like, I'm going to put regular money into this game. Like, it doesn't sound like it's a crazy amount, but I was like, if I put like $50 in every month or something like that, like that'd
Yeah.
be consistent enough to like maybe provide content for it or whatever. And then luckily this game turned into the one that they give you so much stuff in it that you actually don't need to put money into it if you don't want to. And there's still so many cards you can get for free and all this stuff. So that part was great. It's actually like you put money into it and it helps for sure, but like you
Mhm.
didn't have to this year if you played the game a lot, which I did. It plays okay. The online hitting is a little inaccurate, like as far as like if you square up the ball, you should get a good result because it's a video game. But I think they lean too much on like, well, it's baseball, you never know what can happen, and also just their hitting fucking physics are broken, which isn't great. But yeah, it's just I mean, it's MLB. There's tons of cards. It's cool getting to switch your players around and stuff. It's great. Like I said, I have played it for almost 500 hours. TJ stopped playing for 3 or 4 months, and he somehow still has like an entire day's worth more time than I do.
That's wild.
Which I don't like. I keep telling, I was like, do you like leave the game on for like all night a lot? He's like, no, I've never done it. I just don't see how it's possible. Like, I
Yeah.
just really don't. I'm like, there's no fucking way you didn't play this for 4 months and you still have an entire like 25 hours on me. Like I
Yeah,
just don't believe it. Like
that's
I know how
wild.
much I played this damn game.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in general, and then why I'm kind of mad at that, and it's kind of something I've been thinking about for my channel going forward. I still want it to be a lot of MLB, but playing other game, like another game on the channel, which hasn't made its appearance on the countdown yet. And then just looking up games, I'm like, well, didn't play that, didn't play that, didn't play that, and how I had to like my top 10 games of 2019 that I played were literally the fucking 10 games that I did play that came out in 2019.
Yeah.
It's just like I lost so much of like being able to play other stuff that like I don't think unless 20 is just like the greatest game that I've ever seen in my entire life, I think that's going to be like I vow that my list for 20 is going to be a lot more diverse because it honestly like made me sad where I was like fuck, there's all these games I just completely missed out on. And like
Yeah.
I had fun playing MLB and a lot of it comes back to there's so much media and content in general that I want to bring in
Yeah.
or see
Yeah.
that it's a lot easy to like mindlessly play moments against the computer or something on MLB and watch something at the same time. Like it's I've played it so much because it is my like play while watch something game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've obviously like I said, my entire channel for a while was devoted to that game. I still love it. And it's the best sports game they've got out there. But yeah, I think next year it's not going to be played as much is what I'm shooting for.
It's well, you know the
'Cause
Adjust
it's
Now gaming
ridiculous.
motto: play what you want to play, like what you want to like. And my
Right.
channel is very diverse, and I think me and your entire audience, you know, your fan base would be very supportive of you branching out into other stuff because I think your Luigi's
Hell
Mansion series has been really well received.
Thank you.
So
I've
yeah,
had a lot of fun with it.
yeah, it's I would love to watch you play some other stuff. I
Hell
also
yeah.
think at some point you need to borrow my NES Classic and play Tecmo Bowl with your dad.
Oh my god, I forgot about that. Yes, that would be so cool.
We need to have you guys do that. I would love to watch that. I think
Hell
that's
yeah.
my favorite thing you've done on your channel is well, not besides the videos that I got to record with you.
Yeah.
Like want to talk about some belly and
Oh my god, yes.
and the Sora and all that. But yeah,
Sora.
the videos with you and your dad were fucking phenomenal. I'd love to.
They
see
were
more
so
of
much
him
fun
on
to
there.
do. Yeah.
All right, Jesus Christ, my number 2.
Jesus Christ.
my,
That's all we can say.
that's my number. My number 2 is this game, but my number 1 in my heart is Jesus Christ. But
Yeah.
my number 2 is The Outer Worlds.
Oh, see, number 1 on my list of regrets of things I haven't got to play yet. I want to play that so bad.
If you like Fallout games, this is from the people who made Fallout New Vegas, which it's such a turn of events for me personally because Fallout New Vegas might be my least favorite Fallout game because it's so different. I know a lot of people are going to want to stone me for doing that, for saying that, but I just didn't like it. I streamed it once when I was doing my Fallout Friday still, and it was so hard and so different, and it just didn't feel like a Fallout game. In some ways, The Outer Worlds is like Fallout 4 was a good game. It was really, really good, but Fallout 3 was like the best Fallout game that they've made. I didn't play the originals back before it, was popular.
Yeah,
but
I barely played any Fallout, honestly, but yeah, definitely.
I definitely think I still like Elder Scrolls Oblivion and Skyrim better than Fallout. Fallout's very close, but I think I like Oblivion and Skyrim a little bit more. I think The Outer Worlds is the exact game that I needed to get me back into wanting like a new Bethesda game, even though like they've done a lot of stuff. Like I know people consider Fallout 76 to be a catastrophic fuck up, and Fallout 4 wasn't exactly the most well received Fallout game either. But Outer Worlds is like the Fallout game I didn't know I needed in 2019. I put a lot of time into it. I haven't quite finished it yet. I think I'm like 3/4 of the way through it. But I'm like in the the biggest area of the game now, right now. But plays really well. The writing is really clever. Usually with those games, I'll fall off pretty quick because you do a lot of time talking, like, and you like do dialogue choices, and if that stuff isn't written well or play well, then I lose interest really quick. So this game is incredibly clever, really well written dialogue, really fun to play. The weapons are amazing. There's like a shrink ray. There's all kinds of different elemental weapons and environments, and just a hell of a lot of fun to play. If you like loot shooters and Fallout games, it's not a Bethesda game, and in some ways I think it's better for that.
Yeah.
But it plays and feels like a Fallout game that I didn't know I needed in 2019. So The Outer Worlds is my number 2 for my top 10.
Oh man. My number 2, which you just talked about, number 3 is Pokemon Sword.
Oh yeah.
The only thing I can add to that, it's amazing. There's every new Pokemon game that comes out, like I just always think back to Red and Blue
Yeah.
and just what that game looked like and what it was, and just seeing how far it's like progressed. It's
Yes.
just unbelievable. The wild area is so fun.
Oh
Catching
yeah.
all the big bad like boss Pokemon almost like like patrolling around is really cool to see.
Yeah.
And just the Gigantamax or the Dynamax rating and stuff like that is really cool. Like getting like co-op Pokemon, like that's another thing I never thought could exist, or like like thought that I needed, but it's so damn fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so good.
It's good shit. All
Yeah,
right. Drum
number
roll.
one.
My game of the year is Control.
Oh, I forgot about that game.
Okay, so the company that made this Remedy, they made Alan Wake and they
Mm-hmm.
made Quantum Break, which I don't know if they planned on them rhyming, but they do.
Yeah.
I was not
Control Steak.
Yeah, I played Control Stick. I I played a little bit of Alan Wake during Extra Life last year, and I thought it didn't particularly age too well, but it was interesting. The story and the
Mm-hmm.
characters have always been really interesting to me. Quantum Break was an interesting game because it was so long, because it was filled with like movies. Like there were like full length, like 30-minute long cutscenes that were like mini movies in between every chapter, because it had
Mm-hmm.
like this like TV show like set up to it. And I
Yeah.
love the way that game played and looked and felt, but it just, something about their games just never really resonated with me. And then Control came along, and I heard it being described as it plays like Quantum Break and Alan Wake, and like, it's like, I can't remember what the description I heard was, but
Mm-hmm.
as far as story goes, somebody told me it's like Inside meets Twin Peaks. And
Okay.
if you know anything about me, you know that I love the game Inside from a couple years ago, from the people who made Limbo, and Twin Peaks is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. So I'm into some weird games and some weird shows, and Control is like a mainstream weird version of that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's fantastic from top to bottom. I'm pretty close to finishing it now. I want to go back, and I have a couple more missions so I finish the main story, and then I have to do some side stuff, but then I'll pretty much be comfortable with putting a wrap on it. And then there's some DLC coming out next year for it.
Mm-hmm.
But it plays really well. The shooting feels really good. It's a hard game. Like that's one of my few gripes with it, is there's some technical issues. Anytime you enter the start menu and then like unpause it and start playing, there's a 3-second lag where everything just like lags like crazy.
Oh
And
God,
that's on a
yeah.
PS4 Pro, so I can't imagine what it's like on like a base PS4. But
Oh, it's probably like damn near unplayable.
there are some technical issues for sure that you think that they would have patched out by now, because I've been downloading every patch that's come out hoping that they'd fix it, and they just still have not addressed it yet. My other gripe is that the difficulty, there's no difficulty settings in this game, so you're stuck with the default difficulty, and it's hard. It is a fucking hard game.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of the only hard games that I played this year that I've stuck with, because I want to
I'd say,
see.
yeah, if it's good enough for you to power through it in your year of shit, like it
Yes,
still was number one. Like that
it's
says a
it's
lot.
still number one. Yeah, it's the hardest game that I played this year and loved this much to rank it this high. The voice acting and the characters, and especially, I know Giant Bomb talked about this a lot, so I don't want to steal any of their thunder, but the collectibles in this game are probably the best collectibles that I've ever collected in a video game.
Oh damn.
Because most collectibles you just pick up and they're nothing. Like, especially if they're like written stuff, like journal entries or something, you don't take the time to read them 9 times out of 10. I have stopped and read every single one of these little fuckers. And there's some, like, it literally, there's whole parts of this story of this game that you don't get unless you read these collectibles, and they're not very long. Like, they're like a couple paragraphs usually at most. Then there's like these full motion video recordings. Like, you'll just like walk up to a TV and it's like real people on the TV like acting out this like goofy, like low budget looking sci-fi stuff, like scientists doing these experiments gone wrong in these labs. Just from top to bottom, like just all the little touches, like the way the gravity feels, like you pick stuff up out of the ground and just throw it at people with like telekinesis, and you can like bring the ground up as a shield. Like, all of her powers are really cool. I do think you get all the powers like way too soon, because I just stopped using most of them when I got to the end. When the difficulty started ramping up, I used the ones that I was comfortable with rather than exploring them all. But just like the simple stuff, like the font in this game, like the way the font looks, it pops up every time you go to a new area. It just reminds me of Twin Peaks and Inside and like movies, and it's I could rave about it for hours. But that's my game of the year for 2019 is Control.
Hell yeah, I absolutely want to check that game out.
For sure.
Outer Worlds and that were like the two big ones. I was like,
Hmm.
fuck, man, these games just look so good. And hearing Giant Bomb go on about it,
Yeah.
and then you just now too, like, oh my god, I
They
want to play it
haven't
so.
finished. They haven't finished their Game of the Year deliberations yet. Their final one comes out tomorrow, I believe. But I think their Game of the Year is either going to be Outer Wilds or Control.
Mhm. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I forgot about Outer Wilds too.
So Outer
Yep.
Wilds, I wasn't going to talk about it much during this because I didn't really play that much of it. I bounced off
Mhm.
of it pretty hard because it's
I've
it's
seen videos of it. It looks
it's
interesting, like
it's
physics puzzles
very
and stuff in
very
it too.
so it's like you just like you get in a spaceship and you go and it's like an endless loop. Like if you die, you just start over and it seems interesting, but I thought the ship felt really bad to control, which is the whole thing. Like you fly from planet to planet, but
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna come back to it at some point. Like Giant Bomb usually talks me into playing stuff I wouldn't normally play. So, and especially since it's on Game Pass, I have nothing to lose. So,
Hell yeah.
but
There's a lot of cool games that I fucking missed out on.
yeah, for sure. I think I know what
But
your game. I think I know what your game of the year is.
yeah, how wild would that be if it didn't even make my top? Like I didn't even talk about it. Like
Yeah.
fuck that game. I hate it actually. My number one is luckily one game that I did not miss out on, and was the game that, as you know, is what branched me out from MLB a little bit on my channel,
Yeah.
and it just has one of the most fucking charming games of all time. I feel like, at
Yeah.
least of what I've played. My number one was Luigi's Mansion 3, which
Hell
came
yeah.
out on Halloween. Which, in hindsight, they probably should have came out like early October. Like it came out on Spooky Day, and then like
Yeah.
Spooky Day's gone. Like it's done.
I feel like
But
it got overshadowed for sure by like Outer Worlds and Death Stranding and the other big games that
yeah,
launched here towards the end of the year. I feel like Luigi's Mansion, it's never been like a huge Nintendo franchise. I feel like the third one's getting a lot more attention than the first two did.
yeah.
But
It's always been
it's a
like
shame.
the
Yeah.
one that's taken for granted or like forgotten about
Yeah,
almost. Like,
for sure.
'cause I love the first one. I almost beat the first one.
Hmm.
I almost beat the Dark Moon on the 3DS.
Yeah.
So I never fully finished them, and I'm almost done now with Luigi's Mansion 3. I think I actually just got the button for the 15th floor, which is the final floor in the video I recorded earlier today.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't even. There's so much to say about this game. I just think it's got that perfect like Nintendo like charm. Is just the only way I can think of it. Like they've just killed it with this like type of vibe in these games for so long, where it's just like harmless, innocent fun. That's like you said, it's not super hard. It's got some like puzzles to like you have to think about stuff, and like if anything, it's easy to do the bare minimum to beat the game, but there's a lot of like tricky stuff that you have to really be like thinking a lot about to
Yeah.
do everything, which that's like the perfect mix for me. Like make it easy for me to beat it, but make it like there's stuff in it that's hard if I want it like to be there type of
Yeah,
stuff.
for sure.
And yeah, it's just this game has made me laugh. Like there's a lot of cool stuff. Like all the floors have their own like personality about them, and
Hmm.
the environments are very well put together, and like the ghosts you fight are fun, and like literally every single boss has been cool or funny or quirky in its own
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
That I could go
That's
on and
so
on
cool,
about
man.
the game,
I really like. I think I mentioned this on one of our videos or something. Like I'm in a weird place with it because I feel like I could be just
but
fine watching you play it,
yeah,
but hearing you talk about it, like as someone who really didn't like the first game or Dark Moon, I
hmm
feel like the third one would be the my one chance to finally like a Luigi's Mansion game. Because for me, as somebody who likes horror, like how often do you ever see Nintendo put anything even remotely horror
yeah,
out? You know, like this should
right,
be my one thing I fucking love, but
yeah,
there's just and like I said, I haven't played any of three. I've watched you play it. It doesn't seem nearly as clunky as the old Luigi's Mansion seemed, and especially that 3DS one was clunky as fuck.
oh yeah. It was weird for handheld.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
but
I
yeah,
fucking love it.
I'm gonna yeah
Such a good game.
you're gonna end up talking me into playing that. I've been wanting to
Hell
play
yeah.
some of that and some more Switch games. 2020 is gonna be my year. I'm gonna broaden
Yeah.
my even though I'm already a diverse person and diverse
Yeah,
channel.
so you play it all over.
I'm gonna get even more all over the place in 2020. So couldn't think of a better way to wrap up 2020 than spending it with one of my best friends recording a 3.5 hour fucking long podcast.
Fucking A.
But if you've hung in there with us from start to finish, I thank you so much for listening. I have so much fun putting these lists together with Alex on a weekly basis, and this is
Hell
just
yeah.
the culmination of that. We're gonna do more lists in 2020 for sure. We're gonna continue to do
Absolutely.
the smaller ones on Border Boys for the time being, but I think we will eventually, parlay them into like, hey, this episode of the podcast is gonna be our list episode for the week or whatever, and then we'll go back to normal stuff. We'll just go back and forth. I like that idea, but we'll see
Yeah.
how it works going down the line.
Right.
Because I know sometimes people are like, "Oh, why aren't you playing Borderlands? Why are you just sitting there talking on the spaceship?" And I don't
It's
want
tough to do it all in 2 hours.
because I feel like the times I've gotten the most viewers on my channel is like when we're actually playing Borderlands. But when we just sit there and talk, people come in and out, and like they don't want that.
Right.
So
Right.
in one way, it's weird because it's like it's my channel. I should be able to do whatever I want with it. But now that I've actually had that little small taste of people wanting to watch, I feel like we should try to roll with that at least a little bit.
Right.
But
Gotta get it back.
anyway, thank you so much, man, for being here and
Yeah,
down
man,
and
no
taking the time
problem.
to do this with me. I had an absolute amazing time as always. So
Hell yeah.
that was our top 10 lists of the year: podcasts, movies, shows, music, and games. If you liked what you heard here today, make sure to go back and check out the first episode of the ANG cast if you haven't already. Check out the recent episode of Game Dev Tycoon that we recorded. Alex can attest, one of the funniest things this channel has ever done.
Oh my god. We're fucking idiots. That's all I gotta say.
We are fucking idiots is the name. We are truly idiots, and it just falls apart in the most beautiful way possible. And one of the best Addict and Down gaming moments ever. New Sunset and Stardew went up a couple weeks ago. Christa's got some new 100 Baby Challenge stuff coming up.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to try to do a stream next week, for Borderlands stream next week. I think as of the time this podcast will be released, it'll be this Friday. So this coming Friday from the Monday that this podcast is released. Because I think we're going to try to put this up on Monday the 30th is our goal for this podcast. So you should be hearing this on Monday the 30th. So then this coming Friday, we'll have the next Border Boy stream for you. But as always, like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know if you like the format of this podcast. I know that it's rough because we're just getting started here. Let us know if you want it to be a video podcast, if you're fine with it just being an audio podcast. Let us know any of your thoughts or feelings in the comments below. Follow us on our social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks for being a fan now, forever, and always. This has been the ANG cast, where we talk about video games and everything else in between. Thanks again to Alex. Thanks to everybody for watching, and we will see you guys next time.